What is life? Life is like an egg, a boiled egg, but what does that even mean? It means that it doesn't matter how you spend your life. It won't have any meaning. But he fought to the end. The boy was searched and a relic was found on him. In the end, he was destroyed just like in a game, but he had to die here once. He constantly heard the word destroy and asked his mother not to be upset if she was worried about the divinity contained in the relic. Didn't his mother understand that he had already absorbed her completely, so there was no point in sending her after him? Still, he lost a little money. When he was in his 30s, he was constantly tired and too busy with work to spend time on games, so he always resorted to tricks using the editor. Now he can't even remember the name of the game or why he bought it, but he continues to play it. To play as a priest of destruction. But what kind of priest of destruction is that? He is the most difficult to master and the most difficult in terms of gameplay. It's the least effective class. But what could he do when every time he played this game, his heart started beating faster? When he had almost finished leveling up his character and completed all his class quests, he became a priest of corruption and got into the game. A thing that constantly screams worse than the lead singer of a death metal band. Just one word: destroy the goddess he serves, the mother of corruption. It all started 5 years ago. That was when he embarked on his path of service. When he woke up in the game, he had only two things with him. It was the robe of the Order of Corruption and the hand of the Mother of Corruption on his chest. He felt the presence of a supernatural entity. Due to the incredibly powerful feeling coming from this hand, he quickly accepted the fact that he was in the game. According to the game's internal description, a priest of corruption is a genetically modified human. This gave him enhanced physical abilities. Some of his senses were heightened and his body could no longer be destroyed without divine intervention. Perhaps there is also something wrong with his head because he used to be unable to stand the sight of blood. But now even such disgusting scenes cannot shake him. There was only one problem. His body had lost the ability to taste, but he wanted so badly to taste pork belly and kimchi. The girl called him Marnak, a priest, and gave him an ID card. He thanked her and asked if there were any tasks he could take on. She asked him to wait a moment and then said that they had work for a priest of the guardian goddess. After he arrived in the northern city of Geis, he decided to take on the guise of a member of the Order of Guardians. But if he worshipped another god at the same time as pretending to be a member of another order, his god would be angry and mark him. A mark that only members of the order could see. A seal of punishment. But his mother was sympathetic to such pretense. The Order of Corruption is the enemy of all living things and is hated by everyone. He became the only follower of the Mother of Corruption. The girl found the document and said, "Here it is." She gave it to the priest Marnak and remarked that he was pleasant to work with. It was an announcement about a hunt for bandits or monsters. The girl noted that most of the other mercenaries would have asked her to read the task aloud. He replied that there was nothing unusual about being able to read. When he came to this world, he gained the ability to read and write in any language. Then he asked if it was possible to receive part of the reward in advance, and the girl asked what that meant. Then she said it was just for him. He should keep in mind that if he was late tomorrow, he would have to pay a fine. He thought that his mother really enjoyed talking to him. Then his mother told him the word destroy, and he understood her and replied that he was not really in love, but if she continued, he would get angry with her. He went on a hike, and a man said that he could tell he wasn't from around there and asked if he could tell him where he was from. If they continued straight ahead, they would soon reach his village. He hoped that his mother and father were well. Priest Marnak thought that he had said his name was Pierre. Then Pierre said that he understood perfectly well that it was all thanks to Captain Gallard's support. Thanks to this, they would have no trouble coping with the winter cold, but he was still worried. By the way, he had something else to say. Pierre asked if he knew that there were rumors that the creatures stealing farmers on this road were not humans or monsters, but ghosts. Priest Marnak thought he was talking too much. Then a man called out to Pierre. Pierre said it sounded like someone was calling him, but he would be right back. Then Marnak heard the word destroy from his mother again, and asked why she kept asking him to destroy everyone. If all his companions died, it would only cause him problems. Moreover, she was silent when he returned to Geis. Her son really needed those 29 silver neps. He wanted to spend this winter in warmth. She repeated the word destroy, and Marnak understood her. At first, he thanked her for her understanding, then said that he had probably been too insistent and that she shouldn't be upset. Then he asked her how many fingers she would give them. He approached Pierre and the man who had called him and realized that there was nothing special about them. She estimated Pierre at 1 finger and the man at 2 fingers. If he destroyed them all and presented the spoils to his mother, he would receive a certain amount of divinity. The amount of divinity corresponds to the number of fingers they're rated. 1 finger is 10 divinity, 2 is 100 divinity. 3 fingers are worth 1,000 divinity, 4 are worth 10,000, and 5 fingers are worth 100,000 divinity. If he manages to collect 10,000 points of divinity, he will earn 1 gift. Thanks to the system, he was able to absorb the divinity of the holy relic. Thus, he has already received 1 gift. There are only 12 relics in existence. The mother of the damaged boy said that if he collects the divinity of all the relics, all his wishes will be granted. First of all, he will ask for his sense of taste to be restored. Pierre approached him and said that the captain had asked him to stop teasing him. He warned that he would not survive if he continued to speak from dawn to dusk. The priest Marnak said that everything was fine. He didn't need to worry about it. After that, they were attacked with arrows. The captain died instantly. The priest Marnak was also wounded, and he simply pushed Pierre away so that he would not be hurt. He thought that they must be bandits and that his mother probably wanted him to pretend to be dead and absorb their divinity. When they relaxed and came closer, that would have been the easiest thing to do, but if she didn't know, he would do what he wanted first. His mother kept repeating that he should destroy them. He took his sword and rushed at the bandits. The leader among them noticed that his men were being attacked and told them to leave the priest to him. As soon as they dealt with the others, they could go to his aid. After that, the man rushed at him. The priest Marnak asked his mother how many fingers she would give him, and she replied that he was worth 2.5. The man asked what he was muttering about. The priest Marnak thought he was just a common bandit, on the same level as the tracker who had destroyed him before. He thought that this game was very unbalanced. They continued the battle, and the man attacked him and destroyed his sword. The man laughed. Priest Marnak said that this was why he preferred frost steel, and that this was the difference in their equipment. Then the man said that he didn't seem to be anything special, so he would let him go. It was supposed to be their last order before they left the city anyway, so why not part ways peacefully? Priest Marnak asked permission to make a counteroffer. Let them stop robbing people and leave immediately. If they did so, he promised not to pursue them. The man asked if he was serious and if he really thought they would just agree and leave. Priest Marnak wanted to say something, but the man's people shot him with an arrow and killed him. The man asked why they had taken so long. He even thought that this guy would kill him. They told him to stop because they saw how he destroyed his sword. The man replied that he had carefully calculated where to strike before destroying the sword. Another bandit replied that he was better. Then the man asked if they had dealt with the others, and they replied that they had dealt with every single one of them. After that, the priest Marnak stood up. He then asked if they had really dealt with everyone and why they were so surprised to see him alive. Had they never seen a man survive an arrow to the head before? Their leader thought that this was indeed the case. The priest Marnak noted that he had given them a chance, but they had repaid him with an arrow. Their leader said to use fire. Now they were all to attack him together. They began to shoot arrows at him, and he told the mother of the curse that her son was in danger. He is too scared to make the right decision if she knows what he is doing. Doesn't she think now is the right time to help her son? The bandits thought that this couldn't be true and were curious about who he was. Their leader said that they should retreat and let them escape. They started to run but noticed that they couldn't go any further because an invisible wall appeared in front of them. They didn't understand what it was and started calling for help. The barrier that the living cannot cross is a gift that the priest of destruction must use before releasing his powers. It does not allow living creatures to escape and hides the divinity of corruption. In fact, he really likes this gift. The leader of the bandits said that they had no choice, so they should take their swords. They would try to break through the barrier. But then the priest Marnak destroyed him with the help of a giant monster he summoned. The bandits screamed that it was a monster. They all begged for mercy and promised never to stray from the path of righteousness again. The mother of corruption said to do with them as he wished, but let their heads remain intact. He dealt with them and asked if the mother wanted him to gather the divinity from those who had been destroyed by the bandits. But if he did so, their bodies would disappear. In that case, the guild squad sent to investigate would definitely suspect something was wrong. He approached Pierre and told his mother not to worry, that he would give her a gift as soon as he could. Now he had to try to save this boy. He was confident that this would have a positive effect on his reputation, so he needed his mother's help. She should stop his bleeding. The priestess asked her subordinate what had happened to the thief who had stolen the relic. He replied that he had been informed that he had been killed on the spot. She asked where his body was, but he replied that the trackers had no spare supplies and could not afford to slow down. Therefore, they decided not to drag the body and returned with only the relic. She said that he could go free. She plans to go on a pilgrimage in the near future. He asked why so suddenly and not to say it was because of a prophecy. She replied that it was indeed because of a prophecy and that she had to meet someone. 10 years ago, a prophecy was sent to all religious orders. The end of all things will take the form of life and collapse upon the world. Priest Marnak saved Pierre, therefore he can return. The people to whom he handed him over do not understand how he managed to carry him on his own. The girl from the guild said that she had already received permission from the guards. But you can't tell right away that he is strong, but he seems much stronger than he looks. Priest Marnak replied that she was flattering him. Then she asked him what was in his bag. She had heard that these guys were the source of all the problems. Instead of carrying their heads around with them, it would be better to hand them over to the guild for safekeeping. He replied that he would do so and gave her the bag. Then the girl asked if he had a place to spend the night. Priest Marnak replied that in such a large city he would be able to find a room somewhere, and that it was time to go look for one. The girl said that this meant he had nowhere to spend the night. Then her mother uttered the word, destroy. After that, the girl offered him a place to stay for the night, but her mother continued to repeat the word, destroy. The girl led him to a room where he could rest, and in the morning he told her mother that he understood everything and knew why she had made her offer. He had no ulterior motives toward the red-haired young lady. She meant that she would allow him to spend the night in the guild's guest room. She gave him the mercenary's room and that was all. Then the girl knocked on his door and wished him good morning. Then she said that she would like to let him rest as long as he wanted, but there was one matter that required his presence. Priest Marnak replied that it was no problem and asked what the matter was. She replied that the mayor wanted to see him. This surprised him, and he asked if she knew what the mayor wanted from him. She replied that it was about the late captain of the mercenary group, Galed. He was his brother-in-law. After that, the priest Marnak went to the mayor. He was informed that the priest had already arrived. The mayor, Gace Tredon told his subordinate that he could leave. Tredon said that he had heard that he had been with his brother in his last moments, and then offered him tea. When the mother saw the mayor, she drew a cross on him. The priest Marnak asked how a demon could live pretending to be a human. There could only be one reason why the mother hiding in his bosom drew a cross on the mayor. This means that he is not a living being, and only one among them can take on the form of a human, namely, a demon. Although demons are the strongest of all creatures, they are incapable of anything on their own, and there's only one way for them to become part of this world. They have no choice but to make a deal with the inhabitants of the world, which is why demons love all living things. And the gods hated demons, because they give the inhabitants of the world what the gods once took from them, and in the end, the gods announced something to their followers and all the inhabitants of the world. They said that from now on, they would call these beings demons, and that they were pure evil. Since then, the priests have been hunting demons. Now he remembers that the demon contractor class was quite difficult and people actively avoided it. He remembers this because the demon contractor was the second class he played. Tredon said that thanks to Galad's death, such an important guest honored him with his presence. So if he can see right through him, it is clear that he has no connection to the guardian goddess and can call him a creeping expectation. He replied that he was a priest in the service of the mother of corruption and that he should call him Marnak. Tredon said that he thought their order had been destroyed. Therefore, he did not think he would ever see the son of corruption with his own eyes. He invited him to sit down because they were alone here anyway. Tredon said that, to be honest, he had not called him for any particular reason, but the conversation would be about Galad, the captain of the group of mercenaries. He was with him, so perhaps he could tell him how he died. He could be sure that his contribution would not go unnoticed. Priest Marnak replied that he would do as he wished. After the conversation, he thought that it was an unfortunate coincidence. In the winter, after Galad complained about the lack of orders, the mayor found him some underground work. Who would have thought that this would be the cause of his death? Life is a complicated thing. Marnak said that the mayor did not try to bribe him with gold. The mother of the victim said the word destroy. Marnak noted that it was sincere gratitude for the truth about his brother's death, and that he was not one of those priests who could be bought. He believed that she was going too far and asked if she knew that gold does not rot. Marnak asked his mother to listen to him before getting angry. It is very important to always listen to the person you are talking to until the end. There is something else that, like gold, is eternal and will never spoil. It is his love for his mother. She will always be the most important person to him. Therefore, she has nothing to worry about. After that, he returned. The girl asked why he didn't say hello to the priests of the Order of Enlightenment. He thought he had no desire to talk to those freaks. As soon as they noticed them, his mother immediately said that one of them had a sacred relic. The priest said that he strives for righteousness in everything and did not expect to meet the priestess of the guardian goddess here. He is the load on the scales of rebirth. He asked them to call him Orvis. The healthy one was named Cornu. The girl was named Patina. They all greeted the priest Marnak. He also replied that he was pleased to meet them. He was a servant of the guardian goddess Marnak. The girl said that it seemed that the priests of the Order of Enlightenment had also decided to stop here, just like him. Marnak thought that this was a great relief. Even if not right now, he would still have plenty of opportunities to retrieve their relic. The only problem was that when he absorbed the divinity of the relics, some amount of corrupted divinity inevitably entered the world. But he would have to rob again. He was no longer a priest, but a true thief of corruption. Orvis said they would be gone for a short while. They need to greet the city governor, so they will get to know each other better at their next meeting. Marnak does not understand why they need to greet the mayor. The girl said that their guild usually provides blood to priests like them for a moderate fee. He asked if that meant they would also demand payment for last night's lodging. The girl asked him what he thought. Did he really think she would let him stay the night because she cared about him? It was only because he was a priest. Marnak blushed and replied that of course he didn't think that. The girl said that she had her own reasons for inviting him. If he didn't mind letting the food go to waste, could he cast a spell to preserve it? Marnak quickly jumped away from her and asked if she really had to whisper that in his ear. The mother of corruption told him to destroy it. The girl said that she had indeed done it without thinking. Then the priest Cornu approached them and remarked that they seemed to get along well. Marnak asked why he hadn't left with the others. He replied that he had no other choice because of his race. Many of the northern city leaders were prejudiced against him. He had only expressed his respect. The girl said she didn't think Mr. Treaton was like that. He might be cold to others, but he was extremely professional. He clearly separates his work and personal life, and since many of the residents of Geist support him, she would not advise them to speak ill of the city leader. Cornu replied that he would remember her words and asked if he could ask her to tell them more about Mr. Treaton. Marnak asked him why they had decided to visit him after all. Cornu replied that they were actually following a prophecy received 10 years ago. The priest Orvis believes that the end of all existence will take the form of a demon that will descend upon the world. Marnak asked if they were there because they believed the mayor was a demon. Cornu replied that of course not. Mr. Orvis just wants to see for himself, as he has the ability to determine whether a person is a demon or not. This is all thanks to his sacred relic. The sacred relic reacted to the mayor and he realized that he was a demon. Marnak and Cornu realized that something had happened. It sounded like an explosion. Orvis attacked the demon and said that he would die in the name of divine retribution. They began to fight. Cornu said that it was the hammer of Orvis's priest. It seemed that they were fighting the demon. Therefore, they needed to rush to their aid. Marnak told him to go first and that he would join them soon. He called out to a girl named Erin, and she asked what was going on. Marnak asked her where the infirmary was where Pierre was. Marnak asked her to answer him, then picked her up and flew into the air. They saw people calling for help. They also saw priests fighting a demon. One of the people shouted for everyone to run away and not get in the way. Erin said that the monster was rampaging right in the center of the city. Marnak told her to forget about him and tell him where Pierre was. She pointed to a building and they flew there in an instant. When they went inside, they saw Pierre lying unconscious. Erin said it was a great relief that he wasn't hurt. Marnak said he couldn't let him die in all this chaos, especially after he had saved his life under such difficult circumstances. He threw him over his shoulder and told Erin to hold on tight. He couldn't carry her with one arm. Erin held on to him and he took off again. She said she knew a secret passage. Marnak asked where it was and she said it was in that direction. There was a passage in this house that led to the outskirts of Geist, but the door was locked. Marnak kicked the door down. Erin was surprised and said it was impressive. It turns out he is very strong. Marnak left them and said that if the situation got worse, they should run away. She asked what about him. Marnak replied that he had to go back. Erin tried to stop him, but he rushed off to the others. Marnak saw that Cornu was badly wounded and realized that his wounds were too deep. He couldn't help him anymore, but he couldn't just leave him there. He asked where the other priests he had come with were. Cornu replied that Patina had died. Marnak asked if there was any way to defeat the demon. Cornu replied that the second relic they had brought was a white sword with which the priest Orvis had managed to strike the demon in the head. If he took this sword and managed to reach the demon's brain with it, the demon would die. After that, Cornu died. Marnak turned to the mother of corruption and said that he was giving her his divinity. After that, he received 100 units of divinity. Then he saw Orvis fighting the demon and realized that this was his chance. It was just perfect. All he needed was the white sword. He wanted to get closer to the demon, but the demon struck him. Then he heard his mother say something and replied that he was fine. So she shouldn't worry. She said that blessings are always followed by curses. Then he saw a relic lying next to him. He said that this was a very interesting turn of events. He took the relic and told his mother that he was sacrificing another sacred relic to her. Therefore, he asked her to bestow another new gift upon him. Let his mother break the seal. He thought that it seemed that each sacred relic contained enough divinity to grant one gift. Then he said that another seal had been removed and asked her to tell him what had changed. Then he saw a hand in the distance. He said he was glad that she could now support him from afar, but wondered if the effect was too weak after absorbing the sacred relic. The mother of corruption always responds with only one word: destroy. But he always understands her and said that he was just happy for her new abilities. So she shouldn't be angry because it was just a joke. But they were not in the best position, and now was not the time for jokes. Marnak told the mother of corruption that he would give her 10,000 points of divinity, and asked her to grant him a new gift. And then he thought about what he would get. Inscriptions of corruption. The effect of this gift is simple but powerful. When he activates it, dark green metaphysical tattoos will appear all over his body. They would also greatly enhance his physical abilities. Marnak told his mother that it was a good gift and that he needed it right now. He felt his injured leg heal, and then he saw the priest of Orvis who had died in battle with a demon. Marnak thought that they must have fallen from the demon's back at the same time, so let him rest in peace. He turned to his mother and asked her to humbly accept this divinity. Then he said that it was very strange. Those who angered the demon were priests of the Order of Enlightenment, but despite the fact that they were all dead, the demon was still raging for some reason. He received 1,000 points of divinity and said that he thought demons were not animals ruled only by instinct. Then he told his mother to hold on tight because it might shake, and then he went to look for the sword. He found the white sword and wanted to take it. But then he noticed that the demon was leaning forward. It looked like he was about to roll over again. But that was exactly what he was waiting for. The same trick wouldn't work on him twice. Marnak noticed that the inscriptions were draining him faster than he had expected. When he used this gift, his body began to decay from within. If the battle with the demon dragged on, the damage would spread throughout his body. Then he would be finished. So there was no time to waste. Marnak remembered Cornu's words about the white sword that the priest Orvis had used to harm the demon. If he tried to thrust it deeper, the demon might die. Marnak took the sword and told Lord Treaton to wake up. Treaton appeared before him. Marnak asked if he was awake. Treaton said that meeting him was a great blessing that he could only have asked for. Marnak said there was no need to thank him, and that the sword in his head seemed to have greatly suppressed his will. He asked what he would say to that. Was the gold spent worth it? Marnak offered him his hand, and Treaton replied that it was worth even more than that. The priestess who was looking for Marnak went to the place where he had been caught with the relic and destroyed. She found the priest who had dealt with him. The priest said it was incredible. Every time he looked at this gift, he realized how incredible it was, but the body was no longer there. He was sure that he had found the boy and dealt with him right here, but a lot of time had passed. Perhaps monsters or wild animals had dragged his body away. The priestess said that was probably the case. She thanked him for bringing her here, but she wanted to ask him something. She was interested in the nearest cities and asked if he could tell her about each of them. Meanwhile, the priest Marnak came to the mayor of Treaton. The mayor's subordinate let him in. Treaton greeted him and said that he had been looking forward to seeing him, and that with each new meeting he was becoming even more handsome. Marnak thanked him for the compliment. Treaton remarked that he was a demon assassin, and that he could not express his gratitude to him. Then Marnak remarked that the demon was alive and well. He replied that demons also wanted to live. He did not think that there was a living creature in the world that was born only to die. Marnak replied that he was right. When the commotion ended, Treaton announced to the townspeople that he was the one who had defeated the terrible demon and unexpectedly appeared as their savior. He would become the savior of the city itself. As a result, although he did not like it very much, the residents called him the Demon Assassin. Perhaps Erin likes this nickname because she only calls him that in public, attracting everyone's attention. People admire him and discuss whether this priest is really the famous Demon Assassin. Some people said that there were rumors that despite his appearance, he was very strong, and had even managed to deal with 7 bandits on his own. But if he could handle a demon, then what could those bandits do to him? People were worried about what would happen if another monster like him appeared. Marnak told Treaton that he found it strange to see his wooden prosthetics move so smoothly. Treaton replied that he only behaved that way in front of him. Around other people, he limped conspicuously, and to be able to move them so naturally, he had to pay a high price. Marnak asked what price he was talking about. Treaton replied that sooner or later the hair on his head would lose its strength and fall out like leaves in the middle of autumn. If they met again in a few months, Marnak would notice his baldness. Marnak imagined it. Treaton said they would leave it for later and asked if he had a few weeks to spare. Marnak replied that of course he did. The mayor said that was great. He had a request that had been sent to him, and the client insisted that Marnak take it on. Marnak was surprised and asked why him. Treaton replied that they thought it would be a perfect job for a demon assassin. After they learned about this story, they said that the order was related to sacred relics of an ancient empire. The payment was 5 gold nips. He would receive the entire payment in advance, and if they considered his contribution to the exploration of the ruins significant, they would share it with him. They are willing to give him one of the relics they find. Then the mother of the spoiled girl turned to Marnak. He thought that, as the mother had said, it was worth going there and seeing it all for himself, so he said he would accept the order. An ancient empire had existed since time immemorial. Its founding put an end to the era of mad magicians and united the entire continent. Nowadays, when they recreate their technology, precious items with magical abilities are called sacred relics. In other words, most of the high-ranking items in this world are actually relics of the ancient empire. Priest Marnak approached the team he was to accompany on their expedition and introduced himself. He said he was a priest of the guardian goddess. The man said he was pleased to meet them. He was the one who had sent the request to Mr. Treaton, and his name was Carmen Valtis. The name sounded familiar to Marnak. Carmen Valtis said that his assumption was correct. Anthony Valtis of the Black Wolves was his father. And to avoid misunderstanding, he was his illegitimate son. This surprised Marnak. He believed that such a thing could not be possible for an uncompromising black wolf. Marnak thought that after the death of his wife, he would be left alone. But it seemed that the rumors about him were far from reality. But it was not worth delving into this topic. It would be too impolite of him. Marnak asked if he could introduce him to his companions. Carmen replied that of course he would. The mage in the hooded robe was called Tunis. She would be their guide on the way to the sacred relics. The other member of the team was Sukus. As he had already noticed, he was from the tribe of the unicorns. This slave could always be relied upon. Sukus shook Marnak's hand and said he was pleased to meet a demon assassin. Marnak replied that he felt uncomfortable being called that, so he asked them to just call him Marnak. Sukus remarked that there was no reason to be shy about his achievements. Carmen said that if they were done getting acquainted, they should get going. The journey to their destination would take about 2 days. They would have time to talk on the road. After that, they set off and in 2 days almost reached their destination. Carmen asked Marnak if he was also awake and suggested that he should get some rest. Marnak thanked him and replied that he had already slept enough. Then Carmen remarked that he was still young, but they still had plenty of time before sunrise and asked if he would tell him an interesting story. He was sure that such a handsome guy had seen many girls in his life. Marnak replied that he was as pure as the snow that covered the fields in winter. Carmen said he hadn't expected that and asked him to tell him what kind of women he liked. Marnak replied that he probably liked women who were always ready to be with him. Carmen agreed with this answer. He also added that every time he wakes up in the morning, there's nothing better than seeing a beautiful woman sleeping peacefully next to him in bed. Personally, he believes that the most important thing in a woman is her heart, but that's obvious. Portia's mother liked this answer. Carmen added that the heart is in the chest, and girls with big hearts simply must have big breasts. That's why he adores such women. Marnak said that understanding one's desires is a very useful quality. He is sure that it will help him many times in his travels. But if he could give him one piece of advice, he would advise him not to talk about such things in the presence of ladies. Carmen replied that this was self-evident. He doesn't tell this to everyone he meets and only shared it with him, because every time they talk he feels like he's talking to an old friend. Marnak remarked that he felt the same way. After that, they talked and joked for a long time until dawn. His mother's spirit spoke to him. He replied in his mind that he had not forgotten her advice about being careful when choosing friends, but he enjoyed talking to this guy. At dawn, they continued on their way. Tunisia said that they had arrived and that she would now open the entrance to the ruins. Getting into the ruins of the ancient empire was quite easy. First, they had to find the key, then go to the coordinates indicated on the key and read the spell. The spell was engraved in an ancient language. After reading the spell, they could insert the key and turn it clockwise or counterclockwise. Since only magicians can read texts in ancient languages, the role of a magician in such expeditions is indispensable. The only exception is probably the players. Even though he is not a magician, as a player he can still read the ancient language. But of course, it would be better for him to keep this a secret from others. Unfortunately, in this world where he has no connections, obtaining the key is problematic. They went inside and Carmen said that compared to all the other ruins they had been to, these were the best preserved. Then he suggested they start exploring and remarked that he was sure there were many artifacts hidden in these ruins. Marnak couldn't even imagine that he would have the chance to visit the ruins he had only seen on a computer screen. His heart was ready to jump out of his chest. They continued their exploration and came to a large, sealed door. The door said that they had to prove that the blood of the empire flowed in their veins. Marnak thought that these were ancient inscriptions. Tunisia said that since there were no rulers of the ancient empire among them, they should prepare for battle. After that, monsters attacked them and they began to fight. Together as a team, they defeated these creatures. Matinka warned Marnak of the danger, and he stopped the monster's attack, then remembered that there was another one nearby. Therefore, it must be destroyed before it attacks him or someone else. Carmen shot an arrow at the monster. Marnak thanked him for his help. Then they saw Sukus and Tunis arguing with each other. Sukus asked why she kept throwing skeletons right in their faces. Marnak or he could have been hurt. Tunisia replied that it was the fastest way to get rid of the enemy because they were going to destroy them all anyway. Could he stop whining? Sukus asked what she had just said and if she was looking for trouble. Carmen decided to intervene and told them to stop arguing, and after his words, they calmed down. Then Carmen turned to Marnak and said that he had to admit that he was rightly called a demon assassin. Marnak replied that he was even a little ashamed. He thought his behavior was unbecoming of a priest. Carmen replied that he had to agree with him on that. Marnak noted that his archery was incredible. Carmen replied that he had been using a bow and arrows since childhood. He had trained as much as he could. Then Tunisia approached them and asked when they would be leaving because she was ready. There was plenty of mana left. Sukus asked why she couldn't stay put again since they had barely rested. He didn't know about the spellcasters, but warriors who held back the enemy in the vanguard like him and Marnak needed rest. Tunisia remarked that, in her opinion, everyone else had already agreed with her, and if everyone except him was ready to continue, it would be better to get to the end of the ruins quickly, and not sit here. To be honest, she thinks he just wants to show off. Sukus asked what she said. Carmen suggested taking a short rest before continuing on their way and letting them finish arguing. Marnak believes that in this world, those who are called magicians are usually very arrogant, but most of them are just a bunch of fools. Becoming a mage here is very easy. All you have to do is be born one, although the process varies slightly from person to person. Those who are born with mana, it awakens at a certain age. When this happens, knowledge of an ancient language pours into their minds like a raging torrent. Without making any effort, they are able to use ancient spells and mana that breaks the laws of the universe. They are reborn as magicians, but because of the amount of knowledge filling their heads, they tend to reject anything new. As a result, most magicians turn into stubborn, uneducated fools. Almost all magicians are selfish and couldn't care less about those around them. Tunis is not much different from the mages he has met. And to be honest, compared to other mages, she still behaves quite politely. Carmen said that their rest was over and it was time to move on to the next zone, so they continued on their way. Upon entering the next area, they noticed that the door had closed behind them. Then monsters began to appear in front of them. Marnak thought that it couldn't be that simple. The enemies they had encountered before were too weak for such ruins. It seemed that this giant was the program's boss. Tunis approached and told Sukus to step back. She read the spell. Carmen said it was dangerous. He should just say the spell and run away. But she didn't have time to do anything, and the giant destroyed her. Then he attacked Sukus. Marnak warned him to lie down. but he couldn't do anything. There were only 2 of them left, and Marnak asked Carmen if he wanted to live. Carmen asked him again, and he repeated that he wanted to live. Carmen said yes, and Marnak told him to grit his teeth. Marnak struck him and said that luckily he had his giant. Carmen passed out. Then Marnak turned to his mother and said that he was in a hurry and didn't have time to pray, but to just throw him down. The mother of corruption fulfilled his request, and he said that this boy could always be relied upon and that she would say so. Then he took Tunis's staff and received 1,000 divinity points for it and 100 divinity points for Sukus's weapon. He took Carmen to a safe place and said that this battle would probably not end quickly, and asked his mother what she thought about it. Then he said that the games were over and it was time to get serious. His goal was the white iron golem, and part of it was in his head, that blue crystal. If it was the only part of his body that stood out, it was worth trying to destroy it. If he managed to destroy it, he was sure that something would happen. Marnak jumped on the golem. Then he struck it, aiming directly at the crystal. He managed to break the crystal and thus defeated the golem. Marnak thanked the monster he had summoned for his help. Then his mother pointed in the other direction. Marnak asked her what was going on. He saw that portals had opened and 3 more golems had emerged from them. Marnak asked how many more there were. Carmen came to his senses and asked if his companions had died. Marnak replied that unfortunately they had. He would have liked to save them if he could have. But there was no such opportunity. Everything happened too fast. Carmen said that the key should have been activated the moment the golem fell from the ceiling. He had only met them recently, and now they had both become victims of his greed. Marnak noted that they weren't going on a picnic. Everyone knew that something could happen to them, so he shouldn't blame himself. Carmen asked what kind of place it was. Marnak replied that they were behind a black door. Carmen asked how that was possible and that it would probably be inappropriate to ask him what he was hiding. After all, he had deliberately cut it off and saved his life. Therefore, he had to repay his debt and swore by the name of Valtus. Marnak said he would look forward to it. Carmen remarked that he should not put his finger in his mouth. Then Marnak replied that he saw no reason to refuse gratitude, and if he was feeling better, then they should probably continue on their way. Moreover, he had not destroyed the iron golems, but had simply fled from them. Carmen agreed that they should go. As Marnak had said, after he destroyed one of the golems with the help of the Giant of Destruction, 3 more fell from the ceiling, and he left the Giant of Decay as a punching bag. After he barely managed to lift the door, he threw Carmen forward. Since he told the Giant to come back as soon as he sorted everything out, he thinks the Giant will return soon. Marnak hoped that he wasn't offended. They approached the door, and Marnak said that it looked like they had reached the end of the ruins. Then he told Carmen not to be shy and look around. They opened the last door and went inside. In front of them, they saw a relic of an ancient empire. Carmen said that the stories in the books were true. He understood that now was not the best time to ask for a favor, but could he count on him? Carmen asked if he would mind if he took the necklace. He was willing to pay him a fair price for it. Marnak asked what kind of necklace it was, and he replied that it was called a family tree finder. You had to spill blood on it and think about a specific family tree. In exchange for his blood, the necklace will show the way to its nearest wearer. That way, one can find their ancestry. Marnak understood Carmen's idea. Carmen said he was sure he already knew what he was up to. He wanted to find his mother, whom he had never seen. Marnak asked if he would mind if he took the sword. After agreeing on everything, they decided to return. Carmen said he didn't want to see a piece of iron bigger than himself near him. Marnak agreed with him, because if they delayed even a little on their way back, those things would destroy them immediately. Carmen said that he thought they would not be able to escape. Then he took the necklace from his neck and asked the priest Marnak if he could bless him. Marnak said that of course he would. Carmen thanked him, then pricked his finger and asked the guardian goddess to protect him. He spilled a drop of his blood on the necklace, and then something began to happen. Carmen said he knew his mother was alive. Marnak replied that he was glad that the necklace was working as it should. Carmen remarked that it was all thanks to him, and that he did not even know how to repay him for his help. Marnak replied that whatever it was, he would accept his gratitude. Carmen asked if he would listen to his last request. Marnak replied that of course he would listen, and he said that he would like to continue working with him until he found his mother. If he was leaving for the West anyway, they could visit the capital, where he could pay him his reward for the task. Of course, all delays along the way would be his responsibility, and money was no object. Marnak thought about it and was troubled by the fact that Carmen would immediately understand his true intentions, so he decided to make him wait a little longer. Carmen waited quite a long time for his answer. Then he asked what he thought. Marnak believed that if he stalled a little, he would not be treated like a fool. But in the end, he agreed, and they shook hands. Then Marnak said that if he didn't mind him joining him in his search for his mother, he was ready to provide him with all possible support. Having agreed on everything, they returned to the city of Geis. Aaron asked if he was leaving so soon after everything she had done for him. She was indignant and said she couldn't believe it. Then she asked him to give her his hand. He apologized, not understanding what she had in mind. Aaron said to just give her his hand. Usually this process took much longer, but she had made every effort to get it for him today. Aaron asked if he understood. Marnak asked what it was. She said it was a silver-ranked mercenary badge. Aaron repeated that she had tried to get it as quickly as possible, so surely he understood what he needed to say to her. Marnak asked if he should thank her, and she said no. Then she added that he should say they would see each other again. He had to promise to come back. Those were exactly the words he needed to say right now. In his mind, he apologized to her for living the life of a vagabond. Therefore, this promise was not meant to be fulfilled. Aaron remarked that if the priest Marnak continued to live this way, he would never marry and would die alone. But if he didn't want to say it, then she would say it herself. Then Aaron said that they would see each other again. She suggested they meet again sometime when the opportunity arose, and that opportunity would come much sooner than he thought. Marnak asked what she meant, and she replied that he didn't need to know. Just remember, it was her parting gift and his punishment. After that, he decided to meet with the mayor, Geist Traden Filian. Marnak said that the side effects had manifested themselves much sooner than he had expected, but people are still born without hair. Traden Filian replied that he had only taken a step closer to the natural image of a human being, but they had to get back to business. He had heard that he was going to the capital and had prepared something for him as soon as he heard the news. Marnak asked if it was a letter of recommendation. Traden said that he would be happy to repay him with gold, but as far as he knew, he had spent a lot on repairing the city, so now he was penniless. So he wrote him a letter of recommendation. Since he had learned that he had decided to go to the capital, in case of trouble, his friend there would be able to help him, but it was difficult to communicate with him. In his place, he would not have approached him without extreme necessity. Marnak thanked him for the gift. Traden replied that he should not worry about it. It was a token of their friendship. He hoped that his life would turn out for the best, because life is always so short. Marnak and Carmen set off to search for his mother. Carmen said that several days had passed since they left Geist. In another half day, they would reach the next town, Kelton. Marnak heard his mother talking to him. It seemed that his mother was still not fond of Carmen. She did not mind him traveling with him only because she valued him at 3.5 fingers. If he took his divinity, he would receive 10,000 divinity, which was equivalent to another gift. He is a man with the potential to reach 4 fingers. Personally, he likes his carefree nature and would like to see him alive. Marnak senses something and takes out the weapon he found in the ruins. Carmen asks the priest what is wrong and notes that he is frightening him. Marnak replied that he could sense blood very close by and that it was getting closer. They saw a giant snow spider in front of them. Carmen attacked it with arrows. Marnak also attacked it. Then he said that before using this sword again, they should find a place to wash themselves beforehand, because it splatters too much. Meanwhile, a priestess looking for Marnak arrived in the city of Geist. Mayor Traden Filian thanked her for honoring the city of Geist with her presence. He apologized for receiving her in his office. Unfortunately, the guest quarters had been destroyed, especially in his current state. She replied that he should not worry about such things. Traden asked her the purpose of her visit. It was very rare to see the blue flame of the Order of the Torch on a pilgrimage. She asked him to take a look at something. She asked if he had ever seen this boy. Traden Filian recognized the priest Marnak and asked if he could inquire why she was looking for this boy. She replied that she had personal reasons. He replied that he didn't, then apologized and said that no one came to mind. If she had no further questions for him, it was time to say goodbye. Amidst such sadness, he had no time for friendly conversation. She replied that it was up to him. Traden Filian thought that it didn't seem like she was looking for him with good intention. Traden hoped that everything would be fine with him, even if he didn't send him a message. After the conversation, the priestess left without getting an answer to her questions. Meanwhile, Marnak and Carmen dealt with the spider. Marnak asked Carmen what he was doing, and he replied that he was removing the snow spider's poison glands. Snow spider venom has a strong paralyzing effect. It can be used in a variety of situations. For example, it can be used to coat arrowheads or simply sold for a good price. Marnak asked how he knew about this. This was unusual for a young rich man. Carmen replied that he had participated in monster hunts many times. There is nothing better than learning by doing, or perhaps he does not think so. Marnak noted that it splashed more than he thought. He said he would take care of the processing because he was already dirty. Just tell me where the glands are. Carmen replied that it was only half a day's journey to Kelton. He would teach him how to extract them and they would clean them together, then head to the city and straight to the baths. Marnak said that sounded good. After finishing the dirty work, they barely made it to town where they were already met at the entrance. The man asked how they got there. Marnak said they just walked there. Carmen asked what he meant. Then the man said that Kelton had been under siege for 3 days. They had been attacked by monsters. Marnak asked if they could enlighten them on the details. The man replied that the attacks had become more frequent lately. Then they searched the cities where the monster attacks had taken place. But there were no traces of battle, not even bodies. Carmen asked if there were any people left who had been caught by the snow spiders. This was strange because snow spiders drank all the blood from their victims to the last drop, making it difficult for them to leave any traces behind. Then another man ran up to them and said that Lord Stren wanted to see them both, because he would take them to the Lord's mansion. Lord Stren asked Marnak if he was the priest Marnak, the assassin of demons. He couldn't even imagine how happy he was to hear that Marnak had arrived in the city. Marnak said that he had already heard about the situation with the monsters. Lord Stren replied that it was because of them that he had asked for him to be brought here immediately. He must already know that the current situation was caused not only by the actions of the monsters. Behind it all were the followers of an evil spirit. Marnak asked if he thought that blocking all the roads leading to the city was an impossible task for them. Lord Stren replied that, according to the priests, at least 4 different sects were involved. They were working together. All this is being done to separate Kelton from other cities, but Kelton is an ordinary city with nothing remarkable about it. He couldn't understand why something like this had started happening right after he was appointed the new mayor. If only his father were alive, he was sure he would have found a way out of this situation. But it was good that they still had enough food supplies. The guards' morale is high, so things aren't all that bad. But they were cut off from the rest of the world completely out of the blue. No one even knows that Kelton is under siege. Therefore, they need someone who can break through the blockade and convey news of their situation to other cities. They need a group of people who are willing to sacrifice themselves to accomplish the task. Marnak said that he was ready to provide them with all the help he could in this matter. After the conversation, he decided to listen to his mother's opinion. He asked what it meant that he should have slapped him and left. This was too much, but at least they got something else from the Seekers. This item could only be found in the Western Desert, and he would never have thought he could get it here. Now they wouldn't have to worry about the bathroom after using the new weapon. Moreover, she herself said that it would become sharper if he soaked it in water. Besides, the main thing was to live life to the fullest. He always wanted to say that. Marnak thought that he agreed to the Lord's request, not because he liked him. It seemed to him a sign that the main quest was about to begin. There was one reason he had come to this conclusion. 4 different sects suddenly started working together. Although the title of evil spirit sounds quite scary, it doesn't mean much in this game. It's just a label that the main gods put on their enemies to brand them, and then they get persecuted. But one thing is certain, among those who worship evil spirits, it is rare to find a sensible person. Therefore, unlike orders that occasionally unite to fight evil spirits, sects rarely interact with each other. That is why he senses something bad. It is unusual for evil spirit sects to surround a city with joint efforts. Marnak and Carmen set out to complete Lord Stren's task, and were attacked by spiders. Marnak realized that the time had come. He said he would distract them. Carmen asked what he was talking about. Even for him, it was too dangerous to go alone against such a crowd. Marnak said that if things continued like this, they would both be captured. He was sure that he understood that they couldn't escape at such speed. So he asked him to bring reinforcements and jumped off his horse. Then he asked his mother if what he had just said was cool. Marnak said he couldn't believe his ears and that she must find his acting interesting. So he gladly takes it as a compliment, and why not find the followers of the evil spirits hiding behind the monsters? He started fighting the monsters until he destroyed them all and said that if he got into such trouble every day, he would have to carry a bathtub with him. His mother turned to him and he said they would talk about it later because right now he wanted to find the evil spirits. They must know that he is leaving, but it seems that no one wants to come out and say goodbye to him, and he wonders what he has done to deserve such treatment. He remembered that the Lord had mentioned that the carriages that had been attacked were completely empty, and that the monsters had probably taken everything from them. Then he found a lifeless body and said it was a traveler who had been eaten by snow spiders. He can understand their desire for a tasty meal, but not to use the remains of the meal as decoration. To be honest, they're not very good designers. Then he told his mother not to worry because he would remain vigilant. Still, he wondered what she thought about how many they had caught. She replied, and he said that they wouldn't be able to eat that much in 3 days. Were they preparing food for children? Then he went into the tunnel and said that the tunnels here were huge. It was as if several giants lived here. He also constantly felt someone's divine presence behind him and suggested that they leave. He knew they were there. After that, a crowd of spiders approached him. Marnak asked his mother if she would draw a protective circle around him. His mother did as he asked, and he told the spider that he needed its gift. Today, he would present this spider to his mother. He called his giant for help, but the spider was still twice as big as him, so he had to think of a way to help. Marnak feels the divinity concentrated in the body of the Spider Queen, so he acts cautiously and tries not to harm her. But she must have a weak spot. His mother gave him a hint, and he realized that the divinity was in her chest and decided to deal with the excess part. He tells the giant to hold on and not let her go, and he will help. Let him distract her for now. He may be big, but a spider is still a spider. All he needed to do was deliver one precise blow to the thinnest spot. Marnak struck the spider and then noticed the giant looking at him with an angry gaze and apologized for running away last time. Then he saw a girl climbing out of the spider and said he knew it was a human. The girl sent him away. Then she asked who he was to so brazenly ruin all her plans, especially since he was clearly a follower of the evil spirit, just like her. Did he even realize how much time she had spent to subdue the queen? Marnak asked why they had surrounded Kelton. She asked why she should tell him. After that, he attacked her, and she screamed that he was hurting her. Marnak asked again why they had surrounded Kelton, but she refused to answer him, so he asked her again. She said she would rather die than tell him anything, and what he would do then. Marnak said he understood. Then he killed her and received 1,000 points of divinity, saying that he was curious to see which of his followers would tell them the whole truth. Matinka told him it was the third, and he said that in that case he would bet on the fourth. Marnak returned to the city and saw that it was burning, and said that they must have decided not to wait. One of the evil spirit's followers asked how that fat pig managed to escape so quickly. Had he been practicing since birth? It was only because he was a nobleman that these degenerate guards protected him to the last, wasting their precious time. Another follower asked what was going on with the incarnation, and the girl replied that it was still unstable. They should know that obtaining divinity from living beings is not an easy task. In addition, thanks to some people, they lost several test subjects before the preparations were complete. Not only was the implementation of their plan being delayed, but their chances of success were also significantly reduced. Their chances of success were also significantly decreasing. The girl asked if she thought it was intentional. After all, she had done everything she could. But those two monks and the third one from the Order of Enlightenment continued to interfere and get in her way. If only Layla had sent them a few spiders, and the one with the bow who managed to escape in the end, they would have caught him. But they were prevented from doing so. Then one of the followers said that Layla had not yet appeared. This wasn't the first time she had wasted their time with her spiders. Even if she had brought her spiders, they would have just played with the lifeless bodies nearby. The follower said that was enough. There was no point in fighting among themselves now. And if the archer had managed to escape, punitive detachments would soon be sent after them. Let them not forget how many years they had been preparing for this day. The follower remarked that he had probably forgotten something. She had also spent 3 years of her life on this, and why was he suddenly acting like he was the leader? His lectures were making her sick. Did he really think she'd let him go because she wanted to? Let him yell at her and tell her again that she let him down. What's wrong with her today? Maybe he doesn't pay any attention to her. She knows that they have grown very close lately. One follower said she would go outside to see how things were going. Another follower asked if she thought people would be able to manage without her. Then a follower told her to stop and called her Parna. He would make sure that Layla took responsibility for the rat who had escaped. Parna said that if that was the case, she would keep quiet. After that, they noticed that someone was attacking them. Marnak attacked them and immediately killed one of the followers and then the follower. Only Parna remained among them. Then Marnak told his mother that he had killed the third one, but he didn't ask anything, and he knew that it was unfair. But these people could manipulate divinity and were quite capable of harming him. He was sure that his mother would prefer to see him alive and well rather than win a meaningless argument. Parna looked at him and did not understand why he was talking to himself. Then he called her a follower of an evil spirit. He asked why they had surrounded Kelton. She told him everything, and he said it was impressive. He couldn't even imagine such a thing. Parna said that it was obvious and asked if he really thought they had spent 3 years on this plan for nothing. They wouldn't have wasted so much time if it were something insignificant. The girl named Parna answered all his questions. She told him everything. It was as if she had been waiting for him to ask. The story was simple. They wanted to sacrifice all the inhabitants of the city and create this sphere. This sphere absorbs divinity, and they call it the embodiment. To carry out their plan, they had been hiding in the city for 3 years. The preparations were supposed to take at least 5 more days, but they had to rush to the final stage of the plan because they let Carmen escape. Marnak took out his weapon, and Parna asked him what he was doing. He asked her what she thought. He was going to destroy this monster. This monster was devouring the city's inhabitants and had to be destroyed before it awoke. Parna begged him not to do it. But he struck the monster and said that if this thing sensed danger, it would immediately wake up in an unstable form. The monster woke up and screamed that it was in pain. Mother turned to Marnak, and he said that he understood perfectly well that there was a sacred relic inside the monster. He continued to attack the monster and said that they would destroy another seal and offer this piece to her as a sacrifice. Parna asked what he was doing and if he didn't understand that it wouldn't work. But Marnak destroyed her and said that it was her punishment. For her, he received 1,000 points of divinity. With that, his divinity now stands at 8,592. He also managed to take the divinity from the mayor of the city of Kelton, who had died. But to get a new gift, he will need about 10,000 points of divinity. If he defeats the monster with his relic, it will simply regenerate. And if he misses its attacks, he will inevitably be defeated. This monster does not have an obvious weak spot like the Spider Queen. In this situation, there is only one correct decision. He can only run away. Marnak decided to collect divinity from all the dead, but he only got 1 point of divinity from ordinary people, and he had very little left to obtain a new gift. Some people could give him 10 points of divinity. He decided that he would simply run away until he had gathered enough divinity. The monster continued to follow him, repeating only the word pain. It all came down to whether the monster would catch him first, or would he get a new gift faster? They would see who was faster. Then the monster screamed again. Marnak thought that even in its cry he could sense divinity. It was a true walking disaster. There was no other way to describe it. The monster wanted to attack him, and Marnak turned to his mother and asked her to help him. She sent a giant to his aid. The giant immediately attacked the monster. As Marnak had thought, 1 giant would not be enough. So he told him not to overdo it and that he would return soon. He decided that he needed to continue searching for the dead in order to collect divinity. It would be good if he found the bodies of elite soldiers or at least knights. So he went closer to the flames, hoping to find someone there. He understood that these bodies had been lying there long enough for the divinity to be extracted from them. If only he had known earlier how everything would turn out. Then he would have collected the divinity from them first while looking for followers of evil spirits. Now he didn't have enough divinity. The amount he has managed to accumulate so far is 9,237. There is still a little left. He needs to find bodies, but while he was searching, a monster caught up with him. He has changed a lot. Marnak said that he could see that he had grown considerably after his battle with the Giant of Corruption. After that, they began to fight. But the monster immobilized him and struck him, causing Marnak to fall. He told his mother not to worry because he was fine. He also said that today was his lucky day. Marnak asked her if she remembered what the evil spirit's follower had said about the nobleman, whom the guards had defended to the last. He thought that it all happened right here and that he would be able to gather the divinity from the guards. Marnak saw that the monster had climbed onto the roof. Then he told his mother to gather the divinity from everyone. In this way, he gathered 9,897 points of divinity. But it continued to grow, and in the end, he gathered 10,001 points of divinity, so now he can receive the gift. Turning to his mother, he said that her son wished to present her with 10,000 points of divinity and asked her to grant him a new gift in return. In an instant, it became very dark, and the monster did not understand what was happening and repeated only the word pain. Marnak said that soon he would be in much more pain than he was now, so let him prepare for it. The new gift from his mother was the Rift of Decay. It decomposed everything living that dared to enter it, and of course, he was no exception. But he used the inscriptions of corruption to choose the parts of the body that would decay first, depending on their usefulness in battle. Marnak told the monster that now they would see which was faster, his regeneration or his decay. After that, he struck it with his sword, and the monster said that was enough. Marnak told his mother that he had done it. Then he took the relic and said that it was the relic that had been inside him. He said he was giving the relic to her and asked his mother to destroy the seal. She broke the seal and everything stopped. The sky suddenly became clear and bright. Marnak noticed that his mother's hand had disappeared. Then he saw a girl in front of him and asked if she was his mother. She approached him and he stroked her and said that he recognized his mother immediately. Then he asked her why she was asking him why she was in a child's body. Shouldn't she know better? Marnak asked if he could ask her something. He wanted to know about the divinity of the other god flowing in this monster's incarnation. Was there a way to take her away? He didn't want such goodness to be lost. The mother of corruption decided to try to use her power. But she couldn't do anything. Marnak told her not to overexert herself if nothing worked, so she should leave him alone. Then she hugged him, and he said that because the divinity of the god and the relic had mixed, it would most likely be impossible to separate them. He felt sorry, of course, but there was nothing he could do. If they had already destroyed another seal with the help of the sacred relic, he would try something else. Marnak said that he wanted to take this divinity and give it to his mother to receive a new gift. He gave her the divinity, and his mother gave him a new gift. Marnak said he was embarrassed to ask something, but he wondered why she had given him such a gift and asked what it meant that he could use it whenever he wanted, and whether it was too dangerous. The curse of destruction he had received was a gift that would have been perfectly suited to demons from the depths of hell. All living creatures within the radius of the curse, which was comparable to a small town, would begin to slowly decay. Marnak would not have doubted it if he were surrounded by thieves and lifeless bodies, but he did not want to destroy innocent people. He did not want to do this to people just to gain divinity. Still, he was curious to know how this had happened. Marnak asked how one of the relics containing her divinity ended up inside this incarnation. What if it wasn't a coincidence and they deliberately used his mother's divinity to breathe life into this incarnation? Everything was very confusing and his head was even aching. But now there was a more serious problem. He had endured too many attacks filled with divinity. Therefore, his body had reached its limit. Marnak collapsed, exhausted, and his mother was very frightened for him and began to cry. When he opened his eyes, he saw Carmen in front of him, who asked if he was awake. Marnak immediately jumped up. Then he asked where his things were. Carmen told him to calm down, and he asked again where his things were. But then he heard his mother. Carmen gave him his hand. Marnak said that for a moment he thought he had lost it. Carmen replied that he thought this thing had special meaning for him. The others said that he would hardly wear such a thing and wanted to throw it away, so he took it with him. Marnak thanked him. He said he didn't even know how to thank him. Carmen was embarrassed and said he didn't need to thank him, because if he hadn't sacrificed himself then, he would have died without ever leaving Kelton. Marnak asked where they were now, and Carmen replied that it was the place where he was staying. They were still in Kelton. Then Marnak asked how long he had been unconscious, and Carmen replied 10 days. Marnak asked about the other survivors. Carmen replied that he was the only person left alive in Kelton itself. The priestess continued to search for Marnak and gathered the criminals. One of them tried to escape and she attacked him. He begged her not to kill him. She wounded his leg and said that he would not be able to walk anyway. The man replied that he could and that he would not dare try to escape again. But she killed him and, turning to the sacred flame, said that she asked for her slave to be freed from his sins. Then she ordered the other criminals to move on. When she reached the city, she decided to hand over the criminals. One of them said that they were Snow Bear bandits and asked to be put in prison. The priestess said that she had heard what they wanted. The guard agreed but said that the mayor of Kelton, who had offered a reward for their capture, had been killed. He had been killed in an attack by followers of an evil spirit. Therefore, he thought they would need a day to give her the reward she deserved. She asked what had happened to these followers. He replied that both the followers and the monsters they had summoned had been destroyed by the priest Marnak. After a fierce battle, he slept for 10 days and woke up only this morning. She asked if Marnak was the demon assassin from Gaze. She wanted to ask him about the priest he referred to as the enemy of the followers of evil spirits. She was curious to know if he was still in the city. The man told her where she could find him. Before that, Marnak and Carmen had been spending time in a bar. She came to that place and asked those present if they knew where the priest Marnak was. They began to shout, "Hurrah!" and yell his name. They also said that Marnak was the sworn enemy of evil spirits. Marnak and Carmen continued on their way and left the city. Marnak remembered his conversation with the mayor, Geist Tredenfilion. He said he had something to tell him. A blue-haired priestess from the Order of the Sacred Flame was looking for him. Marnak asked if he thought she knew he was alive. Tredan replied that it seemed she was not entirely sure. But she was determined to find him. His mother turned to him, and he thought to himself that he already knew that. Staying in Kelthon would be too dangerous for him. He should have guessed that this woman was the strongest of all the people he had met. Mother rated her at 4.5 fingers. Marnak thanked Carmen for agreeing to leave so quickly. Carmen replied that there was no need to thank him. He himself was not opposed to leaving at the first opportunity, instead of continuing to attract attention. Marnak thought he liked this guy. 2 weeks had passed since they had continued their journey together. Carmen said that he might be mistaken, but in his opinion, it was the emblem of the Iramul family. Marnak asked if he meant the same Iramul, the ones who ruled the south. Carmen replied that he did. The emblem with the white camellia flower belonged to them. Marnak asked if they should greet them if they were coming towards them. Carmen wondered if that was necessary. Considering that they had not raised their family flag, it was most likely not Lord Iramel himself in the carriage, but his relatives or a child. It would be better for them to simply bypass them. Passing by, Marnak sensed something and said that someone was tied up inside the carriage. After that, they were attacked, and the man said that they would have let them go if they had pretended not to notice anything. But now he orders them to kill both of them. Marnak and Carmen quickly dealt with the attackers. Marnak asked how they dared to raise their swords against them. He thought they were kidnappers. Then he told Carmen that there were 8 of them left. Their leader asked what they were doing and told them to deal with them quickly. Could these two really have scared them so much? They didn't have time for games, so they had to hurry up. But Marnak and Carmen dealt with all the others and freed the girl who was sitting in the carriage. Carmen asked if he had found out her name. But she was feeling nauseous, and Marnak replied that he could see it wasn't the right time for a conversation, and that he didn't know what was wrong with her. Maybe they gave her some kind of drug or something, but she still couldn't move properly. Carmen asked if her eyes were yellow. Marnak replied that they were. He thought she was a lady from the Iramul family. The girl said that they should stop patting her on the back. It was making her feel even more nauseous. Then she felt a little better and thanked them for saving her. She decided to introduce herself and said that she was the eldest daughter of Kalto Iramel, the smiling young gentleman, and that her name was Dakia Iramel. Carmen said that if she was really the daughter of the smiling young gentleman, then that meant she was a magician. Marnak thought that she was both a noblewoman and a magician. She would probably behave quite rudely. But they would worry about that later. Carmen whispered to Marnak that she really had a big heart. Marnak agreed with him. Dakia turned to Marnak and asked if she could find out the name of the boy who had saved her. Apparently, he was a priest. He replied that he was a priest of the guardian goddess and that she could call him Marnak. Dakia said that he had a nice name. She was having a little trouble walking, so she asked if they could help her. The paralyzing gas they had pumped into her was still working. Carmen said he would help her. He was the son of Sir Entis Valtis, Carmen Valtis. She was surprised when she heard about Valtis. Then she asked if he was sure he wanted to help her, because if any random passersby saw the black dog Prairie walking with her, rumors would spread. What if the rumors reached the capital? She was sure that they had people in the capital who were dear to them. The least she could do was show some tact. Dakia asked Marnak what he thought about it. He thought she was noble and moreover a magician, and yet she was able to be attentive to those around her. Her answer surprised them both. Carmen asked if she would tell them what events had led her to this situation. She replied that although she had no reliable evidence against the criminal, she thought that even if she told them, it was obvious. The kidnapping had been planned by her brother, who had always despised her. Behind it all was Ders Iramel. Carmen was surprised that it was her brother who was to blame. Dakia said that she had recently received a marriage proposal from the Dragon Kingdom. She was next in line to become the head of the family. That's why he wanted to get rid of her, using this proposal as an excuse. Marnak thought about the situation. If her brother really decided to get rid of her, and maybe that's true, but in reality, mages aren't really respected among nobles. Nobles usually hate magicians, and to be more precise, when it comes to noble families, they are disturbed by the very idea of a magician appearing in their family. The first and most obvious reason is the natural inclinations of magicians. Not only are they very difficult to teach basic manners and etiquette, but they are also very selfish. Granting them additional noble privileges can lead to irreparable consequences. But there is another reason. The second reason why magicians are not welcome among the nobility is an ancient fairy tale. It is a story older than the ancient empire itself, about an era of mad magicians. The story has been passed down from generation to generation. Many believe in the truth of the story. For almost all species in the world, granting magicians power is taboo. Dakia told them that she was claiming the position of one of the 4 great lords of the Northern Kingdom. Marna was curious to know how she intended to accomplish such an impossible task. To take such a high position without destroying her brother Dersho Irimel's main rival. However, such thoughts only crossed his mind when she told the story for the first time. Dakia asked them to answer her honestly. She wondered if they were even listening to what she was saying. Carmen said that they needed to look more closely at the use of the wedding as a pretext. She suspected that people close to her were trying to send her to the Dragon Kingdom. Dakia replied that this was indeed the case. Marnak said that they had listened carefully to her story, but she had repeated it 3 times already. So he hoped that the princess understood why they were flying in the clouds. Besides, while she was talking, her meat had burned. Marnak gave her his meat and told her to eat it and give him the burnt meat. Dakia thanked him for the food. Then Marnak remarked that he was sure she would have no problems with frying next time. Of course, that was only if she talked less while cooking. After a while, Dakia said she had a business proposal for them. Marnak thought it was obvious. He understood that she would try to get their support. Dakia asked them to accompany her to Bidis, located on the lands of the Irimel family. Everything turned out as he had expected. Dakia said that if they agreed, she would give them as many kilograms of gold as they weighed. Marnak thought that someone of the rank of a great lord must be someone important, and that she was incredibly generous. But at the moment, he was working for Carmena. Therefore, he would delay the search for his mother if he accepted the lady's offer. Moreover, he had saved his mother's hand from being burned. If Carmen decided to continue westward, he would follow him and refuse the gold. Then his mother turned to him. He cannot believe that she wants him to eat his belly full. Let her enjoy the gold, but does she really want her son to turn into a pig? Carmen said that they agreed. If they had decided to intervene, they would stay with her until the end. As a member of the Valtus clan, he could not do otherwise. In the morning, they set off on their journey, and after a while, Marnak said he could see the city ahead. He hoped they would find a hot bath there. They headed for the city and immediately decided to find rooms for the night. Carmen arranged everything and said that their rooms were at the end of the corridor on the 3rd floor. He had already asked for water to be prepared for the bath, so he suggested they hurry up so they could wash and have dinner. So they all went to their rooms to finish up quickly and eat something tasty. Dakia said that it looked good and that they knew how to cook here. Marnak thought that at moments like this, he regretted not being able to taste anything. Marnak noticed that the girl taking orders was being harassed. She asked them to stop, but the man grabbed her by the arm. He said that her hands were very soft. The girl said that she needed to take orders from other customers, but he didn't want to let her go and suggested she sit down with them because they had something to talk about. The owner of the establishment approached him. He asked him not to do that in his establishment. The man asked what that meant and if he had really embarrassed her. He just wanted to ask her to fill their cups and listen to his story and why he was wrong. Carmen said that it looked like a fight was about to break out. He asked if he should help the owner. Marnak said that the lady had already left, so he thought he should join in. Dakia hit the man and another man asked her what she thought she was doing. He wanted to attack her, but Marnak grabbed him by the head and slammed it against the table. Dakia thanked him for his help. The owner of the establishment and the girl who had been harassed began to applaud them. Marnak said there was no need for thanks. Carmen grabbed the man and asked if they could at least warn each other before doing something rash. After all, they were a team. Dakia said that since childhood she had been unable to control her anger when she saw someone doing something illegal. Marnak thought that her problem was not her outbursts of anger, but her heightened sense of justice. Carmen found a bag of gold on one of the men and threw it to Marnak, telling him to keep it. Marnak gave it to the owner of the establishment and said that it should be enough to pay for the repairs. The owner thanked him for his help. Then Marnak laughed and said that it was the fool's money anyway. They returned to their rooms. After a while, Marnak decided to visit Dakia. He knocked on her door and she asked who it was. Marnak said it was him and she opened the door. But Marnak grabbed her, pushed her against the wall, and told her to listen to him carefully and be quiet so that Carmen wouldn't wake up. Then he asked if she understood. She had previously said that she couldn't control her anger when she saw someone doing something illegal. But from now on, she would have to behave more cautiously because they were being pursued. They didn't need to attract unnecessary attention. If she did something rash again, he would have to teach her a lesson and then hand her over to her pursuers. That would be a sad ending for her. He hopes that in the future she will discuss her decisions before making them and act more wisely. If she understood him, she should be good and nod her head. She nodded and he wished her a good night. Turning to his mother, he said that he understood why she thought he was rushing things, but he had to resolve this issue once and for all before it caused them much bigger problems. Now they would find out if Dakia Irimel really did have a heightened sense of justice. Vadis Draco learned that they had not caught her. His mercenary said he didn't even know how to explain it. They had encountered unforeseen circumstances and needed additional funding to continue the mission. Vatus Draco was surprised that he was asking for money again, and asked how much he had already given them, and asked him to come over. He punched him. This man's name is Hilden. He heads the eastern branch of the secret global organization Elec. Vatus Draco told him to explain why they needed the money. If he said that his men had suffered heavy losses, it would be the end of him. Hilden thought that his life would be in danger if he failed the task. He had to do it for the sake of his family waiting for him at home. So he said that the problem was with the priest who served the guardian goddess. His name was Marnak, and it was all his fault. Vatus Draco asked if he meant that their plan had failed because of one priest. Hilden asked him to listen to him. Marnak is an unusual priest. He once defeated a demon that turned into a huge monster in guise using only a sword. Not long ago in Kelton, he destroyed a creature summoned by the servants of evil spirits, who sacrificed all the inhabitants of the city for this purpose. Once again, he managed to defeat the creature on his own, earning him the title of sworn enemy of evil spirits. Vatus Draco said that this meant that he was the priest rumored to be the eldest son of Valtus. He then asked if they had found any traces of Dacia. Hilden replied that they had. Dare said that was good and that in that case he would allocate additional funds to them, but let them dare to fail again. After these words, Hilden realized that everything had worked out for him and was very happy that he would return to his beloved and children. Vatus Draco is the third prince of the Dragon Kingdom who proposed to Dacia Irimel. Marnak said that now that he had stepped back a little, he even felt sorry for her. Perhaps he should have been a little gentler. He thinks she would have understood anyway. His mother said something to him and he asked her why he was so concerned about this girl. She is still their client. Then he heard someone knocking on the door and asked who it was. Mother Porch immediately hid. Dacia said it was her and he let her in. She entered and noticed the food he was feeding his mother. She asked if he had decided to have a second dinner. He replied that he was a little hungry. Dacia asked if she could sit down. She had something to discuss with him. She asked if the reason he had warned her in such a manner was because she was a magician. He said yes, and she remarked that she knew it. People often looked at her that way. Most people who had suffered at the hands of mages usually had that look, but his gaze was slightly different. Although he looked at her with eyes full of hatred, he said that she should mend her ways if they were going to travel together. Most people who looked at her that way tried to harm her. If they encounter injustice again, she will not be able to ignore it. But she would definitely discuss this issue with him as he had asked. After all, they were friends. She had come here to tell him that. But now it was time for her to go and rest. She wished him a good night and was about to leave, but Marnak stopped her. He said he had been too harsh and probably even rude. Dacia remarked that they had finally managed to have a normal conversation. That's why she was so happy. He asked if she really meant it. Dacia asked if they had agreed and if there were no hard feelings between them. He said that they would and that he wasn't angry with her, so she could be sure of that. Dacia said that she couldn't wait to continue their journey. Marnak thought that magicians were just people like them after all, and told his mother that her foolish son had finally understood the truth. He had avoided her for a long time. Then he asked his mother if she wanted anything else to eat. The next morning, men burst into the establishment looking for Marnak. They asked the owner if he was there and told him to bring him out or they would destroy the place. Sajida received a letter and thought that something was wrong. The order was to capture the lady with silver hair and yellow eyes from the house of Irimel. But why would they need a priest who was the sworn enemy of evil spirits? So this was Marnak. Then he heard someone calling him. The man said that the priest was there, but the woman was not with him. Sajida asked where he was, hoping that he was not too angry with them. He came out of the tent to see what was going on and heard one of his men shouting at Marnak to let him go. Sajida told his men to lower their swords immediately. He couldn't believe that they had all listened to the briefing. This could cause problems for them. Sajida approached Marnak and apologized to him. Then he asked if his name was Marnak. He replied that it was. Sajida called him the Honorable Priest Marnak. Then he asked if he could release the man he was holding in his right hand. Marnak let him go and said he wanted to talk to the captain of these mercenaries. Sajida said that the captain of the Red Bear was at his service. His name was Sajita. He offered him a drink. Marnak thanked him. He appreciated his hospitality but had to decline. Because he was not a fan of alcohol, Sajida thought that this way he would be able to smooth over the conversation and would have to take a different approach. Marnak said he had received a message from his colleague who had been looking for him this morning. He said the captain wanted to see him. He understood that it was because of yesterday's incident. Sajida wondered what to do. Perhaps he should tell them everything as it was, or hope that he would get lucky. What if he said that they were only interested in his companion because of the threat from the Eilich organization? The rumors about the priest were frightening, and the mere thought of becoming his enemy made him tremble with fear. Vice Captain Pelgwin was to blame for everything that was happening. It was because of him that they were in trouble. Vice Captain Pelgwin said he felt terrible and asked his subordinate if the priest had really come here himself. If so, he is brave. He entered the tent and asked if his name was Marnak. Marnak replied that it was. Pelgwin asked if a girl with silver hair and yellow eyes was traveling with him. Marnak replied that he was not mistaken. He said that was wonderful and asked him to listen to him. He should give the girl to them and leave, unless he wanted to die with her. But Marnak pushed his hand away and said that it was ridiculous. Something seemed strange to him. He did not remember telling any of them his name. But for some reason, every dog here knew his name. So he asked who it was and who had ordered them to track him down. One of the subordinates said that Pelgin's arm had been cut off, so everyone should go to Sajid's tent. People shouted that this priest didn't understand what he was getting himself into. They had to destroy him, but Marnak destroyed one of them. They didn't understand what was happening, and one of them asked what had just happened. Then he told everyone to destroy him immediately. Pelgin begged Sajida to save him. Marnak thought that he was not in the mood to answer his questions, so he decided to kill him. In that case, there was no point in keeping him alive, but Sajida tried to stop him. Marnak said that he had surprised him. Marnak couldn't believe he had decided to intervene. Sajida said he hadn't intended to interfere, but they had known each other for too long. 15 years already. Marnak knocked the weapon out of his hands. Sajida began to run away and told everyone to lie down on the ground. His men saw how Marnak destroyed several of them and began to flee. Then the mother turned to Marnak. He said he knew he had to bring their client to the light at any cost, so he continued to destroy them. Sajida told his men that Pelgin was in the tent and that while he was holding the priest back, they should go and help him. Marnak said that he had not had to fight such strong opponents in a long time. Sajida ordered the archers to shoot. Then Marnak was surprised to see archers among them. Things would not turn out well if an arrow damaged his joint. Sajida saw that his men were fleeing and called them cowards. Marnak asked if they would continue and remarked that it seemed he had been abandoned. Then Saji said that he was giving up and would tell everything, so he asked for mercy. He said that recently he himself wanted to beat Pelgwin, but now that he was actually dead, he felt strange. Marnak asked if he hated him. Sajida asked if he would kill him if he said yes. Marnak replied that why would he want to keep alive someone who hates him? Sajida said that he was right. Speech was certainly not his strong suit, but he would try anyway. The work of a mercenary was inextricably linked to death. He had already had to work with those who had once destroyed his comrades. Of course, they could not expect a friendly attitude from him. But he didn't attack them with an axe. That's why he hates him. He's just lonely, and in any case, sooner or later, their team was doomed. Marnak asked him what he was going to do next, and he replied that he didn't know. The last time he was alone was 15 years ago. So now he was a little confused. All he knew how to do was fight, and he would probably start working as a mercenary again. Marnak asked why he didn't meet the client who was paying him so well this time. Sajida asked what he meant. They returned to the city, and Marnak decided to introduce Sajida to Dakia, but she was not thrilled to meet him. Marnak asked her if he had washed any bloodstains off. She replied that he hadn't and remarked that he had washed himself very well. He thought her voice sounded like it was dripping with poison. Marnak asked if it was because he had left without saying anything. She remarked that he understood everything himself. After their conversation last night, she was sure that they had managed to reach a compromise, but she must have misunderstood something. He told her that before making any decisions, she needed to discuss it with them first, and then he simply left. He didn't explain anything. Marnak called her Your Highness and asked if she had ever destroyed a person. She replied that she hadn't, and he said that was why he had left alone. The contradictions that had arisen left no room for compromise. It all came down to a battle with many casualties. Dakia said that he could have at least warned her. She had slept well and had almost finished her breakfast. Only then did she notice that something was wrong. Marnak thought that she was able to enjoy her breakfast in peace because he had gone alone. But he said that in the future he would be sure to inform her of all his intentions. She said that they could consider themselves even for yesterday. Marnak replied that that was fine. Then Carmen rushed into the establishment and told His Majesty that Marnak had gone to negotiate with yesterday's mercenaries. Therefore, they should also take their weapons and go to his aid. Then he saw that Marnak was already there and asked if he had returned. He was very happy and then asked who it was, pointing to Sajid. Marnak said that he was their new colleague hired by the princess. He noted that he should introduce himself. They shook hands, and Dakia told Marnak that she knew he trusted him, but she hoped that this would not lead to any conflicts. Sajid said that of course not. Carmen remarked that he would not give up a strong partner on the team. Now he was going to the blacksmith. He was planning to buy arrowheads. The sun was already at its zenith, so they would continue their journey tomorrow at dawn. The follower asked the other followers when they would be here. The man also asked if she was sure they would arrive here. He hoped they would arrive before he went mad from her whims, but the girl kept repeating only one word. When? The follower said they would arrive soon. She regularly checked their location, so they had nothing to worry about. The girl asked if she was sure about that and if they would really be here in Eradicos soon. She replied that everything would be as she said. And why didn't she believe her? She replied that she believed her completely, but if they didn't show up, she wouldn't live. Dakia said that they were finally in Eradicos and she would be able to take a hot bath. A man met them at the entrance to the city. The man asked if he was the priest. Marnak replied that he was not mistaken. Then the man took him by the hand and began to beg for help. He asked them to help him with the trumpeter of eternal peace. He didn't even care about their lord, so he asked them to talk to him. Let him ask him to stop summoning lifeless bodies. He is willing to pay him. Marnak said he was not sure. He didn't think that anything would change just because of his request. The man pointed out that he was also a priest, so he should at least try to talk to him. The townspeople are on the verge of collapse, and every night crowds of lifeless bodies roam the district. They are all too frightened, so he asks for help. Marnak agreed but asked him to wait a little. The man thanked him. Marnak told the others that he would go see what he could do. He would join them a little later. They could go on without him and find a place to stay. Dakya agreed. Among the priests of various gods, the trumpeters of eternal peace stand out the most. Usually gods choose their priests from among their believers. But with trumpeters, everything is different. On any given day, for no apparent reason, anyone can be chosen. All those chosen become trumpeters of eternal peace and spend their entire lives serving the dead. But what is the meaning of their service? No one can answer this question. The only thing that is known is that the trumpeters appear in places with a large number of lifeless bodies. There they silently blow their trumpets, awakening the dead and leading them away like soldiers. The rich and the feudal lords look on with disgust. They consider them unwelcome guests on their territory, but no one dares to lay a finger on the walking dead led by the trumpeters of eternal peace. This is not surprising because fighting against an army of soldiers who cannot die is something that anyone would want to avoid. Thus, the trumpeters of eternal peace spend their entire lives in voluntary exile, accompanied only by lifeless corpses. They are something like a natural phenomenon. Marnak approached a trumpeter and greeted him. Then he said that he was probably not the first to come here. He had come to ask him for the same thing as everyone before him. Therefore, he wondered if he thought they should leave this place. As he knew, for ordinary people, walking lifeless bodies were a rather unpleasant sight. Perhaps he had a good reason to stay here, since he usually did not stay in one place for long. The trumpeter of eternal peace said that the followers of evil spirits would cause many deaths in Erediko. Marnak asked if he meant that there were followers of evil spirits here. The trumpeter replied that it had already begun, but Marnak cannot allow the events of Kelton to be repeated here. He will not allow them to do whatever they want. The follower of evil spirits said that he was not here, but she said that he would come. The girl replied that she was sure that his companions had entered the city. So let him wait a little, she would find him now. The follower told her to just die. The follower said to wait a little because he thought he had found him. The follower asked where. He told her to look there. There he was, Marnak, right in front of them. The follower said that he was right and that it was indeed Marnak. Marnak did not expect to meet him here and told his mother that he understood everything because she kept repeating the word destroy. He understands that he should calm down, but he asks his mother for forgiveness because it won't happen this time. After all, she knows that he is a sorcerer. It was he who destroyed him and his savior long ago. Therefore, he is obliged to finish him off. He used to live in captivity, tormented by feudal worries. He never stayed in one place for long, afraid that his connection with the evil god would be revealed. If he couldn't earn enough to eat, he went hungry. On one such day, he met his savior. When a blizzard was raging around him, his savior's name was Sanctus. He was a middle-aged man, not too young. But he couldn't be called old either. Sanctus was cheerful and easy to talk to, but when the situation called for it, he became quite serious. When Marnak woke up, he didn't ask him anything and just said that he could stay with him as long as he needed. Sanctus was a priest of the guardian goddess and was involved in burials, living on the outskirts of the city. One day, while helping him with his work, Marnak asked why he had saved him. Smiling, he replied that he just felt like doing it. That day, his smile took a special place in Marnak's heart. Sanctus was always ready to help those around him. He constantly helped others and always said that there was no need to look for a reason to help someone. He wanted to be like him. He lived a peaceful life for a whole year, and the following winter he saved a man who had lost consciousness in the forest. Just like when Sanctus saved him. But he shouldn't have saved that wizard. With their help, he recovered. And then with a smile he confessed that he was a follower of an evil spirit. After that, using his magic, he destroyed him. When he woke up, the hand he had placed in his inventory had somehow escaped and was stroking his cheek. That day, he had to face the consequences of his actions. Returning home, he found the body of Sanctus, who had been mercilessly destroyed by the magician. The mage said he remembered him. Of course, he was the same person who had performed the burial, but shouldn't he be considered dead? He remembers destroying him with his own hands, but if he is alive, what is the point of thinking about it? The magician noticed his clothes. He asked if he was now wearing the clothes of a priest. He could see that they had both decided to take something from the poor man as a souvenir. He, in turn, took his right hand. It had served him well over the past 3 years. Marnak became even more angry with him. The follower of the evil spirit said she had heard that he was very strong. She had been waiting for him for so long. Marnak destroyed her. Then he began to fight the magician. The magician said that rumors had made him imagine him to be a completely different person. Marnak told him to be quiet. His mother warned him of the danger, and he noticed that the follower he had destroyed had reappeared. She said that she liked him very much. The mage said that this was the scales of retribution, and then he spoke of the divinity he felt in him. It did not belong to the guardian goddess. But the blessing on the priest's clothes was working as it should. It turned out that he was also a follower of an evil spirit. Marnak told him to be quiet. The mage noted that he seemed to be right. Marnak said that he had warned him to be quiet. Then he summoned a giant. Seeing the giant, the magician said that he had an interesting gift and that if he lost his hand again, he would take it. He thinks it would suit him perfectly. After that, the giant attacked him, but he used his defense against the blow. Marnak thought that today he would destroy this magician Riverkel at any cost. Meanwhile, his team was fighting the lifeless bodies. Carmen asked if he had already destroyed him, and Sahida replied that he had not yet. Carmen said they needed to hurry to the castle. Dakia asked about Marnak. Suddenly, he also got into trouble. Sajida said that he was not so easy to destroy. They had to get out of there first. After that, they went to the Lord's castle. Carmen said that it seemed like the Lord wasn't the main culprit. He was not to blame for everyone around them going mad. Carmen asked the princess if he was right, and she said yes. Sajida said that they had to destroy them all. If they wanted to leave this city, they would have to destroy everyone in their path. Therefore, if the princess values her life, she should simply imagine that she is cutting beef during the destruction. He would go ahead and they should follow him. They began to fight the lifeless bodies, and Sajida said that they needed to break through to the gate. Against the backdrop of lifeless bodies, Sajida saw a giant and, looking closer, realized that Marnak was also there. The follower of the evil spirit said that this was incredible and that she had not expected anything less. She wondered what else he was capable of. She was really very curious. Another follower asked if they could just talk calmly if they were all followers of evil spirits. The follower, who was in awe of Marnak, said that of course not. She had been waiting so long to meet him. Marnak told the giant to go ahead. Marnak also moved to attack. Riverkel asked if a sword and fists were all he had and why he didn't calm down. Then Marnak saw that the spear had flown straight into Riverkel and didn't understand what was happening. He thought Riverkel was dead. Looking in the direction from which the sword had come, he realized that it was Sajita. He had read somewhere that revenge was pointless. Even if that was true, could it really be so futile? Of course, he hadn't expected anything spectacular, but he certainly hadn't expected such an end. Marnak told his mother that he was giving her the body of this magician. He noticed that he was overflowing with divinity and realized that he was still alive. He cut off his hand and said that first of all he would take back the right hand that belonged to Sankness. The follower said that they were in big trouble and that was why she had suggested they just talk. Another follower asked what had happened because she had missed everything, so let him say what he had done or show it again. Then the follower grabbed her and told her to be quiet because in his condition he couldn't tell friends from enemies. Marnak told the giant to throw him in there and then he could come back. Meanwhile, the followers of the evil spirits tried to escape. One follower asked the other to calm down because she was too loud, and the other asked her to let her go because she would destroy her. Marnak stood in their way and asked what was happening to Riverkel. The follower said she would tell him everything. Her name was Pearly, and this girl was Bena. People called them a secret society of followers of evil spirits. Bena asked her to be quiet. Pearly continued talking and said that they were called Liberatio. She asked if he remembered the children he had recently destroyed in Kelton. He replied that he did, and Pearly said that they were all part of Liberatio. That was why they were waiting for him here. Marnak asked how many people were in their community. She replied that she did not know, and that Ben did not know either. She was here on orders from the higher echelons of her sect. She had come after being told that she could do whatever she wanted. Riverkel most likely knew. He had been sent directly from Liberatio, but now he would not be able to answer him. Marnak asked what Liberatio's goal was. Bena said she could tell him. Their goal was simple. It was a world where people would be free from the gods, where no one would persecute them for their beliefs. Marnak asked if that was why they had done this to the city. She replied that she didn't want that either. It was just that Rivkal had created a lot of unnecessary problems for them. In general, they were collecting certain things. One of them is now in his possession. Marnak asked what she was talking about, and she replied that it was a sacred relic. They came for the sphere that was inside the embodiment. Marnak thought his guess was correct. These people were going to use the power of the mother somehow, which is imprisoned inside the sacred relics. So he said that the sphere had been destroyed. Bena said he was lying because that was impossible. Marnak said that it had already happened, and that the fragments of the ball could now be found in Kelthon. He asked if they had only one relic. Pearly said they had 4 more. Marnak sensed that the mother, who possessed the power sealed inside the relics, was angry. Bena said she shouldn't have told him. He would find out anyway once he switched sides. Bena called her petty. Marnak thought about the fact that they had 4 more relics and asked who had driven the townspeople mad. Pearly replied that it wasn't her because she didn't know how to do that. Bena asked why she kept answering all his questions. After that, Marnak destroyed her, and then he destroyed Pearly. Finally, Pearly said that they would see each other again. Marnak told his mother that he was presenting them to her. Now his divinity was 3,023 points. He realized that Pearly wasn't dead because he couldn't take her divinity. He had no idea what her ability was. After eliminating the culprit of his madness, he felt that it had become very quiet. Then his team approached him. Carmen said that everyone had simply fallen to the ground and asked if he had done it. Marnak replied that he had. Sajida asked if his spear had been useful, and he replied that it had been extremely effective. He was stunned by how effective it had been. Sajida replied that he was glad to hear it. Marnak hoped that he hadn't seen how the giant of destruction had helped him, and said that they needed to hurry. Something huge was about to wake up. Carmen asked what he meant, and then they saw a giant monster. Carmen asked if the monster was made up of lifeless bodies. Marnak said that was exactly what he meant. He thought it was disgusting. Even after Riverkel's death, it gathered all the bodies around it and took on such a hideous form. This gift suits him perfectly. Marnak told Dakia that he knew she was feeling uncomfortable because she had to fight lifeless bodies, but he would comfort her as soon as they were done. Right now, she needed to pull herself together. Dakia asked how exactly he planned to comfort her. Marnak replied that he would think about it later. First, in order to save as many residents as possible, they needed to buy time. Carmen asked if he meant that someone would soon come to their aid. Marnak replied that they could be sure of that. Sajida saw a trumpeter and said that help must be on its way. Dakia said that she thought the man was coming straight towards them. Marnak replied that it looked like it. The trumpeter of eternal peace approached them and asked if any of the four of them were agile enough to take the spear. It needed to be thrust into the giant's heart. Marnak approached him, took the spear, and asked if he happened to have a sword. The trumpeter of eternal peace gave him a sword. Marnak realized that he could create more than just spears, so he said that if that was the case, could he make 2 more swords and a bow and arrows. The trumpeter told him to just ask for everything at once and then created the swords and the bow and arrows. The team was delighted with the new weapons. Dakia said that the sword was very light. Marnak also thought it was a good weapon. It was so sharp that it was impossible to tell that it was made of bone. In addition, they contained the divinity of the trumpeter of eternal peace. They should be effective against a creature made up of lifeless bodies. The trumpeter of eternal peace said that it would slow down the giant's movement for a short time. During this time, he should use the weapon to strike the giant directly in the heart. If he succeeds, he can keep the weapon for himself. Marnak agreed, and the trumpeter blew his trumpet. Dakia told Marnak that the trumpeter was transforming the lifeless bodies he had brought with him. Marnak thought that he was turning the lifeless bodies into liquid, and then condensing them to slow down the giant's movements. He was much worse than the followers of evil spirits. The trumpeter said that he was only controlling vessels for souls that had already perished. The weapon would tell him where his heart was, so now he should go forward. Marnak thought he still had questions, but he moved to attack. Losing precious time could spell disaster. Dakia said that he couldn't even move properly now. The lifeless bodies of the monster wanted to attack her, but she destroyed them and said that she and Carmen would take care of the lower part of the giant. Marnak agreed and said that it was up to them. Then he asked Sajida if he could reach his heart on his own. In the meantime, he would distract its head. Sajida said he would do it, and Marnak wished him luck. He didn't volunteer to distract the giant's head for no reason. According to his mother, she senses divinity in the center of his head. Besides, he looks just like Riverkel. This time, he would definitely deal with him with his own hands. Sajida climbed onto the monster and said that this must be his heart. Meanwhile, Marnak reached the head. He took the divinity and thought that he had finally managed to avenge Sanknus' death. Dakia saw Marnak and asked if he was okay. Marnak asked where Sajida was, and he replied that he was already there. Then he noticed that the spear was quite good. The trumpeter of eternal peace approached and told Marnak to follow him alone. They walked away, and Marnak wondered why he wanted to talk to him alone. Perhaps he had found out that he had taken the relic, or perhaps he had realized that he was a follower of an evil god. Then Marnak sensed something, and the trumpeter said he was leaving. Marnak wondered about someone's presence. He knew what it was. It had an overwhelming aura that could not belong to a human being. A part of God had descended upon this place. A god had entered the body of the trumpeter of eternal peace. He said the word capital and then disappeared. Marnak asked if he had anything to say to him. The trumpeter replied that he did not know and did not want to know. Marnak offered him his hand and said that it was time to return. Then he asked if it would be difficult for him to help them restore Eradiko. He said that helping the living was not part of his duties, but his god had convinced him. Then the trumpeter asked how he could help. Marnak said to help find the survivors. The trumpeter asked if that was all, and Marnak told him that it was all he could do for the people he found. He asked if he could help them move to safe buildings. The trumpeter blew his trumpet, and Marnak thanked him. Then he said that was not all. He would be very grateful if he would order the lifeguards to carry all valuables to safe houses, everything they could find. Otherwise, they might simply burn in the fire. The trumpeter blew again, and Marnak said there was something else. Then he asked if he could help put out the fire. The trumpeter asked him to say everything at once and did as he was asked. Marnak said it was just his right arm, but he would like to leave it to him. The trumpeter accepted it and then left with the lifeless bodies. Dakia said she never expected to see the trumpeter of eternal peace helping out. Marnak said he had been very helpful. Then Dakia asked if he had asked him for help, and he replied that he had, but he himself had not expected the trumpeter to agree. Dakia took him by the hand and thanked him, noting that he had helped them greatly. Returning to the room, Marnak wondered what the trumpeter had wanted to tell him. Perhaps that he would be able to find another sacred relic in the capital. If his guess was correct, then the trumpeter knew that he was a priest of destruction. Marnak decided to talk to his mother about the god they had met today. He asked her if she knew him. His mother replied, and he was surprised that she had never met him before. Moreover, the trumpeter said he did not know him, but he didn't want to know. Judging by this answer, he thought that the trumpeter was not going to reveal his identity. He saw how his mother tried to break the connection between the relic and the divinity inside the ball, but she couldn't do it. Marnak told her not to worry because she would succeed, and he was sure of it. Even if she was angry, she shouldn't throw things. In general, he was glad that she wanted to help him, but she should try not to throw things no matter how upset she was. Then she would immediately become 3 times more charming. Mother asked if she would be 3 times more charming for him too. He said no, but then asked her to listen to him. He's already totally charmed by his mom. Therefore, nothing will change, even if it happens 3 or 100 times. Marnak asked if she promised not to throw things even when she was sad. The priestess of the blue flame heard 2 men talking about the followers of evil spirits who appear here and there, and not only in their kingdom. In the dragon kingdom in the east, in the desert kingdom in the west, and also in the northern and southern empires. The man had heard that Kelton and Eredico had recently suffered greatly at their hands. He asked his companion if he thought their city was also in danger. Both of these cities were not far from theirs. But the man replied that there was no need to worry because there was one person who had solved the problem in these cities. He had destroyed all the followers of the evil spirits in both cities. The man asked if he was talking about the boy who had saved Eredico, Marnak. The man replied that he was. It was only thanks to him that they could sit here peacefully and drink. The priestess said that now he was also Eredico's savior. Hilden was upset about the followers of the evil spirits. He had even managed to persuade Lord Eredico to help them capture the princess. But because of them, the lord and the assassins were killed. They are like annoying insects. Surely the prince will be furious when he hears this. But if he does nothing, he will be even angrier with him. Hilden came to his highness and said that it was him. Hilden had to tell him about the latest events. Vitus Draco allowed him to enter. Marnak asked the bandit what he had said earlier, that they should give them everything they had. The bandit begged for mercy. But Marnak killed him and said he would bury the bandits. Turning to his mother, he said he was giving these people to her. He said that they had gathered quite a lot thanks to the bandits. His divinity amounted to 3,379. Then he returned and they all continued on their way. Dakia wanted to ask him something. Marnak asked what it was. She said that she did not blame him for anything and that he should not misunderstand her, but that they had not spared a single robber during all this time. Could he explain the reason to her? If he did not want to answer, he did not have to. Marnak asked if she had asked Carmen and Sajida about it. She said yes. Carmen replied that they had decided to attack them on their own. Even though they were armed, obviously they would unscrupulously attack defenseless people and he couldn't allow that. Sajida said that he was a mercenary and if that was what he wanted, he would try to spare as many bandits as possible. Marnak said that in his case he believed that every person had potential. Dakia asked if he was convinced that these bandits could be redeemed. He replied that, as she had suggested, he believed that these bandits could redeem their sins and live a new, happy life. Dakia asked if it might not be better not to destroy them. Marnak asked the princess to understand. In any endeavor, the first time is the hardest. He believed that they would most likely return to the path of evil instead of thinking about redemption. That was why he was destroying them. Dakia asked if they had the right to judge them, and noted that none of the gods had given a clear answer to this question. Marnak thought that his mother had allowed him to do as he wished and said that by destroying them, he was not trying to be a judge. He was simply taking responsibility for his choices. A robber who returns to a life of crime can be spared. Then he may take the life of an innocent person. Between responsibility for such an outcome and destroying them, by taking away their chance to atone for their sins in this life, he chose the latter. Dakia said she understood that it was his choice. He replied that someday he would have to pay for all the destruction he had caused. But no matter how heavy the burden on his shoulders, he made that choice himself. Showing mercy to a thief who would then destroy an innocent person was a very, very terrible experience for him. If he has no way of ensuring that the thief lives a righteous life, then his potential is meaningless. He promised himself never to spare such people again after the death of his savior, Sanctus. Dakia asked if he could tell her what happened, but if he didn't want to, he didn't have to. Marnak replied that it was no problem, but he thought the story could wait. Dakia asked why and he told her to look over there. A group of merchants was approaching them. Sajida suggested greeting them. Such a large group must be wealthy. Perhaps they would buy the equipment they had borrowed from the bandits. Marnak agreed with him. The merchant examined the weapons and was surprised by the perfect metal. This alloy was definitely the pinnacle of the ancient empire's technological prowess. He had never seen a sword with such a high content of immortalium before, so he was a little confused. Carmen asked if he meant the metal also known as eternal metal. The merchant replied that he did. Moreover, it was not just immortalium. There was twice as much of it in this sword than he had managed to collect in 120 years. It was a very rare thing. The merchant said he would like to buy it and asked him to name his price. Marnak apologized and said he had no intention of selling it. The merchant replied that this was to be expected. If the sword belonged to him, he would have refused as well. Carmen said that he probably didn't invite them for no reason. The merchant replied that he wanted to hire them as guards for the duration of their journey to the capital of the Northern Kingdom. They said that their route passed through Eredico. It turns out that he is the demon assassin from Geis. He was also the sworn enemy of the evil spirits of Kelton and the savior of Erodico. He must be the same hero, the priest Marnak. Therefore, he has no doubts about his skills. If they agree to this job, he promises to reward them handsomely. He will offer the best terms of all the merchants. Carmen apologized and asked if he could give them some time to discuss his offer. The merchant decided to leave them and said that of course he would. He would eagerly await their decision. Marnak decided to rub his mother's shoulders and asked if she liked it, and said that if they agreed to this job, they would need to find a decent inn, one where they could relax when they received their reward. After that, Marnak realized that they were being attacked. Together with his team, he began to fight the monsters. Dakia decided to use her magic. Marnak told the princess not to do it. The magic of an ally who cannot control their powers is more dangerous than the enemy's spear. Dakia said that she was not that bad. She was sure she could hit such huge flying mice, so there was no need to doubt her. Marnak said that they were indeed large, but they could also fly, which made their movements less predictable than those of enemies walking on the ground. There was no guarantee that a spell she missed would not hit an ally. Therefore, he asked her to refrain from casting them. Having finished with the monsters, Marnak decided to talk to the merchant. The merchant asked if he wanted to hide this incredible sword made of immortalium. He replied that it would depend on his answer. The merchant said that he would have to think twice before answering. Marnak said that he was right. Now let him answer why the followers of evil spirits were attacking his merchant caravan. The merchant asked if he would believe him if he said he didn't know. Marnak decided to scare him and took his weapon. Then the merchant asked him to wait. Because of his service to the kingdom, he was willing to trust him. Marnak thanked him and then hid his sword, saying that he hoped this time he would not hide anything from him. The merchant asked if he promised to keep their conversation a secret. Marnak replied that of course he would. He was here as a simple mercenary. He had no intention of revealing his secrets. The merchant told his subordinate to bring the item. When his subordinate brought it, the merchant said that the followers of evil spirits had begun to attack them after they had handed over one thing. They asked them to take it to the capital. Marnak remarked that they must have suffered considerable losses if the attacks had continued for so long. So why didn't he refuse this request? The merchant replied that he had received immortalium as an advance payment. In addition, they promised to give more immortalium as soon as the package was delivered. He had no idea why the followers of evil spirits needed it. He had already asked another priest, but he said he knew nothing. This is what they needed to deliver. Marnak realized that it was a sacred relic. It contained the divinity of his mother. That was why they kept attacking the caravan, but how? He has her hand, but how did they determine the location of her relics? The merchant asked what he thought. Did he have any idea why the followers were hunting for this thing? Marnak replied that he had no idea, but he understood his situation. He thinks they need to discuss something else. The merchant asked if he meant payment. Marnak replied that he did. Since he had already concealed this information from them, he thought it would be fair to double their reward from the amount he had originally promised. The merchant was surprised. Marnak clarified that the amount would be doubled for each of them, and the merchant agreed. He asked if he had ever considered leaving his job as a priest and becoming a merchant. Marnak replied that he had not. The merchant remarked that he was not bad at it. After discussing all the details, he returned to the team. Sajida said that the soldiers' equipment looked noticeably worn. This was probably not the first attack. Dakia remarked that they could have told him everything right away. Sajida said that they had, but he decided to keep it to himself. Sooner or later, they would have been ambushed, even if they hadn't accepted the offer. Carmen said that besides, their priest had left and doubled the payment. Marnak replied that he had simply demanded what they deserved. Dakia said she was glad that at least everyone was unharmed. Carmen said that everyone needed to go to sleep. Tomorrow would be a very long and difficult journey. Marnak asked his mother if she wanted him to steal the relic right now. It would be terrible if someone saw him. Then he asked if there were no witnesses. Could the crime be considered perfect? And noted that she was thinking like a true assassin. But there was no need to rush. At least not until they found out what the merchant was capable of. She understood that perfectly well. Besides, metal doesn't rot. Merchants are called golden people. Their bodies are made of metal, so they are not convenient opponents for priests. Instead, they would allow the followers of evil spirits to steal the relic, and when they returned it, they would take away its divinity. And they will return an empty shell. Marnak asked his mother if she thought he had been hiding his genius all this time. She praises him too much. After that, someone announced an ambush, and Marnak said that he had just washed himself. Therefore, they just needed to deal with them quickly. The man shouted that they needed to be careful because monsters were attacking. The monster threw everyone who tried to stop him aside. Marnak thought it was Carpal. If that's what he wanted, he would take his extra horns away. Marnak barely destroyed him, but then realized that this was not all. A follower of the evil spirit he had destroyed earlier flew at him. He grabbed her and was surprised to see Pearly. She said they hadn't seen each other in a long time, but she missed him very much. Then she asked if he had missed her. Marnak replied that he had not thought about her once. Pearly said that was fine. In that case, they would consider that she had missed them both. Marnak said he wanted to ask her something. Pearly asked how he would thank her if she answered his question. After that, the monsters attacked them again. Together with his team, Marnak destroyed all the monsters. He thanked Sajid for his help, and he replied that it was no problem. Then Carmen noticed that one of the monsters was running away and told the others. Marnak said he would take care of it. He caught up with the monster and destroyed it, then went to the place where Pearly was waiting for him. Marnak said that he couldn't come earlier, and that's how it turned out. Pearly noted that he had been gone for a long time. Then she asked if he was ready to fulfill her wish now. Marnak asked what she meant, and Pearly said probably not. He replied that of course not, and asked her to answer his question first. Then he asked how many evil spirits were lying in wait for their caravan. Pearly thought about how many there were and started counting, then said there were 3, not counting her. But they all behaved as if she wasn't there. It was too rude of them to treat her that way. Marnak thought about how she had revealed secret information to their enemy at his first request. If she were his ally, he would ignore her too. But Marnak said that this was terrible and that they were very bad people. Pearlie agreed with him completely. Then he asked her if she knew why they were attacking the caravan. She replied that it was because of the necklace. They needed to take the necklace from the head of the trading group. Marnak asked how they knew he had it. Pearlie replied that she didn't know. But she knew that the person who asked the merchants to deliver the necklace was a member of Liberatio. He asked if it was a secret society of followers. She replied that it was. Marnak asked if the followers attacking the caravan were not part of this community. Pearlie said that was also true. There's a split within the community. Nothing serious. She would simply say that they had minor disagreements. Marnak asked what caused it. She replied that she had heard about it but had already forgotten. Marnak asked how she could not remember if she was on the side of one of the factions. Pearl replied that she was neutral. She just did what she was asked in exchange for food or materials. Marnak asked what materials. She replied that they were materials for her dolls. She was a priestess who worshipped a vibrating string. After her answer, Marnak understood something. This meant that what was in front of him now, like what he had seen last time, were just dolls. Pearlie told him to be careful. Those who came here with her were planning something without her involvement. Marnak asked why she was so friendly to him. Pearlie asked if he really wanted to know the reason for her kindness. This question was different from the ones he had asked before. Marnak replied that he no longer wanted to know, and she asked him why. She asked him to ask her again as soon as possible. He said no and pointed out that she could have answered right away when he asked. Then he asked what she wanted from him in return. She said she would tell him when they met next time. Marnak said goodbye and then destroyed her. Pearlie said they would see each other again. He turned around and saw that the princess was waiting for him and asked what was going on. She should rest after all. It was unknown when the evil spirit's followers would attack them next. Takia said that he shouldn't worry because she would rest. Then she noticed that she couldn't find him earlier and asked where he had been. Marnak replied that he had run deep into the forest to catch up with Karpal. There he sensed the presence of an evil spirit's follower, so he decided to search the area more thoroughly. Dakia asked if he had been fighting with someone, and he said no. By the time he got there, no one was there. She said it was a shame and then took out her handkerchief to wipe him down. But Marnak told her to stop because her handkerchief would get dirty. She asked if he meant her handkerchief and said that she had brought it especially for him, so he should come closer. She took his hand to bring him closer to her and wiped his face. Then she said that was all and he could keep the handkerchief. She gave it to him and wished him a good night. He also wished her a good night and then went to rest, saying that today had been a very difficult day. Marnak saw his mother standing in front of him with a handkerchief and said that he could wipe his face himself, so she shouldn't bother. But she did not listen to him and decided to wipe it for him. He asked his mother if she had heard him and that it hurt. The next day, they continued on their way. Marnak heard a noise and wondered what it was. He remembered Pearlie's words. She had warned him to be on his guard, so he thought it was another ambush. But then he realized it wasn't her. Marnak saw that it was an avalanche and told everyone to drop their luggage and run immediately. The avalanche was moving too fast toward them. They had to stop it, at least for a little while. So he told the princess that he needed her help. Due to the speed of the avalanche, they didn't have much time, and at this rate, no one would be able to stop it. But with her help, they could save the people. So he asked her to use her magic on the avalanche that was moving toward them. Such a request surprised her. Marnak said that she herself had been waiting for a chance to use it, and now was the perfect time. She said that was true, but no matter what spell she used, she would not be able to stop the avalanche. Marnak said that she didn't need to stop it completely. It would be enough to just buy some time so that the people could escape. Therefore, he asked her to concentrate as much of her mana as she could and use the spell on the avalanche. She said she wouldn't be able to move while casting the spell, and after it was finished, she would immediately lose consciousness. Marnak told her not to worry. No matter what happened, he would protect her. Dakia said she would try. So he had better keep his promise because she wanted to trust him. After that, Dakia used her magic. Matinka rated her divinity at 3.5 fingers. Dakia read the spell and fell down exhausted. Marnak caught her, and when she came to, he told her she had done well. Dakia asked if it was true, and he said yes. Then she lost consciousness, and Marnak said that it seemed he would not have to deliberately cut her off. He told his mother to call the giant and told him that there was no time for his cries, and that he was asking for his protection. The giant covered them with his body, and an avalanche came down on them. When it was over, the monster screamed. Marnak said what if there were people nearby, and then told him to shake the boulder off himself. Then Marnak saw that Dakia was coming to, and after that the giant entered the portal. Dakia came to and asked if she was still alive. Marnak said that it looked like they had been separated from their friends, but they were alive. Then he asked if she could move on her own. She replied that she couldn't. Probably the effects of overusing her mana were making themselves felt. He told her not to worry because she would feel better soon. Dakia said that she had seen everything. Marnak was frightened and realized that she was talking about the giant. Dakia said that she saw him summon the sinister giant. She knew that he was not a servant of the guardian goddess. Marnak asked if she knew, and she replied that she did. First of all, unlike him, her priest did not wave swords, and he was much stronger than them. Marnak said that it was all the result of his training. Dakia noted that this was not the only reason. There was also the hand he carried with him. From time to time he talks to it, and he probably thought he was being careful enough. But considering how much time they had spent together, it was hard not to notice. Marnak said that they were just his usual prayers. Dakia replied that even if that was the case, she had seen it. When he shouted "Mother," a giant appeared out of nowhere, radiating an ominous energy. She wanted to say that he was a follower of an evil spirit, but Marnak covered her mouth and asked permission to warn her. They say silence is golden, and she saw nothing. Nothing at all. After all, she was a generous person and would surely not refuse his request after he had saved her life. She said it didn't matter. She doesn't care if he is a follower of an evil spirit or not, and that's what she wanted to say. He is a good person. Although he can be too ruthless at times, she is not a hypocrite and does not worship any gods. She just thought he would listen to her, and he wouldn't question her every word just because she was in such a vulnerable position. She was born a magician. Therefore, since childhood, she had felt contempt and hatred in people's eyes. Even if not completely, she understood him. The fact that he worships an evil spirit will not change her attitude towards him, and she promises to keep everything a secret. After that, her mother appeared before her and began to beat her. Dakia asked where this girl had come from and asked Marnak to stop her. He took her by the hand and asked her to calm down because he thought she was speaking sincerely. He understood that his mother was worried, but he wanted to believe her as she had once believed him, and if Dakia was a magician, they would ask her to take an oath. The mother made a gesture and Dakia asked what it meant. Marnak replied that she was saying she would watch over her, but he needed her to swear so she should use the ancient language. Dakia agreed. She took the oath and Marnak thanked her. Now that the oath had been taken, he could answer her question. Dakia asked what if she had tricked him by swearing to something else. Marnak said that he also understood the ancient language, even though he was not a magician. She said that this impressed her even more, that he understood the ancient language without being a magician. Marnak told her to ask him anything she wanted. Dakia said that in that case she had one question. Marnak asked what it was and she asked what type of girls he liked. After her question, her mother stood between them and spread her arms. Marnak said that it was probably time for them to return to the others. Dakia asked if he was going to take the relic that the followers of evil spirits were hunting for and said she would help him. Meanwhile, the followers of evil spirits had already found the relic. One of them said that it was easy and that this was what they had come for. It was a sacred relic and the priest must have already died because it had unleashed a huge avalanche on them. Now they were returning. The merchant asked how they dared to touch his goods with their dirty hands. The follower immediately attacked him. But her attack didn't work, and he attacked the followers. The bodies of androids or golden people are made entirely of metal. They are known for their craving for various minerals. With their help, they can even change parts of their bodies. Their passion for rare metals knows no bounds. Most of them choose a career as merchants to speed up their search. In other words, all they need to become stronger is time and money. In addition, they cannot die as long as their core remains intact. The merchant asked how they dared and told them not to even try. The follower decided to create a barrier of ice to stop him, but he said that her pathetic magic would not stop him. The follower said that he would destroy her now. The follower replied that she should hold on a little longer, and she remarked that it was easy for him to say, "This simply could not be." She didn't understand how his entire body could be made of frozen steel. The merchant said they wouldn't be able to leave. Meanwhile, the follower used his magic and held him back. The follower said well done and called him Felm. She also promised to kiss him afterwards. Turning to the great cold, she asked it to cover him with an icy blanket. The merchant asked what these cheap tricks were and said he would destroy them all. The follower told Kearney to lie down and attack the merchant. Then he said that he had underestimated them and that he couldn't have thought they hadn't prepared in advance. They knew that the owner of the caravan was an android. Kurna told him to order his worm to spit on him again because he was still twitching. He replied that the worm did not spit. It was an acid attack, and it was too cold for him here. The creature lived in warmer climates and couldn't produce large amounts of acid in such conditions. If she wants to finish him off, she has a great opportunity to destroy his core. Then they saw the giant. They didn't understand what it was. Kurna told Rudum to do something. He said that his worm couldn't handle such a giant. Kirna told him to summon more monsters and asked where he was keeping that crazy Pearly. Then she said she would try to delay him. She asked Felm to cover her back. She used an ice barrier, but the giant jumped over it. Then she said to use the shadow spell immediately, otherwise they would all die. Meanwhile, Marnak had already arrived. He asked Akia if she could move on her own, and she said she would try to stand up. She stood up and said that she seemed to be able to move, then asked if he needed help with the monster because she felt sorry for the poor thing. Marnak said he would very much like to help him, but let him take a look. They saw the merchant who threatened that this time he would definitely destroy everyone. Then he said that he was doing well on his own, but the situation was still difficult. There were too many monsters. If the situation didn't change, they would have to intervene. Then he saw the giant grab a flying mouse and aim it right at them. Marnak said it was a snow mouse, and his mother told him that the relic was there. He approached the mouse and found the sacred relic inside it. Then he noticed the giant showing off to him. Marnak took the relic and said he wanted to strengthen one of the gifts his mother had given him. He asked her to strengthen the giant's damage. The giant began to change and became much stronger. The followers did not understand how this was possible. Kierna said to use the shadow quickly, but the giant destroyed the follower with this ability, and she realized that they had to run away. The merchant grabbed her by the leg and said he would not let her escape. She told him to let her go and back off. She started calling for Rudum's help, but he decided to run away. However, he was unable to do so because the giant destroyed him. Kierna thought that she had abandoned them both and that if she wanted to escape, this was her chance. She broke free from the merchant's grip, but the giant caught her and destroyed her. Then he took her divinity. Marnak said that now he would even be able to collect divinity. He told his mother that she probably had no idea about this. He also thought that she had become much more talkative. She was becoming smarter every time the seals grew weaker. Then he said that he had not considered her stupid before. On the contrary, he reveres her and asked if she even realizes how much he values her. Dakia asked if she was really his goddess and not his daughter, and wondered what her gesture meant. Marnak replied that she was a little angry with her. Then Dakia said she understood and asked if she could ask him for something. Marnak asked what it was. She asked if she could hug him too because he was very nice. But her mother didn't like the idea, and Marnak said it wouldn't work. Next time she should try asking her something like that while holding something tasty in her hands. Dakia agreed. Then she said she would eagerly await the moment when she could touch her cheeks. Marnak asked his mother if she could now say something new besides the word destroy. She thought about it and decided to try. He said he knew it and asked what it was. His mother pointed to herself and shouted the letter I. Vitus Draco told Hilden that he had given him what he had asked for, and the result was an avalanche. All the mercenaries he had hired were killed in it. It was ridiculous, and he was at a loss for words. Hilden thought that he had no argument, but what could he do? He didn't order them to cause an avalanche. Because of the stress that morning, he lost a lot of hair and couldn't understand it. Vitus Draco said he heard that Dakaya had already left the eastern region. Hilden said that was true. Now she was under the jurisdiction of the center. Then Vitus Draco said that the central branch had always done its job well. They were the first to capture Dakia. Hilden asked if he intended to go to the capital, and he replied that he did. Hilden was glad that he was finally free from the lizard prince and princess. None of them would ever bother him again, so now he could say goodbye to them. Hilden apologized to the prince for causing him nothing but trouble. Vitus Draco asked what he meant. Then he told him to start getting ready. Hilden asked what he meant, and Vitus Draco replied that he would be his guide. He liked him much more than the other mercenaries, so he should get ready. He would be treated specially. He would carry him on his back to the capital, so he should dress warmly. Hilden said that he was the head of the eastern branch and could not leave his post. Vitus Draco said that news of his failures had not yet reached his superiors, and that if he was in the capital, he would tell them about all his mistakes. He wondered what would await him then, so he should just consider it a vacation and go prepare himself. Hilden thought about his wife and children and decided that he must return to them. The caravan continued on its way, and the merchant recounted how the great warrior of the heavens had appeared in shining armor. Marnak noted that he had already told them this story yesterday, and they understood that the sight must have been incredible. The merchant said that was true. The gods did not let him die, but he was so brave. Dakia remarked that he looked too sinister for a great warrior of the heavens. Marnak said he didn't think it mattered to him. He was literally one step away from death. The merchant's subordinate approached him and said that it was almost their turn to be inspected. The merchant said that in that case, he asked him to excuse him. He thanked them for helping their caravan reach the capital. He would pay the promised reward as soon as they entered the city. Marnak said he was looking forward to it. Carmen said he had forgotten to tell them something. When they approached the city, there might be some confusion. It was nothing serious, and they should not be surprised. Marnak asked what he meant and then saw a knight who shouted that it was Carmen Valtis. He ordered his men to arrest him quickly. They detained him, and Carmen said that he would deal with his problems himself and return to them as soon as he could. So they shouldn't worry about him. They didn't even understand what was going on or what he had done. Meanwhile, Vitus Draco, the third prince of the Dragon Kingdom, had already arrived in the capital in the form of a dragon with his subordinate. He told Hilden to give him clothes. Hilden thought that people from the capital didn't care about the branches. But now they would understand what it was like to deal with someone like him. Vitus Draco said that the capital was nearby and asked if he would show him the way. Hilden replied that he would show him the shortest way there, so he should go. Vitus asked if he was rushing him and if he had finally gathered enough courage. The merchant said that the black dog Carmen Valtis was in the dungeon. He was quite a troublemaker. Marnak asked what he had done. He replied that he should tell him himself. Just go to the guards and tell them you want to see Carmen, and they will let you through without asking any questions. Dakia suggested that Marnak go somewhere for lunch after the visit. She knew quite a few good places around there. Marnak replied that why not? The merchant said that here was the reward he had promised them, 15 gold coins each. 60 gold coins in total. Marnak thought that since the day he arrived in this world, it was the first time he had seen such a huge amount of money. Dakia asked Marnak why he was staring at the bag of gold. Had he never seen so many gold coins before? She remarked that he could be quite charming at times. Marnak replied that he was always charming, and she asked if he was joking. Marnak replied that he was serious and, by the way, he thought the merchant had forgotten something. The merchant said he would give it to them tomorrow. He still had something to do before he could give it to them. Marnak said that in that case they would go to see Carmen and meet him tomorrow. Sajida said that he had some business in the capital, so they should visit him without him. Marnak and Dakia continued on their way and managed to buy some delicious sweets along the way. Dakia said that Carmen was being held there and called him Sweet Marnak. He said that the place looked hostile. She remarked that it certainly wasn't that nice and nudged him. Marnak said that she was picking on him with that word. Dakia asked if he was angry. Marnak replied that there was nothing to be angry about because he was indeed incredibly cute. Then he suggested they hurry to Carmen before the food they bought for him got cold. Dakia said she wouldn't tease him anymore. She asked if he was offended and he replied that he was not. She said that if he said so, they should indeed go. Marnak reiterated that he was not offended. Meanwhile, Carmen was feeding the girl. He saw Marnak and Dakia coming and was very happy to see them. Marnak said that he looked like he was at home. Carmen asked if he was serious, but it wasn't surprising because he was often there. The girl said that it wasn't just often, but too often, and that they must be Carmen's companions. He said that they would be there soon. She decided to introduce herself and said her name was Aris Grata. Marnak told her his name and said he had heard of her. Dakia also introduced herself and asked Carmen why he was here this time. Then someone approached them and told them why he was here. Carmen had stolen something from the treasury of Mr. Entis Valtus. In fact, it was Sir Valtus himself who had put out a warrant for his arrest. This man asked him what he had done with the stolen key. Carmen called him his brother. His brother told him not to even try to change the subject, and to answer his question. Marnak thought about Carmen's brother. That meant he was the son of the Black Wolf, and also the vice-captain of the Royal Guard of the Frost Knights, the White Wolf Setian Valtus. Setian asked Carmen again what he had done with the key he had stolen from his father. Carmen said he had already used it. His brother was surprised that he had used it and asked if he was hurt. Carmen replied that he was not. Setian said that he knew his father hated thieves, and that not only had he stolen from him, but he couldn't even return what he had stolen. He asked Carmen if he remembered what their father always said, that anything obtained by dishonest means was worthless. Regardless of the reason, there is no excuse for theft. Carmen said that one must honestly follow the rules so that everything else in life is honest. That's exactly what he said. Of course, he agreed with his words and respected his father, who always strictly followed his principles. But why then did those principles allow him to abandon his mother? Why, when he was born, was his mother forced to leave the family? Even cruel people on the street don't abandon their women in trouble, and is their father really more dishonorable than the port rats? No matter how many times he asked about his mother, his father remained silent. He avoided the subject like a coward. That's why he stole the key to find his mother on his own. Setian said that was enough and asked if he really stole the key just to find his mother. Carmen said that was true, and Setian promised to talk to his father. Marnak thought that Carmen's brother wasn't so bad after all. They probably had a good relationship. After talking to Carmen, Setian looked at Marnak and Dakia. They pretended not to notice him. Setian apologized for them having to witness this on their first meeting. His brother must have caused them a lot of trouble. Then he asked if she was Princess Dakia. Dakia said they hadn't seen each other in a long time. Setian asked why she was here and not in Batusia. She replied that she had simply decided to travel the world. Setian told the princess that it wasn't the best idea. He was sure her father was worried about her. Dacia said that couldn't be true, so he shouldn't worry about it. Aris asked how long Carmen would have to stay there. Setian said that according to his father's orders, at least a month, but he would try to talk him out of it. Dakia asked what they would do for the entire month. Marnak wondered if they should not reach their destination as soon as possible. She replied that he should figure it out himself. She had never rushed anyone during the entire journey. Setian asked if he was the same priest Marnak who had been called the sworn enemy of evil spirits. Marnak replied that he was. Then he said that Carmen was one of Erdiko's saviors. Marnak replied that this was indeed the case. Setian said that in that case it would be much easier to persuade his father. He apologized for not introducing himself right away. But he was pleased to meet the priest Marnak. If he had a free moment during his stay in the capital, he would like to invite him. He invited him to visit the Valtus estate with Carmen. With that, he took his leave. He probably won't have enough time to do anything but visit Carmen from time to time. After that, he left. Marnak told Carmen that he and his brother were very different from each other. Carmen said that, unlike him, he was a wonderful guy. He always looked up to him. Dakia remarked that it seemed to her that he was very angry with his role model. Carmen said that it just slipped out. Then he asked if they had brought it to him by mistake. Dakia said that they had bought him food thinking he would be hungry. Marnak said that it seemed they had worried for nothing, so they would probably leave it there. Marnak wished them a happy reunion, and then they left. Dakia said she had just remembered a nice place and suggested they go there. Marnak agreed. He said that it would probably be better for everyone. They should let them be alone. According to information received from the Trumpeter of Eternal Peace, there should be a sacred relic somewhere in the capital. But Marnak didn't even know where to get more information about it. He would probably have to use the thing Lord Tredon had given him. Dakia asked Marnak if she could enter his room, but her mother didn't like that. Marnak said that "Get lost" sounded too rude. Then Dakia entered the room and said that his mother was also there. Today they would not get away from her, and they should just watch. She brought bread with custard from the best bakery in the capital. They simply couldn't find anything better. And instead of gratitude, she would gladly accept hugs as payment. But his mother knocked the bread out of her hands. Then she said the letter YI. Dakia asked Marnak what she meant. He replied that she meant that such trifles would not tempt her, something like that. The priestess of the blue flame came to the headquarters of the Illic organization and showed them a picture of Marnak. The man asked if he really looked like that. She said it was a completely photorealistic image. He thought that if someone else were in front of him, he would think he was being mocked. The man said that it might sound a little rude, but was she sure that this was the person she was looking for? The priestess said that he looked like a human being, although she did not know for sure who he really was, but couldn't you tell from the picture? He looked exactly like the picture. The man thought that it wasn't obvious at all, but that she needed to be patient. After all, she was a priestess of the blue flame. He asked how much she was willing to pay for his search. The priestess replied that it was not worth worrying about. On her way here, she had caught several criminals who were wanted, so she had enough money. The man thought that if she had come to headquarters, she would surely pay much more than the minimum price of 100 gold coins. After all, she was a priestess of the blue flame. The priestess gave him 12 gold coins and 33 silver coins. Then she asked if that was enough. Noticing his expression, she asked what was wrong. Was the amount too much? Vitas Draco asked how much further they had to go and why they were walking in circles. The man replied that they were almost there. Hilden thought that in a little while he would become very angry, and obviously he would also get it. Vitas Draco turned his attention to him. Then he asked what he was doing there. Hilden apologized and said he hadn't done anything. They passed by a priestess of the blue flame. Hilden asked Vitas Draco if the girl was beautiful. He replied that he didn't care. There was already a crowd of girls around him who were crazy about him, so why would he need another one? Hilden didn't understand why he was so fixated on the princess when he had a new girl every day. But if he asked him about it, he would only get angrier. Finally, they reached Ila's headquarters. At the entrance, they were greeted by a man who greeted his majesty and invited him in. He told the branch manager that he could go back. Hilden thought that of course the branch office was not the capital headquarters, but how dare he give him orders? Vitas Draco said he would go with him. The man replied that even if it was his majesty's request, they could not allow branch members to enter headquarters. Vitas Draco struck him and asked what that sigh was. He demanded that his boss be brought there immediately. Hilden expected nothing less from him, therefore trusting him was the right decision. All his indignation towards the people from the capital headquarters vanished. Vitas Draco asked Hilden if he was coming. He replied that he was. Together they entered the headquarters apartment. Hilden decided to take this opportunity to see how the third prince humiliated the headquarters staff. After his mother threw the bread she had brought back at Dakia, she said she would leave it for Marnak and then left. Marnak picked it up and remarked to his mother that she had behaved too harshly this time. There were many other ways to refuse someone. Dakia bought this bread especially for her, and he knows better than most that his mother, whom he respects, is grateful and capable of admitting her mistakes. Marnak asked his mother if she would apologize to her next time and asked her to promise. Then he asked if she would like to try the bread. He was sure it tasted incredible. His mother decided to try it. She liked it and took all the bread from him and decided to eat it. Marnak asked her not to eat it too quickly because it would upset her stomach. Dakia returned and said that she remembered that she hadn't tried the bread herself and asked if she could have some. Then she saw her mother eating the bread she had brought and asked if it was really tasty. That's how they managed to establish contact. 10 minutes later, Dakia was finally able to touch her mother. She said that her hair was very silky and her skin was very soft. Marnak had something else to do and said he could go by himself. Dakia asked if he had forgotten that she had promised not to tell anyone about his secret. She even swore in an ancient language that this demon's friend really lived there. Marnak said that it was the same house that was marked on the map. The man sitting near the house said that it was his home and asked what had brought them there. Marnak showed him the item he had received from Triton. After that, the man immediately invited them in. Dakia asked what he had shown him. He replied that a demon acquaintance of his had given him this item and told him to show it to his friend when he visited him. By the way, he forgot to send it along with the letter of recommendation, so he had to send it separately. Dakia said she didn't know demons were so human and who would have thought they could forget something. In any case, she had no idea that such a place existed in the capital. Marnak said that he had never even been to the capital. Dakia said that he was a peasant, but then why wasn't he surprised by the magnificent buildings of the capital? Marnak thought about how he had seen many incredible buildings before coming to this world. They continued on their way and saw a man. Dakia asked if they could use magic if he attacked them. Marnak said that he really didn't want to run away from the crumbling dungeon. Dakia asked him to trust her, but he said it would be better next time and asked the man if he was their guide. The man did not answer, but simply turned around and walked away. They followed him, and Dakia asked if he was inviting them in. Marnak said it looked like it. Upon entering the room, they saw a woman who asked what they wanted from her. Marnak said he had come to ask for her help. She asked his name, and he replied that he was Marnak and that her name was Dakia Irimel. She grabbed him and asked if he was the same Marnak, the one called the demon assassin from Geis. Dakia told her to let him go immediately, otherwise her spell would leave no stone unturned. Marnak asked her to calm down because in that case they would also die. The woman asked him who he was. He replied that it was Dakia, whom he had just introduced to her. The woman apologized and said she had just decided to joke with them, but she had probably gone too far. Her name was Curiosity, and people like her were usually called demons. She thinks that he is not really a priest of the guardian goddess. Marnak replied that he was not, and that he served the mother of corruption. Hearing this, the writhing Curiosity was surprised and asked if he was really the son of corruption and if he wanted to come closer. Marnak asked why. She said she wanted to get inside his mind. Marnak asked if it was necessary, and she said not really, but she was just curious. She told him not to worry because she wouldn't see much in this body and just wanted to know how he was doing. He was not at all like the other sons of the curse. She wanted to touch him, but the mother of the curse appeared before him. The writhing Curiosity asked what he was. Marnak pointed out that he had already introduced himself to her. She said that this was all very bad. Marnak asked what she meant, and she replied that he was bringing great trouble upon himself and asked if he was collecting his mother's relics. She wondered how many he had already collected, 4 or maybe 5. Marnak wondered how she knew and asked her to explain in more detail. She said she couldn't and why he shouldn't ask his mother about it. Marnak said that she said she didn't know anything. Curiosity asked if he had just spoken to the goddess directly and without any consequences. He replied that he spoke to her every day. Because communication is important for maintaining relationships, she said that he was the son of a curse and that he had not lost his mind. He could even communicate with his mother whenever he wanted, but did his mother really say she knew nothing? Then she asked him since when, and he asked her since when what. She asked when he got the opportunity to communicate with his mother. Probably from the moment his body was improved, and he replied that it was from the very beginning. She said that she understood everything. Putting all the groceries in one basket isn't really the best strategy, but maybe he had no choice. But he would have to try hard to repay the trust placed in him. Marnak asked if she could explain it more clearly. She said that he was walking on a tightrope right now, and if she said anything unnecessary, the gods above would notice them. Marnak wondered how that was possible, that the gods in heaven would notice them. Curiosity asked if he knew that when asking a demon for a favor, he had to give something in return, and if he was willing to pay the price. Marnak replied that of course he was and asked what she wanted. She offered him physical intimacy. Such an offer surprised him, and he apologized and asked what she meant. Curiosity told him to jump into bed. She had never had anything with the son of the evil one because they were all crazy. She touched Marnak, and Dakia said not to. The writhing Curiosity asked why, and she replied because. Then his mother jumped on her and said she couldn't tell if she was hitting her or caressing her. Marnak thought she was telling the truth. Then Curiosity told them to calm down and not take everything so seriously. She was just joking and wanted the badge he had shown her at the entrance. She asked if no one had explained anything to him when they gave it to him. Marnak replied that they hadn't. He hadn't even said a word. She replied that it didn't matter because little pranks brought fun into their lives, and life should be enjoyable. Marnak said he completely agreed with her. She noted that it was time to return to his request. He was looking for his mother's heirloom and probably wanted to ask her to help him find it. Marnak replied that this was indeed the case. Then she said that she happened to have a sacred relic. Marnak asked if that was true. Dakia said that was wonderful. Curiosity noted that if he wanted it, he would have to take part in her underground battles. Let him try to win the battle. She wasn't lying about the relic and she really did have it. But there was one problem. She had offered it as a prize for winning the tournament. She told him where the relic was, so if he wanted it, he would have to try to win. She could only wish the priest Marnak good luck. In the arena, everyone shouted Bigfoot's name and told him to deal with his opponent. The girl announced that his opponent would be a newcomer, so everyone should welcome him with loud applause. Marnak jumped into the arena, and the crowd was very surprised. They had never seen anything like this before and did not understand how a human could move like that. Some of them thought that maybe this time it was worth betting on the newcomer, but others shouted that Bigfoot should not lose to him. Dakia decided to place a bet and said she was betting everything on the newcomer. She thought he had to win. A few days earlier, during a conversation, Marnak asked her curiously if she could lend them the relic for a short time. They would take it and the divinity with it and return it immediately. She told him not to be foolish. The followers of evil spirits would find out immediately. He should just go into the ring and win. It would be better for him and his mother. She asked if he knew what liberatio was. He replied that he had heard of it. She said that was great and that it made everything easier. While searching for relics, he would inevitably come across these guys. So why not take advantage of this opportunity right now to reduce the number of his enemies? Besides, they are in the capital of the kingdom. But does he understand what that means? Marnak said that they would not be able to use their powers during the tournament because the local priests would notice immediately. She said that was true. Marnak decided to think about the situation. As for him, even if he lost without using his divinity, it would be impossible to destroy him. But he said he had no intention of destroying them, just because they were followers of evil spirits. Curiosity asked him what he meant. She had heard that he had already destroyed many of them. Marnak replied that he had his reasons. Curiosity pointed out that he was very picky and asked what he would do if she gave him that reason. Would he destroy them in that case? She snapped her fingers and showed him what they had done. Marnak asked what it was that she had just shown him. She said that they were the memories of the followers of evil spirits, those who had participated in her tournament. What would he say now that he had a good reason to destroy them all? Marnak asked if everything he had seen was true, and she said that unfortunately it was. So he agreed to the tournament. He decided to wear a mask, and it was good that he had a wonderful chance to try it out. He got it from a merchant. Aurelis gave it to him as a reward, and it can take any form. The princess received a ring that makes it easier to use magic. His opponent, Bigfoot, said he'd better go get a weapon and put on some armor, but Marnak gave him the middle finger. Bigfoot became angry and called him an insolent puppy. Then he asked how he dared to provoke him. For this, he would leave him dead. The crowd cheered for Bigfoot, shouting his name and calling Marnak a butcher. They noticed that Bigfoot's opponent was dodging, and that he was very fast. Marnak kept dodging and then landed a blow. Bigfoot became even more angry and wanted to strike back, but Marnak dodged again. The audience thought the newcomer was incredibly quick, and that they had never seen anything like it before. It seemed that he had not entered the ring without armor for no reason. The spectators told Bigfoot to pull himself together. He asked if they thought he was missing because he wanted to. Then he attacked Marnak and told him to die. Marnak grabbed him. Bigfoot doesn't understand where he got such strength. The battle announcer commented on this. She said that the newcomer had risen into the air along with Bigfoot. Bigfoot started calling for help. Then Marnak threw Bigfoot from a height and landed with him. All the spectators watched his actions closely. People saw him climbing the wall. Marnak climbed onto the wall and then jumped onto Bigfoot and dealt him a powerful blow. The battle announcer said that the winner was the butcher. It was an exciting battle, and he asked if he wanted to say anything to the spectators. Marnak took the loudspeaker and said that he would destroy them all. The people cheered for him and shouted the word destroy. After the battle, Marnak and Dakia decided to buy that same bread for their mother. Dakia told him to hurry up. The bakery with its fresh, fragrant, and hot bread was about to open. He said that in that case there was no need to rush. Dakia remarked that he didn't understand. He couldn't even imagine how long the line had been last time. Then she noticed a girl and said that the girl was holding fresh bread straight from the oven. Marnak wondered where he had seen her before. Dakia took him by the hand and told him to hurry up so they could buy more. After all, they had earned so much money in battle. Marnak pointed out that there was no need to pull him along. He looked at the girl and thought that she probably just looked like her. Could it be Aaron? Marnak, Dakia, and his mother had a fun time together. They watched his mother imitate Marnak. She performed several moves that he had used during the battle. Dakia said that it was very similar. That's exactly how he looked. Marnak told his mother not to imitate him and asked her not to do it again. Curiosity said that it looked like they were having a great time. Marnak apologized for the noise. She replied that it was no big deal. It was even funny, and besides, his battle was quite good and difficult to forget quickly. He seemed calm and restrained to her. But then he suddenly left. Marnak said she was exaggerating, and she replied that she really thought the battle was memorable. Bigfoot thought so too. She didn't quite understand how, but they had definitely communicated with each other during the fight. When Marnak lifted him into the air, he whispered that if he didn't want to die, he should pretend that every blow hurt him a lot. Marnak said that it wasn't so much that they had agreed, but rather that a high degree of understanding had developed between them. Curiosity said that it was a wonderful play with actors who brilliantly played their roles. The main thing was that everyone was satisfied with the performance. She is thinking about organizing similar battles more often in the future. She wants the opponents to plan everything in advance so that their competition will be much more interesting. But Bigfoot will have to be replaced by a new actor because he left, saying that he plans to join a theater troupe. So that's what she's getting at. She's curious to know if he wants to work for her. He could easily become the star of her arena. Marnak thanked her for the offer but said he had to turn it down. Curiosity noted that it was like a knife to the heart. Then he said that he must first remove the seals placed on his mother. Curiosity said she was very sorry. But if he didn't want to, there was nothing she could do. Would he mind if she used his wonderful idea as she saw fit? Marnak said that he didn't care and thought about how he was just imitating the guys he had seen fighting in the past. Curiosity said that she still felt uncomfortable not giving him anything in return. So if the idea paid off, he could be sure that she would repay him generously. Marnak said that if she insisted, he would not refuse. She decided to talk about the next battle and asked if she could help him in any way. Marnak replied that it wasn't necessary. As far as he knew, his next opponent would be a follower of the evil spirit, the Skull Crusher. And his opponent would be a rising star, a newcomer who had already surprised everyone in the previous battle. His name was Butcher. When they saw Marnak, people began to shout the word Butcher, and then noticed his weapon. They noticed that the Butcher was holding Bigfoot's weapon. If that was the case, they believed that he had killed him and taken his mace. Some of the people began to shout that the Butcher had killed Bigfoot and taken his weapon. Marnak asked his opponent if his name was Getum. Getum asked how he knew his name, and Marnak said that it must be true. The host told the fighters to take their positions in the ring and let the fight begin. Marnak immediately struck his opponent and destroyed him. All the spectators were shocked that the fight ended so quickly. Marnak thought he could certainly put on another show. But he didn't like playing with other people's lives, so he decided to finish off the evil spirit's follower quickly. Vitas Draco met with the executive director of Elec and said that he had done so well last time, so why was he now saying he couldn't do it? Kantar, the senior executive director of Elec's headquarters, replied that there were reasons for this. First of all, it concerned Princess Dakia Iramel. First, the princess arrived here hiding her identity, which allowed them to kidnap her unnoticed. But this time she appeared in the capital quite officially, and it will be difficult to do so without anyone noticing. Secondly, this time she is accompanied by 3 companions, which is not an easy task to deal with. This time she is accompanied by Lord Entis Valtus's bastard, the black dog Carmen Valtus. The second escort is the leader of the mercenary corps, the red bear Sajita Forgon. And the third is the demon assassin and sworn enemy of evil spirits, the priest Marnak. Vitas Draco asked, so what? Isn't that for the best? If they just shower the mercenary and the priest with money, they'll cooperate, wagging their tails. Kantar said that they would not be able to bribe the priest. Vitas Draco asked why he was so sure. He replied that the priest was already well known as a fighter against all evil, and it was difficult to imagine what could happen to make him betray the princess. Besides, it seemed that he and Princess Dakia were in a relationship. Vitas Draco told him not to talk nonsense. Kantar noted that, according to their informant's report, Princess Dacia secretly visits his bedroom late at night every day. Vitas Draco asked who else knew about this, and he replied that only the members of their organization knew. Then Vitas said that under no circumstances should the information be leaked. It must not be revealed. Kantar said that of course they would not allow such a thing to happen. Vitas asked what the final reason was, and he said that it was the White Wolf, Setyan Valtus. They had learned that he had been in contact with the princess, and if she disappeared, he would most likely not sit idly by. This, in turn, would mean open confrontation with the Black Wolf, Sir Entis Valtus. Regardless of the situation, their organization had no intention of making him their enemy. Kantar thought that it took a lot of time to convince this stupid lizard. But he couldn't continue to deny reality when faced with the facts, even if he was a prince. What could he do in this situation? Kantar looked at Hilden and wondered what was wrong with him. Was there really anything to laugh about? Vitas Draco grabbed him and said that all he was doing was telling him about their Entis Valtus. Was this some kind of organization or a kindergarten? Were they rejecting his request just because they were afraid of one unfortunate person? So let him listen to him carefully, because he could tell the queen about all the things they had been up to here. For example, that they kidnapped the daughter of one of the 4 great lords for a certain amount of money. That way, he'll meet his Entis Valtus sooner, the one they talk about non-stop. Kantar said that if he did that, he would also have problems. Vitas Draco asked if he considered this a threat. The only one who is considered both a dragon and a wizard in this world is the demonic Dragon King, his father. All he has to do is bow his head before him, and the problem will solve itself. So let them deliver Dakia Iramel to the Dragon Kingdom unharmed, and let them use any means necessary to do so. Meanwhile, the followers of evil spirits discussed the latest events. The followers of evil spirits from Liberatio believe that this butcher has definitely targeted them. Surely the godmother of the arena asked him to do this. If that is the case, then when today's battle begins, they will simply take the divine relic from her. The follower allows everyone to use their powers, but they must do everything quickly and leave before the priest and the queen's knights make their move. At this time, the participants of Ilek were also discussing their plan. In 10 minutes, they would blow up the wall, enter the arena, and capture their target. The commander asked if there were any problems with the bomb, and his subordinate replied that there were none. They even had several spare fuses just in case. Then the commander said that failure of the mission was unacceptable and that the reputation of the organization was at stake. The target must be captured at any cost. After that, the battle in the arena began. The host introduced the redhead and his opponent, the butcher. Today's battle would be fought without weapons. The audience was delighted that they would be able to fully enjoy this exciting duel. An explosion occurred as soon as the presenter announced the start of the battle. People did not understand what was happening. Members of the Eleceed organization entered the arena. The commander said that she was hiding somewhere there and that they had to find Princess Dakia. At that moment, followers of evil spirits entered the arena. The leader said that things were getting complicated and ordered his men to quickly find the godmother. Marna's red-haired opponent said that he also did not understand what was happening. Then Carmen burst in and said that underground battles are strictly forbidden by the laws of the kingdom, so he orders everyone to kneel. Let them obey the will of Her Majesty. Carmen ordered that all those present be fined. The spectators did not understand why this was happening today and asked to be allowed to simply pay the fine and go home. The commander of the organization, Elec, does not understand that the Queen's Knights have been forgotten here. Carmen told the men in black to drop their weapons and come down. He tells those in cloaks not to try to escape and to stop immediately. A follower asks if he would stop in their place. Carmen told 2 knights to block the exit and let the others follow him. Marnak decided to approach him, but he was wearing a mask. Therefore, Carmen did not recognize him and asked who he was, then told him to get out of the way. Marnak said that now was not the best time to catch up with them. The men in black wanted to kidnap Princess Dacia. One of the spectators said he had heard about it too. Another confirmed that they had also shouted that Princess Dakia must be found. Many people also confirmed that they had heard the same thing. Carmen told the knights to focus and forget about those who had escaped. Now they had to catch the men in black, and if anyone resisted, he gave permission to kill them on the spot. He told Sajid to act as he saw fit. Now they had to catch them. The members of the Illic organization began to flee. Marnak came to Princess Dakia and she asked him what was happening. He replied that the followers of evil spirits were now heading towards the demon. Her pursuers were now fighting the royal army, but they could get here, so they had to leave. Marnak took off his mask and gave it to her, then told her to put it on. She asked if it was the mask he had been wearing. He remarked that they knew very well what she looked like. Dakia said she understood and then put on the mask. Marnak said they needed to go to the emergency exit that the demon had told them about. When they got there, a guard stopped them. He asked who they were and said that only arena employees were allowed to pass. But then someone killed the man. Marnak saw that they were the princess's pursuers. Their commander told them to kill everyone except the princess. Then Marnak said that they would have to break through and that he would not use his relic weapon for now, so as not to attract unnecessary attention. Marnak decided to use another sword and began to destroy the members of the Elec organization. Dakia also decided to use magic, aided by the ring she had received from the merchant Aurelius. She used fire, and then Marnak also joined in destroying the pursuers with his sword. After defeating all the pursuers, she asked if she had done well. Marnak said she was incredible. Then he noted that now they needed to move toward the exit. Dacia said that he had said that the followers of evil spirits were heading toward the demon. She asked if she would be okay. He replied that she would be fine and not to worry about it, because it would be incredibly difficult to destroy a demon that had occupied a body for so long. The followers found her, and one of them said that they had not been told that the godmother of the arena was a demon. She said that they hadn't even asked. She would have gladly told them everything. The followers did not understand why none of their attacks had worked. Then one of them told everyone to calm down because she was still a demon. This means that she must pay for using her powers. He ordered two of them to find the relic. The others were to tie her up in a battle of attrition. Once her resources were exhausted, she would become an ordinary woman. The godmother of the arena said that he didn't know much about demons, but maybe he wanted her to tell him something. She had expected that one day guys like them might come, so she had prepared herself. It's not that difficult to make preparations in an underground arena. They tried hard to get into her room, and if they want it so badly, then it's time to play. Carmen doesn't understand how this happened. He just wanted to gain experience on his brother's advice. But because his squad consists of only recruits, they are losing. He is sure that Marnak must be with Dakia right now. This means that now he has to protect the soldiers as their commander. He protected the knight whom Elec, a member of the organization, wanted to destroy. Then he told him to pull himself together and return to the ranks. The knight thanked him. Carmen told everyone to listen to him. They should stop trying to destroy their enemies and just focus on defense. He told one of them that he would be giving orders from now on. Their priority was to save the lives of their men. Then he asked Sajid if he still had any strength left, and he replied that of course he did. Carmen said that in that case, they would deal with them too. Marnak and Dakia tried to escape, but they heard someone say that Marnak was there, and that the woman next to him was probably Dakia. He said that it seemed they were following them because they knew what he looked like. Then another pursuer appeared on their path. Marnak destroyed him with his sword and then saw two more approaching from the left. He warned Dakia about this. She used her magic and caused an explosion. Marnak decided to finish off the attackers once and for all. Dakia took off her mask and said that she didn't need it anymore and that it was uncomfortable to fight while wearing it. He said they needed to keep going, and then they noticed that they were being followed again. Their pursuers shouted that they had surrounded them. Members of the Elec organization were approaching them from both sides. Dakia asked what they were going to do. Marnak replied that she needed to destroy the vaulted ceiling of the corridor. It didn't matter if everything collapsed. He would protect her anyway. Dakia used her fire magic and collapsed the ceiling in the corridor, preventing the members of the Elec organization from passing. Marnak took Dakia by the hand and they continued to make their way out of the corridor. But their pursuers appeared again. Their commander told Marnak that they only wanted the princess and that he should just hand her over. No matter how much money she promised him, they would pay more. They would even turn a blind eye to the fact that he had killed their comrades. Marnak said that the princess had promised him as much gold as he weighed. Could they really give him more? Dakia was surprised by this answer. The commander said that of course they could. Their client would pay twice as much. Marnak said that was unbelievable. Then he hugged Dakia. He remarked that, come to think of it, he seriously doubted that their gold would smell as nice as she did. The commander asked how he dared to joke about them, but they had them cornered, and no matter how strong he was, they outnumbered them. Marnak asked what difference it made to a cat how many rats were gathered in front of him. After these words, the commander ordered his men to destroy him. Then Marnak took out his heirloom weapon and, uttering the word meow, destroyed all of his men. He said that he had said it didn't matter to him. After that, he destroyed the commander. Meanwhile, the godmother of the arena told her follower that he was the only one left. The follower remarked that she was too strong. How long had she lived in this body? She replied that she had come into this world before the birth of her first son, Porch. The follower asked what that meant. She remarked that he was impatient, but now it was his turn to answer questions. The godmother of the arena asked if he was a priest of the needle that sews. The confusion in his head was very similar to his work. She told him to answer, and he turned to the needle that was sewing. The godmother of the arena asked if he was going to summon the phantom of his god. People in their days did not waste time, and she was curious why they were collecting relics that contained divine corruption. It turns out that they were going to summon a part of their god to earth to destroy the balance that had been maintained for centuries. The phantom of the god entered the body of a follower. The godmother of the arena asked the needle stitcher if she was right. He told her to tell the demon to be quiet. Marnak and Dakia once again encountered their pursuers on their way. A member of the organization, Elik, said that there was nothing to fear because they were far outnumbered. Seeing them, Marnak told Dakia that it was her turn and she asked if he was sure. Then she told him not to dare blame her later. She used her fire magic to burn all of their pursuers. Marnak also decided to deal with them. After that, they finally made it outside. Dakia said that she would not come back here for a kilometer. Then she asked if he was okay and if she really should have done that. He replied that everything was fine. He had already healed and even his hair had grown back. Marnak asked how she was and she replied that she was doing quite well. Then he saw the priestess of the blue flame and told Dakia not to do anything so that nothing would happen here, and then he attacked. The priestess of the blue flame struck him and he fell. She asked if he really thought he could defeat her, even if she gave in a little. For her, it was her destiny to meet her first and only student. After Sanctus's death, Marnak set out on a journey to find the relics that contained his mother's divinity. One day, he was lucky enough to find one, but the problem was that the relic was deep in the vault of the Order of the Sacred Flame. He asked his mother if the weather was really good today and then said that he understood that she was bored, but asked her to be patient. Moreover, he was trying to figure out how to get her relic, but now the only gift available to him was the power of destruction. And the keeper of the relic was a priestess who was many times stronger than him. While he was thinking, he noticed someone approaching him. He had never seen anyone come here so early. Marnak noticed that she was pretty. The priestess asked if he had some time to help her with the laundry. She would pay him generously for his help. Marnak immediately agreed and said it was no problem. He had already finished his work anyway. Half an hour later, Marnak said that everything was ready. She praised him for his excellent work and asked him to bring her a basket. At that moment, he realized that the girl who had asked him for help was the same keeper of the relics. She gave him a silver coin as a reward for his help and asked if she could ask him for help again next time. Marnak replied that of course he would. He would be happy to help. Thus, a strange relationship based on laundry was established between them. Every few days, the priestess would bring him dirty clothes and he would wash them, receiving a silver coin each time. But after a few weeks, she stopped asking him to wash her clothes and said she had run out of money. Marnak asked her what she meant. She replied that she had spent all the money left by her predecessor, so she would have to do all the washing herself. Marnak said he didn't need the money. He would help her for free. The priestess asked why, and he replied that he had nothing to do at home anyway. The priestess had never treated him badly, even though he was a stranger, and considering how much money she had given him to help her with the laundry, it was nothing. She said that's what she had in mind. She didn't have any more money, but what would he say if she offered to teach him fencing? Marnak asked if she was serious, and she replied that if he didn't want to, then it was up to him. Then he agreed. He remarked that it was an incredible offer. At that moment, the list of his strengths ended with the fact that he was not bad, but he didn't know how to compete at all. He said that learning fencing from a master would be an honor for him, but the priestess immediately struck him. In this world, there are so-called masters. In the game, it was a class for high-level melee fighters. But in this world, it is better known as a level of strength. Masters are those who have reached such heights in martial arts, those who have even managed to cross the line. In each kingdom, they can be counted on the fingers of one hand, and his mentor, Frida, was one of these masters. But her teaching methods boiled down to primitive sparring that was constantly repeated. After training, she told him to come back at the same time tomorrow, and on days when there was no laundry, he could do housework. Marnak asked if it was a relic storage room and asked if he could take a look. Frida asked why. He replied that he was just curious because he had never seen relics before in his life. Frida said that he could only look. She would show him only once. Marnak was very happy and thanked her. But when he thought about it, he couldn't even imagine what a relic containing the divinity of the Mother of Destruction would look like. Then he felt something and realized that he was holding a sacred relic. After that, he continued to train. But Frida kept winning. After another training session, she said that was enough for today. She informed him that she had to run some errands and asked him to finish cleaning up before she returned. For the past 3 years, he had lived in his mentor's house and performed all the household chores. He liked this fact. He didn't have to worry about food or a roof over his head. But during training, he learned more about survival than fencing. He decided he had to leave. In any case, he doubted he could learn anything more. He also had to complete his main quest, and he had to avenge Sanctus. So he stole a sacred relic that contained the divinity of corruption and then extracted all of its contents. As a result, he received his second gift, that of a giant of corruption. In addition, after receiving the first seal, his mother began to speak to him. Marnak asked Frida how she knew he had survived. She replied that she wasn't sure at all. But for 3 years after each training session, he healed like a dog. Therefore, she thought that if necessary, he could grow a new head. Marnak asked who was capable of such a thing. Freedia pointed out that he was alive and his head was still there. In addition, she had distributed posters with his picture to speed up the search. Let him take a look. The face is exactly the same. Marnak asked if she had really tried to find him with this. She said it worked and he was standing right in front of her. Marnak noted that it was hard to argue with that. Freedia told her student that she didn't care what he was, but she still had her pride. So she suggested continuing the training until he reached at least the level of a master. He said he knew that and asked how long it took her. She replied that she had trained tirelessly every day for 30 years, but he was quite talented. So it would be enough for him to work hard for another 27 years. Marnak understands that if he agrees, he can forget about the main quest, and he doesn't understand how she could compare him to a genius like herself. So he thought about how to respond. Meanwhile, Carmen continued the battle and asked how many people they had left. The knight replied that there were 24 left. 3 were seriously wounded and 11 had minor injuries. Carmen thought about the fact that they had lost 16 men. Even his brother could not have expected such a situation, so he said that they should have come here with 100 elite knights. Then he saw a monster rush toward them and asked what it was. He noticed that this monster was smaller than the one in Eradico, but very similar. Carmen told Turdi to take the soldiers away from there immediately. Turdi replied that he understood him. He told Sajita that they needed to buy some time. After that, Sajita went on the attack. Carmen said that he was the best and now it was his turn. After that, he also attacked the monster. But suddenly, the monster began to grow in size, and Carmen said they needed to run. He had a bad feeling about all this. They managed to retreat and hide in time. Carmen asked Sajita how he was. After that, Sajita went on the attack again. He managed to strike the monster with his sword, but the monster told him to stop, and then turned to the needle that was sewing. After that, a needle with thread appeared, pulling everyone around them together. The members of the Illic organization did not understand what was happening. Carmen told Sajita that they needed to run away. While retreating, Sajita also got caught in the thread. But Carmen managed to cut it with his sword in time. Sajita told Carmen to look at the mountain. The needle flew straight at Carmen and he couldn't deflect it. Meanwhile, Marnak continued his conversation with his mentor, Frida. She suggested that he continue training and he didn't know what to say, and then they noticed that something was happening. Marnak asked his mentor if she shouldn't go and check what was happening. She said that she had met a man on her way here. He was heading in that direction and she didn't need to rush. Marnak asked who she had met. Frida replied that it was the Black Wolf, Entis Valtis. Carmen saw that his father had arrived. Entis Valtis asked him if he could leave and Carmen said yes. Entis Valtis told him that in that case he should leave and that he would deal with the monster himself. Carmen left with Sajita. Entis heard someone shouting for him to give it back right away. He saw a snake asking the monster where he had hidden it and demanding that he immediately reveal the location of the relic. Entis realized that there were 2 monsters fighting each other in front of him. He decided to attack the needle that was sewing. The demon godmother of the arena, who had taken the form of a snake, told him not to interfere. She begged him, but he continued to strike the monster and she once again told him not to interfere because he would break her. Entis continued to fight the monster and then attacked her. She realized that if it weren't for him, she would have been able to take her back. Was retreating really all she had left? She turned to Marnak in her mind and asked him for help. After that, Frida joined the battle and began to fight Entis Valtis. He sensed her thirst for blood. Then he asked her why she was doing this. She replied that she wanted to know if he was really the strongest swordsman in the north, as everyone claimed. He said that if that was all, they could compete later. But now he asked her to leave because he had to defend the capital. Phrygia said that it seemed that the strongest and most famous swordsman was best at talking. The demon godmother of the arena does not understand what is happening and why these 2 are competing with each other. Then she heard Marnak shout that he was there. He asked what she wanted to ask him. She thanked him for coming. Marnak replied that he did not need her gratitude and told her to hurry up and tell him what to do. She replied that the monster had stolen a sacred relic from her. It was something that had been left to her by her daughter. Therefore, she begged him to return it to her. Marnak noticed that the monster had absorbed a large amount of divinity. He said he didn't know if he would be able to find it. The godmother of the arena said that he could and that she believed in him. Marnak replied that her faith alone would not help him. After that, the mother appeared before him. He asked if she could find it in this form, then noted that it was too dangerous. Nevertheless, he agreed, asking how he could possibly refuse her. But if he suddenly smelled something burning, she should immediately transform back into a hand. The godmother of the arena said she would help them get to the right place. Marnak warned his mother that they would be shaken a little. He clung to the monster and told his mother to hold on tight. But then they were attacked by lifeless bodies and he used the damage spells. After defeating the lifeless bodies, his mother found the relic and Marnak praised her for her excellent work. Then he said that he would kiss her right then and there, but that he should probably restrain himself. He saw that monsters were approaching them again and after defeating them said that they had found her. The relic was around her neck. The godmother of the arena thanked him and said that now she would break every part of him except his neck. She called the monster a pathetic 6 of that loser from heaven and how he dared to look at her from above. Meanwhile, Marnak reached the right place. His mother showed him where the relic was hidden, and he asked if it was there, then said he understood. He took the relic and said that his hands didn't dare to come closer. It must be because of the relic or for some other reason. The old woman noticed that there were hands not far from them, and Marnak said that she was right and that they needed to hurry. He told the arena's godmother that he had the relic, and she thanked him and told him to get off her quickly. Marnak asked his mother to turn back into a hand, and then they climbed down from the monster. The arena's godmother turned to the needle that was sewing. She said that he was pitiful and imprisoned in heaven. He should listen to her carefully because for the rest of her life, until her last breath, she would never support any of his vile followers. And he would pay for what he had done today. After that, reinforcements from the royal army arrived. Marnak did not manage to escape but hid. The soldiers said among themselves that he was a demon and must be defeated. Phrygia continued her battle with Entis Valtis, but when she noticed that Marnak had done his job, she stopped. Entis Valtis asked her what she was doing, and she said that he could return to his business, because her reason for fighting him had just left. Entis Valtis asked what she was talking about. Then he said that she would have to take responsibility for her actions. She asked what responsibility she had. Did he think he could defeat her? The knight told him that he had brought the root tooth. Entis Valtis ordered him to detain the priestess and behave very respectfully because she was a master, so he should not even think of provoking her. The knight replied that he understood and then approached her. He said that as she had just heard, he was obliged to take her into custody for obstructing the course of justice, and also for threatening the safety of the kingdom. He asked her to cooperate with them. Frida told him to wait a minute. She wanted to find one thing but couldn't remember where she had put it. But then she found it and showed it to the knight. Seeing what was depicted on the paper, he asked what it was. Then she apologized and said that she had accidentally given him a portrait of her student. She said that he was very handsome, or perhaps he didn't think so. The knight thought that she probably meant that the person in the portrait was handsome. Phrygia found the letter of recommendation and said that it was the same paper she had intended to show him. The knight looked at the recommendation, which stated that she was guaranteed complete immunity, and asked if it was real. She replied that, of course it was. There was even a seal on it. The knight asked how she got it, and she said she didn't remember exactly, but that she had destroyed one of the evil spirit's followers. As a token of gratitude, the king gave her this paper and named her the savior of the kingdom. She didn't expect that it would ever come in handy. Phrygia asked if she could leave now because she had to visit someone else. Marnak tried to escape quickly, but his godmother caught up with him and hugged him tightly in gratitude. Then she thanked him again and wanted to kiss him, but his mother stopped her. She pushed her away from him and stood between them. Then the arena's godmother decided to hug her. She said that she was also very grateful to his mother for saving him. Then she kissed her. After that, she invited them to her home. She told them to drink tea and help themselves to cookies. These cookies go very well with tea, so they should try them. Marnak tried the cookies, but as he expected, he still couldn't taste anything. His mother also tried the cookies. She liked them very much. The godmother of the arena asked what she said, and Marnak replied that she said the cookies were criminally good. Marnak took out the box and said that he should have given it to her earlier. She thanked him again and said that she knew she was being a nuisance. But he couldn't even imagine how much that box meant to her. Marnak asked where her daughter was now, and she replied that she was no longer alive. Many years have passed since then, but he doesn't need to feel guilty because her daughter was a human being and lived in the ancient times of the empire. It would be surprising if she had managed to live to see them. Marnak asked if her husband was also gone, and she replied that she had never had a husband. When she entered this body, it was already carrying a child. She has not shown the contents of the box to anyone but the two of them. Usually they are not in a hurry to have children when they move into a new body. Their goal is to get the most out of life in this world before returning back. But if you start a new life, you can eventually become emotionally attached to that person. An attachment later turns into longing, into unbearable longing. They spend only a small part of their lives in human bodies. In that case, they would like to avoid sad memories. Marnak then asked why she gave birth. She replied that it was out of curiosity. Other demons also succumbed to this feeling at least once in their lives and had children. So she gave birth to a wonderful and incredible daughter. She named her Salon. The arena's godmother asked if he knew anything about the sword he had with him when they first met. It had strange teeth. Marnak asked what she wanted to say about it, and she remarked that she hadn't said anything last time. She didn't want it to seem like she was bragging, but his daughter had made it. Marnak was very surprised. She asked if he could get it for her and she would show him something interesting. Marnak took the sword. Then she said a spell and the sword began to glow. Marnak saw an inscription. It said that it was presented to his precious mother Elisha by the best blacksmith in the Empire of Ceylon. She told him to see what she meant. Marnak asked if it had any other hidden properties. She replied that she did not know, but considering that her daughter had forged it, it was possible that it could interact with her other creations. After all, she had always loved transformations and such things. Marnak said that he would keep her gift as his most precious treasure, but did not want to take the sword. She replied that she didn't want to because the most important thing for her was that her daughter had given it to her personally. She made all her other masterpieces in the hope that people would use them. Even if she had collected them all, she would probably just keep them locked up for fear of accidentally breaking them. But she knew better than anyone else that this was not what her daughter would have wanted. Then she noticed the mother's damage. She asked if she needed anything. Marnak replied that she had asked if she had any more cookies. Elisha, the arena's godmother, said that there were plenty in the second drawer on the left in the kitchen, so she could eat as many as she wanted. The mother went to get the cookies, and Elisha said that she was very nice, and Marnak agreed with her. Then she said that they would return to business matters. Elisha didn't even know how to thank him and asked if he wanted to do something while his mother was in the kitchen. She promises to take good care of him. Marnak replied that it was a tempting offer, but he had to decline. He also asks her not to offer anything like that when his mother is around. Elisha says she is very sorry, but to let her know if he changes his mind. Last time she was just joking, but now she is quite serious. In that case, she should think about what she could give him as a reward. Marnak said that his mother said that if she was grateful, she could give them as many gold coins as there were cookies in her kitchen. Elisha said she liked her practicality, but the problem was that repairing the underground arena would not be cheap. The same goes for replacing the damaged die. Besides, it's not her way to thank her saviors with money because it's too easy to spend. She would like to give them something special. She thought about joining their group for a while and helping them on their journey. But to be honest, she didn't like competing. She was sure that wherever her son went, his path would be accompanied by rivers of blood. Then she remembered that she had something and asked them to wait a moment. Meanwhile, her mother decided to ask Marnak for something. He asked if she wanted him to ask her to pack some cookies for them to take on the road, and said he would be sure to ask. Elisha said she had found it. She wanted to sell it to a worthy buyer, but thought they might need it too. Marnak asked if it was the key to the ancient ruins. She replied that he was quick to understand and that she thought it was a good reward. In addition, there was another creation of her daughter in these ruins. After that, she prepared cookies for them and gave them to Marnak. Then she said that she had put something else in their bags for the road. Marnak thanked her and said that his mother was also very grateful. She replied that she understood, and Marnak asked if they would meet again. Elisha said that they had played too long this time. Her left eye was completely blind, so she thought she would have to leave the capital for a while. Marnak said that in that case, they would have to say goodbye. She told him to take care of her mother, and Marnak asked what she meant. Elisha replied that she knew he already took care of her. Therefore, she did not ask for anything more and simply asked him to continue in the same spirit so that a smile would never leave her face. He said that he would have done so even without her request. After that, he left. Elisha thought that the relic in the ruins would be useful to him, especially if his mother's curse was completely restored. Then the gods in heaven would have to pay for their sin, especially the needle that sewed. Because he dared to take her daughter's gift, the needle that sews would surely regret his actions. Marnak returned, and Dakia asked if he was all right and if anything hurt. He replied that everything had been resolved, but she should tell him something. He asked if his mentor, Frida, had been looking for him. Dakia replied that his teacher had not come here, but she had received a message from Carmen. They were here with Sajida. Marnak asked how they were, and she replied that they were wounded but would live, fortunately. However, their treatment was not going very well. Marnak said that if they were still there, he would visit them. Carmen was glad that Marnak and His Majesty had come. Marnak noted that he did not look so badly injured. He said he wasn't going to walk around sad forever after getting a few scratches. Such behavior would only disgrace his father. After all, he only had a few fractures and bruises, but with Cleric's help, he would recover quickly. But their Sajida was in a bad way. He had been fighting alongside him. Sajida replied that he was fine. A few more visits from Cleric and he will recover as well. All in all, it's nothing serious. Marnak asked him to let him look at his leg. As he thought, there was a mixture of the divinity of several evil spirits. That was probably why Cleric couldn't heal him. He mentally asked his mother if she could do anything, and she replied that she could solve the problem by absorbing the divinity of the sacred relic. But if they absorbed the divinity inside the capital, they would be noticed immediately, so they had to get out of the city first. They would probably have to go to the ruins. The ancient ruins were isolated from the rest of the world, so the divinity could not escape beyond their boundaries. Carmen said he shouldn't worry. According to the cleric who is healing them, the evil spirit's powers will weaken over time. But even though he said so, it would take a long time. Marnak asked how long, and he replied that in the best case it would be several months, in the worst case, several years, until everything heals on its own. Aras Grata added that the cleric said the same thing about Carmen. In the case of the young man, he said that recovery would take significantly longer, but they were already looking for someone. She would be able to get rid of the evil spirit's divinity, and perhaps they would be able to heal them much faster. Carmen apologized for what had happened, and said that now they would not be able to continue escorting the princess until they had fully recovered. Dakia told him not to worry about it. First, they should take care of their health, and nothing would happen to her. Marnak said that on this positive note, he and the princess would leave the capital for a few days. It seemed he knew a way to cure them faster. Dakia asked what he had in mind, and he replied that he would tell them the details later. Carmen said that he was the best, and that he even felt a little uncomfortable, because he does so much for them, but he would eagerly await his return. Marnak asked them to trust him. Then Carmen said he needed to tell him something in private and winked at Aras Grati. Aras Grati took Dakia aside so she couldn't hear their conversation. Carmen said he had something to share with him. He had never met a woman with such a big heart as Lady Dakia, so he shouldn't miss this opportunity, especially since she seemed to care about him. Sajida remarked that he thought they were already a couple. Marnak said that there was nothing between them. In his mind, he turned to his mother and said that she had always been with him, and what more explanations she expected from him. Carmen said that this was his chance, and that he should make his move. Marnak thought that he was just repeating himself. He wished them a speedy recovery. Carmen thanked him and told him to take care of himself too. After that, they left. Dakia said she was excited. She felt a little uncomfortable that they were going to such a place alone, but if it was him, she didn't mind. When they returned, they saw Frida, who said that he had arrived very late, but she had been waiting for her student for what seemed like an eternity. Friadia invited him to sit down, and he said that, to be honest, he had expected her to come see him earlier. She replied that she had to go to the palace. The queen had asked her for a favor. The followers of evil spirits were rampaging in the north of the kingdom, and the queen was very polite, so she couldn't refuse. So he should go to his room and pack his things because they were going to Eagler with him. Marnak replied that he would not go with her. His path lay in the opposite direction, and he had something he had to do. Frida asked what he was talking about. And this after all the difficulties and embarrassment she had gone through to fulfill his request. Perhaps she had misunderstood him. Marnak replied that she had understood correctly. Frida remarked that he was very cruel and how he could do this to her. She began to cry and asked if he had any idea what she had to go through for him. Marnak asked her to stop, because this time she would not let him get away with it. He had been fooled by her crocodile tears many times before, but they would not work anymore. Fridia said that she would have to work on her technique, then took the weapon and told her student that a woman's tears were her weapon. Marnak shouted at her to put her hands on the table immediately, because if she tried to cut him off and drag him with her, he would get angry at her. Fridia said that she would never resort to such cruel methods. Marnak thought that, judging by everything, she would. And how? Marnak said that whatever he had said was true. He couldn't leave now, but as soon as he had sorted things out, he would return to her. She agreed and noted that this merciful, understanding, and wonderful mentor had made his decision. Marnak asked if that meant he didn't have to leave her, and she said yes. She was willing to wait, but only if he was strong enough not to get beaten up by everyone he came across. Marnak asked what she meant by that, and she replied that the tavern had a spacious backyard, so he should take his sword and follow her right now. He wasn't thrilled with the idea, but he agreed. Fridia asked if he was ready and noted that the rules were the same as always. She would only use as much strength as he had, and he had to show everything he was capable of in the fight. Marnak thought that he shouldn't use his heirloom weapon, because that would make everything much more difficult. Frida told him to attack, and they began the battle. Marnak remembered that she always attacked like this before striking him in the face. He dodged her attacks, but his sword got stuck. Frida asked her student what he thought was necessary to become a master. Marnak replied that fencing skills must be honed to perfection, and the body trained to its limits. Fridia replied that this was only the basics, and then struck him directly in the face. She then said that if that were enough to become a master, she would have become one in just 5 years of training. Marnak remarked that she sometimes behaved very arrogantly. Frida replied that this was true, and that there was nothing to be done about it. Then she put her sword to him and said that it was his heart, noting that his confused face looked very cute. He asked her to explain everything, and she said that in order to become a master, he must put his heart into his sword. Only then would his sword be able to destroy even what at first glance seemed impossible to destroy. But for this, his mind must be completely independent of others. However, he has a mysterious obsession, as if he is clinging to something. So let him tell her what he is so dependent on. Marnak thought he couldn't answer that question. How could he tell her that her student was a priest of an evil god, and that every time he came back to life, he became more and more dependent on his mother? She called him her first and only student and noted that, judging by the expression on his face, he understood perfectly well what he was dependent on and why. Marnak replied that he did. She said she had been very happy to find him, but when they crossed swords, her mood had instantly soured. He asked if it was because he was still far from becoming a master, and she replied that it was not. Rather, it was the heart of a mother. It felt as if she had lovingly raised her own son, and suddenly some vile snake had appeared out of nowhere and taken him away from her. Marnak said that she had described it very accurately and that it didn't even seem like her. Frida replied that she was just that upset. As long as he clings to this entity, any attempts to separate him from it will only provoke his resentment and indignation. Therefore, she would not force him. But let him be kind and at least carry this with him. It was an ancient relic she had taken from the Order of the Sacred Flame. A person with a black ring will always know approximately where the owner of the white ring is. Marnak said he would wear it. Then he asked if he could ask his mentor something. He was curious how she became both a master and a priestess of the order. She replied that to become a priest of God, one did not need to have unshakable faith. To put it simply, one becomes a priest simply because the God has endowed them with his gift. Masters are different from believers. They can look at the gods and their gifts with awe. They are not blinded by emotions and attitudes that come from the deity. For example, she still considers him her student, despite seeing the evil god's divinity emanating from him. That is why he needs to become a master. If he becomes one, he will be able to separate his own thoughts and feelings from those imposed on him by his god. Marnak said that it meant she knew he was a priest of an evil god, and that he was the very essence on which he depended. Frida replied that she was not stupid. He asked if he could ask her another question, and she said he could ask as many as he wanted. Marnak asked why she had decided to teach him and not someone more talented and obedient. Phrygia replied that judging by his hesitation, she had already decided that the question would be difficult, but in fact, it was very simple. She had been raised since childhood to be the sword of the order. Without realizing it, she had spent her whole life alone, and then she met him. In the 3 years she spent with him, she felt more happiness than she had ever felt before, but the feeling of loss that came when he left was even stronger. She could no longer return to her former life without him. She needed him. And he is very important to her, because when she is with him, she feels happy. Hilden said that their headquarters was in such a state because they had failed in their plan to capture the princess, and now wanted to pin all the blame on him. The members of the Illic organization said that he was to blame for everything and that he should die. Hilden realized that he had to run away. During his escape, he shouted for someone to save him, saying that if anyone helped him, he would even kiss them. Then he saw the prince and asked if he had come to save him. Vetus Draco asked why else would he come here. Did he think he had come here for a picnic? He should shut up and follow him, and if he lagged behind, he would leave him there. Hilden thought he should withdraw all his accusations against him. Vetus Draco heard what he had said before when he called for help. He said that if he dared to kiss him, he would send him after them to his ancestors. Dakia said that the coordinates would lead them here. These people must be mountain bandits, and they had wasted 5 days coming here. Marnak said that they might be mountain bandits, but he wasn't sure. Dakia asked if they should distract them with fire. He noted that this could start a forest fire. To begin with, he would just try to talk to them, but if something went wrong, they should be ready to use magic. After that, he approached them. They asked who he was, and Marnak replied that he was a priest of the guardian goddess and had been asked to deal with the mountain bandits in the area. The man replied that if he wanted to enter, he must first lay down all his weapons. Marnak said that he could not do so without knowing whether they were bandits or not. He replied that in that case, he was not allowed to pass and should leave. Marnak thought that his mother was showing him 3 fingers. Marnak said that he was a magician. The man asked how he knew. Marnak asked if he could call someone more reasonable. The man said that he didn't understand anything and asked if he had just called him stupid. After that, he lunged at him. Marnak struck him and said that he should not attribute his words to him. Then Dakia called out to him. She said she was ready to destroy everything with lightning. Marnak asked her why and then hinted that she should pay attention to the man. Dakia asked if he had just cut the guy off, but wasn't he going to destroy everyone here? Marnak said that they must have misunderstood each other. Then a woman came out and said that it had started raining and that it was wonderful. Therefore, everyone should quickly collect rainwater so that they would not have to descend the mountain today. Then she saw Marnak and Dakia and asked who they were. Marnak introduced himself and said that he served the guardian goddess. This is Dakia Iramel, daughter of the ruler of the south. The woman greeted her highness and said her name was Fosorina. She was the captain of the royal team of archaeologists, and it was a great honor for her to meet her. Dakia thanked her and said that it was nice to hear. Fosorina said that their magicians were not very skilled in water magic, so they were very grateful to them for the rain. Dakia replied that she was happy to help. Then she apologized for the magician's behavior. She would have fired him long ago if he weren't a magician. Fosorina asked how they found out about this place. Information about the excavation of ancient ruins is always kept in the strictest confidence. Marnak said that they came here following the coordinates indicated on the key. She asked if he meant the key to the ruins, and would they let her go inside with them? Marnak apologized and said that it wouldn't be possible. She said that she didn't mean from the very beginning. After they took everything they wanted from there, she would very much like to visit the ruins. Marnak didn't know what to do, and she asked him how much he knew about the ruins of the ancient empire. He replied that he knew as much as any ordinary person. Fosorina said that the ruins of the ancient empire are divided into 2 types. The first are those located in an isolated dimension. They can only be entered with a key. The second type are those that lie underground. The goal of archaeologists is to excavate the ruins of the second type. Marnak asked if that meant there were more ruins beneath the ones they were currently excavating. Fosorina noted that he was quick to catch on. They are more interested in the connection between these 2 types of ruins than in the relics that may be found there. Marnak said that if that was all they needed, then he agreed. Fosorina was very happy. She shook his hand and thanked him. Then he said that they would probably return from there tired, so could they rest in their camp upon their return? Fosorina agreed, and he asked about the rest of her team. Was she waiting for anyone else from headquarters? She replied that there was no need to worry about that. The people they saw in the camp were their entire team. Marnak apologized and asked if there weren't too few of them. Fosorina replied that, in the end, their team did not bring much income to the kingdom. Underground ruins were usually not in the best condition. They don't often find any relics. Marnak said he understood and that in that case, he didn't think there would be any problems. They opened the ruins with a key and went inside. Marnak entered first. Fosorina was very happy to be able to see everything with her own eyes. Dakia remarked that the ruins looked incredible, and Marnak agreed with her. The sight was certainly breathtaking, but they must not forget why they came here. He took out the relic and turned to his mother, asking her to grant him a new gift. Now his divinity was 16,379. He had spent 10,000 divinity points. Finally, he gained the ability to perform powerful attacks. He received the Sword of Destruction. This sword destroys everything it touches, but if it destroys him too, how can he use it? Holding the sword, his hand was injured. Dakia asked if his hand would be okay, and he replied that it would heal soon. So she shouldn't worry. Then his mother appeared before them and hugged Marnak tightly. He said that she had grown up a lot. His mother asked if his hand hurt, and he replied that it didn't and that everything was fine. Dakia said she had an idea. Why not give this sword to his mother? She was quite nimble, and her hand would not be prone to decay. Marnak asked what would happen if she hurt herself. Then he said they could see if she could use it. She took the sword in her hand but then threw it away and started crying. Her hand was also injured. Marnak asked how she was and said that she shouldn't be too hard on herself. Her son would protect her. Dakia asked if he thought it was strange. Marnak asked what she meant. She replied that she was saying that her mother's corruption could harm her own gift. Her mother became angry with her, but Dakia said that was not what she meant. Marnak said that perhaps it was because she had not yet fully restored her divinity. Be that as it may, she was now able to say one more word. Turning to Dakia, Mother said the word she. Marnak said that she shouldn't worry too much about it. Just by being near him, she was already giving him strength. Dakia asked if their hands had healed. Marnak replied that they had. Dakia said that in that case they should go inside. Marnak asked his mother to summon the Giant of Destruction. Marnak told him that they hadn't seen each other in a long time, and that he hoped he had missed him. But he had one request for him. Could he try holding this sword in his hand for at least a few seconds? The Giant of Destruction tried. But his hand was also injured, and Marnak realized that even the Giant of Destruction was unable to hold it. Marnak apologized to him. Then they decided to enter the ruins. The Giant of Destruction went in first. Dakia asked what they should do, and Marnak replied that they should just watch. After all, one of them did not know where the traps were. It would be safer to let the giant go ahead and clear the way for them. The Giant of Destruction defeated his opponent, but then another giant golem emerged from the door. Dakia asked if she should break it with her magic, but Marnak suggested they just watch. Magic had no effect on these golems anyway. The giant remembered how he had been defeated by the golems last time and launched an attack. Marnak said that the expenditure of divinity to strengthen him was worth it. Matinka took the relic she had previously been unable to absorb from Marnak's bag and tried to sever the connection between the relic and the divinity inside. This time she succeeded. Marnak received 10,000 points of divinity, bringing his total to 13,379. He was very happy and said that now she had enough power to call herself a goddess. She was even able to bind all the tangled divinity together. Marnak said that she was truly incredible. Dakia noted that they got along well, and Marnak replied that they did. Then she asked him if he thought they could ever get along as well as they did now. Marnak replied that he thought they already got along very well. Or maybe he was just imagining it. He thought about how she always helped him in battle when he asked her to. The giant defeated the golem, and Marnak thought that he should use the divinity he had gained to strengthen his abilities when necessary. After all, he couldn't allow his new gift to become something like this Sword of Destruction at the worst possible moment. Then he said that they could now move on and asked his mother to turn back into his hand. But when they entered the building, another opponent was already waiting for them. He immediately struck the Giant of Destruction. Marnak said that it would be dangerous now and covered Dakia with his body. He did not understand what this was all about. Then he decided to use the inscriptions on the damage and told Dakia to hold on tight to him. They needed to run as fast as they could. Marnak picked her up to escape quickly. Dakia asked if the giant would be okay if they just left him there. Marnak replied that of course he would because he was a strong guy. He would return on his own after buying enough time. Marnak managed to escape from the battlefield in time. Then he said that it looked like the door they needed, so he opened it and they went right in. But there, more work was waiting for them. Marnak and Dakia began to fight them. Marnak thought that they weren't giving them a second to rest. Then he told Dakia that those were the ones to deal with. After dealing with them, Dakia asked if she had done well, and he replied that she had done very well indeed. She had used a lot of magic in this battle, so maybe she should rest. Dakia replied that she was fine. Then they saw a robot come out, the same one the giant had fought. But this opponent was more powerful because it had firearms. It immediately fired at them. Marnak and Dakia managed to hide behind a wall in time. Then Marnak noticed that he had run out of ammunition, so he realized that this was their chance. He picked up Dakia and told her they needed to get out of there quickly. But then he noticed something strange. Marnak saw him pulling the shell casings toward him. Dakia asked what they were going to do. Marnak said he had an idea. He asked if she could hit the cannon with her magic, preferably with explosive magic. She said she could do it. Then she asked if she should fire right away. He told her to wait a little. They would need to strike when it was ready to fire again. Dakia said she would try. When their opponent was ready, Marnak said that now was the time to attack him with her magic, and Dakia hit his cannon. Marnak said she did a great job, and she replied that he could count on her. They continued to run, but Dakia kept using magic to destroy their opponent. Marnak realized that she was running out of mana. Finally, they reached the door and Marnak tried to kick it open, but he couldn't. He realized that he wouldn't be able to open it that way. He said that they probably needed to get through that door, so she should cover him while he tried to break through. They had no time, and the robot would catch up with them soon, so he decided to try to destroy the door with his relic weapon. He struck several blows, but then the marks he left on the door began to disappear. Marnak had no idea what to make of it. Then he received a message that there would be no shortcuts. He realized that the battle with this thing was inevitable, so he went on the attack, using the inscriptions of destruction, and asked Takia for help. One more spell was needed, and he had to hold on a little longer. Marnak noticed that the robot was trying to reload its cannon again. He threw his sword at it and then told Takia to use fire magic. After that, he realized that she didn't have enough strength left, so he had to hurry. He decided to attack it with his sword of destruction. After striking the robot, he realized that the sword was too fast for him, and he could no longer maintain the damage spells. If the sword disappeared, then he would definitely not be able to win. But at that moment, his mother came to his aid and took the sword from him. She managed to defeat the robot, and Marnak fell with her. His mother tried to catch him, and at that moment, he lost consciousness. When he woke up, the first thing he did was ask if his mother was okay. Then he saw her sitting next to him. He said he was very glad that she was okay. Then he asked if she had brought them here from Takia by herself. He was very grateful that she was there. His mother began to show him how she had defeated the robot, and he said that she was simply incredible. If it weren't for her, they would never have defeated the robot. Then Dakaya came to her senses and asked if she was dead, and he replied that she wasn't. Marnak approached her and asked if she could walk. Dakia replied that she could and that she felt much better after resting. Dakia asked where they were, and Marnak replied that they were near their destination. They approached the door and saw a notice. It said who was the kindest person in the world. Marnak said that for some reason he had expected this from her daughter. Dakia asked if it was some kind of riddle. Marnak replied that it was Elisha, and then the door opened. Salon came out and said that it was the correct answer. She was the best blacksmith in the Empire, or more precisely, her hologram. Marnak thought that first there was a cannon, and now a hologram with artificial intelligence. What, then, was this ancient empire? The hologram Salon said again that it was correct, and that she was the best blacksmith in the Empire. Dakia asked what was wrong with her, and Marnak replied that it was probably because they were still standing there, so they needed to move forward. The hologram of Salon said that they had managed to defeat the guard she had created, and that was impressive. Dakia asked how he knew the answer. Marnak asked if she meant the riddle. The hologram of Salon asked if they meant her mother's name and wondered why she had come up with such a question when it was so obvious. The only way to get here was with the key she left her. If someone came here with him without knowing her name, was there any point in letting these people live? Marnak said that they would have been very unlucky if they had given the wrong answer. The hologram of Salon said that she was sure it had not been easy for them to get here. So now they could rest. A house appeared in front of them and they went inside. Dakia said that he had left quickly, but the bath was wonderful and all her fatigue seemed to have been washed away. Marnak said he felt the same way. Then he asked if she had rested well. Dakia replied that she had. She had never seen such inventions before. But each of them had detailed instructions in an ancient language. Even her clothes had been washed while she was bathing. After that, she was almost not angry with Salon for everything that had happened to them. Salon's hologram asked if they were enjoying their stay here. She brought them the things they had lost on the way here. She also repaired everything that had broken. Marnak was delighted to find the ring that Frida had given him. He thought it had also disappeared when his hand was injured. It seemed that he would be able to prevent a quarrel with his mentor. The hologram of Salon told them to follow her, and she would give them what they had come for. Dakia noticed that the halls in this dungeon were very spacious. The hologram of Salon asked which of the two would take her latest creation. Then their mother appeared before them and said that it would be more accurate to say all three of them. Marnak said that he would take it. Hologram Salon agreed. But it would be unfair to leave the others empty-handed, so she would create anything they asked for as a reward. Now let them follow her. Hologram Salon divided herself into three and decided to give each of them a reward. She showed Marnak the last of her inventions. It was number 1 and had to be worn on the leading hand. Then Marnak put it on and said that it automatically adjusted to the person wearing it. He noticed that some writing had appeared on it, and the hologram of Salon told him to relax because it was just registering the owner. Now she told him to shout the word activation and press the button. She emphasized that it was essential to shout, which surprised Marnak. Then he shouted the word activation and pressed the button. The hologram of Salon said that he had indeed shouted the command, but all he had to do was press the button. Marnak noticed that his hand had changed and become metallic. Then he said he hadn't shouted anything. The hologram Salon laughed at him, then apologized and said she would now explain how to use it. She asked him to hold out his hand. Number 1 responds to his brain activity, but he should forget about that. He should just make sure that he can read minds. It was very simple. He had to imagine that a small cannon had flown out of his hand. Marnak tried to imagine it, and the hologram Salon said he was doing everything right. After that, he tried to aim at the target. He liked the result, and she said that he had done a great job and asked how he liked her special mana cannon. It is not very useful at long distances, but in close combat you can rely on its power. The energy the cannon uses to fire is collected from the surrounding space. It recharges on its own. It can accumulate up to 3 charges. Recharging one takes 20 minutes. Therefore, he needs to be as accurate as possible. The trajectory of the shot must be calculated in advance and the moment of use must be guessed. It was deliberately made multi-shot to increase tactical capabilities. This allows the owner to independently choose the most effective time and conditions for shooting, requiring cold calculation and concentration. If he has other numbered items, he can also try to combine them with number 1. Then something interesting will happen to them. Marnak asked if it should be combined with the sword. The hologram of Salon asked if he really had one of her numbered items with him. It was simply incredible. Marnak noticed that he had another weapon. The first one looked the same as his sword, but he didn't know what was in the second slot. He tried to use the second one, and a sword appeared in his hand. The hologram of Salon asked if it wasn't cool. Number 1 was the result of her attempts to combine divinity and magic. Marnak said that combining divinity and magic was truly amazing. The hologram of Salon replied that it was, and that she was simply a genius. In addition, the product was durable because it was made of pure immortalium. Even if he damages it in some way, it will be able to repair itself. Marnak asked if it was made entirely of immortalium, and it also had a self-repair function. If so, maybe he should try something. He decided to get the Sword of Destruction. Holding it in his hand, Marnak couldn't believe it. He received a notification that he had 70 seconds before it would become impossible to repair. He thought that would be enough time to deal with the robot. With this bracelet, he would finally be able to use the Sword of Destruction. Dakia asked if he had received anything, and he replied that he had received a bracelet that turned into a gauntlet with many other useful functions. What about her? Dakia told him to guess. Marnak replied that it was probably the thing around her neck, and she said he was right. It helps control mana like the ring she had before, but unlike the ring, it has no limit on the amount of mana. Therefore, she can keep a large amount of mana under control, and this thing is much more useful than the ring. Then a mask appeared on her face, and she asked him how he liked it. Marnak said he was glad she liked it. His mother approached him and he asked what had happened and if she was dissatisfied with the reward. She asked him to hold out his left hand. He held out his hand with the ring on it, and his mother showed him that she had the same ring on her hand. Marnak asked if these rings would allow them to find each other if necessary, and also once a day they would be able to create a protective barrier. It turned out that she had noticed the ring his mentor had given him, and that was very sweet. He thanked her and said that he liked it very much, then lifted her up and began to spin her around. Then the hologram of Salon addressed them. She asked if everyone had received their awards and what they planned to do next. They could leave or stay longer. Marnak asked Dakia what they were going to do, and she replied that she didn't mind leaving. She felt refreshed after the hot bath. He replied that they would do so. The hologram of Salon asked if they were leaving and reminded them of the key they had used to enter. She wanted them to give it back to her. Dakia asked what they would do, and he replied that they had made a promise to the archaeologist. But still, it was Salon, and he thought it was better not to argue with her. Dakia gave her the key. The hologram of Salon thanked them and said goodbye. Then she decided to push them out. A huge hand appeared in front of them and grabbed them. As a farewell, the hologram of Salon said that they needed to collect 8 of her numbered creations. If they did, something interesting would happen, so they should try their best. Marnak didn't expect her to just kick them out like that. Dakia said that she had simply created a way out of the dungeon. Then she smelled blood. Marnak said he would go greet their guests from the butcher's face and put on a mask. Meanwhile, the team that went to excavate the ruins tried to escape from the monsters, but the path ended in a dead end. There were also too many of them for such a place, and there was only one answer. It was definitely an ambush. But why would they need it? Fosarina asked where Tran had gone. A member of the team replied that he was ahead, and she told him to tell him to dig like it was his last day. If he wants to survive? Her subordinate wanted to object, but she told him to keep quiet and relay her words to him. She told the flying mice to attack her. It was time to deal with them all and return to the excavation. After defeating the flying mouse, her followers came up to her. One of them said that it was incredible and that even a weak unicorn remained a unicorn. The follower asked what difference it made now. They had to leave before all his flying mice were dead. Fosarina asked who gave them permission to leave. The follower replied that they didn't need permission. Then she told her to be more careful with the hammer because she could hurt someone and she was being too aggressive. Fosarina replied that she was swinging it to hurt someone. After that, she attacked her. But the follower used her ability and called her a pushy woman. But now she asked her to relax a little. The follower asked her where the relic was, and she replied that it was none of his business. Then Marnak came out and immediately destroyed one of the followers of the evil spirits. The follower said he wouldn't let him do that. He used his ability, but it didn't work because he had used the inscriptions of destruction. The follower noticed the divinity in him. The follower of the evil spirit did not understand how this was possible. Marnak asked if there were many of them here. After that, the follower summoned a monster, but Marnak immediately destroyed it and said that this could not be and asked what he was. At that moment, 4 stars fell from the sky to the earth and a sacred battle began. All those who follow the will of heaven must destroy the fallen god. They would show them the way, and such was the will of God. The 4 stars united under their leadership powerful warriors who were ready to carry the divine message and to follow God's will, but should they show the fallen god some minimal respect? The only respect that should be given to the fallen god is his complete destruction. Therefore, doubts and questions must be cast aside, and also do what is required of them. This is all for their own good. The 4 stars that descended from heaven gave the army a name. This army was assembled to destroy the fallen god. They are called the Crusade of Destruction. Marnak grabbed a follower of the evil spirits and asked how many of them were there. He asked why he should answer him. But Marnak squeezed his neck harder, and the follower replied that there was another group besides theirs. If he let him go, he would tell him. Marnak let him go, and a female follower crept up behind him and said that it looked like she would have to teach him a lesson. Then he attacked her with his sword, and she didn't even have time to notice anything. Marnak said that it was truly a perfect kill. After that, he asked Fosarina where his next target was, and she said that he should help her up first. Marnak offered her his hand, and she thought that maybe he wasn't such a bad person after all, but he looked a little strange. She said she didn't know who he was, but could he help her? Marnak said that he was called the Butcher. Fosarina said she understood and that now they were acquainted. If he helped her team, she would do anything he asked. She noticed his well-built body and wanted to touch him. Marnak asked what she was doing. Fosarina apologized and explained that it just happened. Marnak remarked that if she didn't want to die, she should take him to the meat bags, because they would be destroyed. Fosarina agreed and thanked him in advance. He said that her request was irrelevant. He was only doing it for the sake of further destruction. On the way, he gathered divinity from those he could. But it seemed that it was impossible to take divinity from beings who had been destroyed by the sword of destruction. Therefore, it would be necessary to refrain from using it, especially those whom Mother held in high esteem. Marnak said that they would continue to run at full speed, and that she should show him the right way, if she doesn't want him to destroy her too. Fosarina replied that it was no problem, and that she trusted him. Marnak repeated that her request was irrelevant and that he simply wanted new destruction. She replied that he would do as he wished. Meanwhile, Dakia watched him from a distance, and when she saw where he was going, she ran after him. Meanwhile, the team conducting the excavation was also attacked by flying bats. A member of the team told Tran to hurry. He needed to open the passage quickly because the captain was risking his life to buy them time. Tran asked if he thought he was playing games. If he couldn't help, he should keep quiet. Then the team members heard some noises and realized that the flying bats had returned. One of them said that if only he had his weapon. Tran finally managed to open the passage and told everyone to hurry up and get in. Everyone entered the passage and Tran closed it, killing one of the flying bats that was trying to get to them. Tran asked someone to help him up and thought that they had somehow managed to survive because the captain had sacrificed herself for them. A follower of the evil spirit asked if they had managed to escape and why these guys were so difficult to catch. The follower replied that it seemed the team of archaeologists was stronger than they had thought. Another follower named Jamel approached them. She asked if they were sure they even had the relic. The follower replied that she could be sure of that. The people at the top could determine the location of the relics. The follower said that the problem was that their information was completely inaccurate. Jamal added that they couldn't spend forever chasing after all these relics. She had heard that the guys from another squad had used a relic to create the perfect embodiment. The follower asked what she was suggesting. The follower said that he was their leader, so he should understand. They wanted to do the same thing. He agreed. But he said that first they had to catch up with them. He asked Jamel to unseal the passage. Turning to the sticky rock, she asked it to clear the way for them. After that, the passage opened. They saw flying mice running away from there. Jamel asked what was wrong with them. The group leader said that it looked like the second group was in trouble. The follower asked what they were going to do and whether they would go to their aid. Jamel said that the second group consisted of weirdos. She didn't really want to help them. The group leader said that their task was to return the relic, so they needed to focus on that. The follower agreed and noted that he was their squad leader. Jamel said she fully supported his decision. Fosarina touched Marnak again and he asked her what she was doing. She asked if he liked archaeology. He told her to answer his questions before he destroyed her. She said her name was Fosarina and that she was the captain of the royal team of archaeologists. He only had to say the word and she would find him a job in that field in no time. She thought to herself that he had a very muscular body. Marnak told her to take her hands off him because he would destroy her if she touched him again. Then he asked if her friends were in danger and why she didn't seem to care much about them. Fosarina replied that they might still be alive and she couldn't know for sure, so it was too early to start mourning them. Then she said that her boys would definitely go there. Marnak asked if she meant the ruins, and she replied that Princess Salon had died there. Marnak thought about her. Fosarina said that it was both her laboratory and her fortress. The ancient empire had known no hardship during the reign of her mother, the empress, and her husband, Emperor Yunlei. But when the time came to choose a successor, her daughter Salon renounced her right to the throne. Instead, Emperor Huai, who had been adopted from an aristocratic family close to the imperial family, became the successor. Naturally, since Salon herself had renounced the throne, this did not cause any problems. That is, until Salon created the Immortalium. Fosarina said that her further considerations were purely her own theory. Therefore, they should not be taken at face value. For an empire founded after the end of the era of mad magicians, there was no worthy opponent in the whole world. But thanks to Immortalium, Salon became popular everywhere. The emperor began to invest in the army to strengthen his power and political position. The problem was that these actions led to his regime beginning to crack at the seams. After that, a group of revolutionaries was formed. They demanded that the emperor be overthrown and Salon be placed on the throne. But she herself did not want this. This fact only gave the revolutionaries more motivation. The revolutionaries believed that she would prove herself to be a much better empress than the emperor, who was only interested in power. Eventually, a civil war broke out in the empire. On one side were the forces of the revolution, and on the other was the emperor's army. Both sides tried to win Salon's favor, as no one else was capable of making Immortalium. The emperor was confident that his sister would take his side, while the revolutionaries believed that she would not turn her back on the people, especially those who were ready to give their lives for her. But Salon declared her neutrality. She probably wanted to be honest with everyone, but the two hostile sides saw it as a betrayal. She was someone they wanted to win over to their side, but because of her refusal, she became someone who had to be captured and used for their own interests. So they went to her laboratory but were repelled. The soldiers she had created were too strong. Marnak thought that this was not surprising because her work was indeed a problem. They couldn't get past the castle guards to reach her. So they made a decision and tried to intimidate her by taking the lives of innocent people. Salon was furious at this act. She decided to put an end to this civil war and get rid of the root of the problem by destroying both sides. The chronicles say that an army of metal appeared with no end in sight. The metal people fought on Salon's side. In order to have at least some chance of defeating her army, the emperor and the revolutionaries finally formed an alliance. Then they decided to use what only they possessed, so they sent out a group of masters. The group, made up entirely of masters, ended up in a laboratory. As a result, they managed to destroy Salon, but as they say, none of them returned alive. Marnak asked why. Fossarina replied that no one knew and that no records had been kept. The Salon laboratory became a forbidden place. After the battle, no one was able to enter it again. Marnak asked what happened to the empire after that. She replied that the emperor and the revolutionaries continued the civil war, ultimately leading to the empire's collapse. Marnak asked what she knew about Salon's numbered artifacts. She asked him again, and he said he thought she had something like that. Fossarina said she had never heard of them. Marnak thought that the demon had probably helped her stage her own death. After that, Salon began creating her own line of numbered items. Marnak said that if everything was as she said, then this was a laboratory. The same forbidden laboratory of the ancient empire. She replied that it was, and Marnak asked why she had brought her subordinates here. Fossarina said that it was an old story and most of the laboratory had long since been swallowed up by the sands of time, except for the instructions for creating Immortalium, which had to be kept there. Fossarina asked if it was her team and asked her to let them go because they had to hurry. Meanwhile, her team was fighting the Salon robots and many of them were killed. But Marnak and Fossarina arrived just in time. Marnak noticed a robot trying to attack one of the team members and shot the robot with his gun. Then he noticed that 6 had been killed, all because of the relic he had taken. Fossarina asked her subordinate what had happened. He couldn't believe she was still alive, and she told him to be quiet and just answer her questions. She wanted to know where the others were. The subordinate replied that the walls had unexpectedly started moving, separating them all, but they hadn't touched anything. He thinks it's all because of their followers. Then they saw the robot rising again. Marnak struck it. Then he noticed that its entire body was made of Immortalium, but compared to the previous ones, it wasn't that fast. Fossarina approached the robot and asked why they were watching and not helping, or if they were waiting for it to do all the work for them. Everyone immediately rushed to her and began to remove the robot's armor. Marnak thought that if they were on equal terms, he would have simply blunted his sword, and the Immortalium would have been to blame, but its saw was capable of regenerating. He removed a piece from the robot to destroy it completely. Fossarina said that they were alive. Mother turned to Marnak and he mentally replied that she was right. If they sold this material, they could literally swim in gold. But then he saw that the Immortalium that made up the robot was melting. Even if they collected all of it, it would be useless. Salon had thought everything through. Then he said he would go destroy the metal golems. Those who couldn't keep up would be left behind, so let them move their legs if they wanted to live. Dakia was already there watching them. Fossarina and her subordinates thought he was too fast and they wouldn't be able to catch up with him. Marnak heard someone behind the door fighting Salon's creations, but he didn't care. He would destroy them all. Upon entering, he saw the archaeologists cheering for Jamel, the follower of the evil spirit who was fighting the robots. They shouted that she could do it, but Jamel said that she was already at her limit and could die, and she was completely serious. Jamal begged for help. Marnak didn't quite understand what was going on. Why was a follower of evil spirits protecting archaeologists? The archaeologists continued to shout her name, but she asked them to stop shouting and to help her instead. The archaeologists said they were willing to help, but they had no weapons. Marnak wondered if they should help her after she was destroyed. He didn't even know what to do, but this Jamel could be useful. She could give him the opportunity to learn more about Liberatio. One of the archaeologists said they should help her as much as they could, because they would still be in danger if something happened to her, so they had to do something. After that, they moved to attack, but Marnak stopped them and said that these pieces of metal were his. If anyone even touched them, he would destroy them. The archaeologist thought he was another monster, but another replied that he was a man with a bare torso and a strange mask. Marnak began fighting the robots, and Jamel was happy that she would stay alive. Then she told him to be careful. She noticed a robot sneaking up behind him. Then she used the power of the sticky rock to protect him. She was delighted that she had managed to destroy the robot, and then she used her magic again. One of the robots began to speak. It said to take emergency measures and deploy the advanced defense unit. Marnak didn't understand what that meant. Then Fosarina ran up to them with the other archaeologists and said that it seemed they were still alive. Jamal saw that Marnak had used his divinity. He thought that the advanced defense unit was approaching from another direction, not from the direction they came from. So he told Fosarina to take her people and leave, because during the battle they would only get in the way. Fosarina said that according to these guys, there should be about 20 more of her people somewhere around here. So she apologized for her rudeness. She asked if he could save them if he happened to come across them on his way. Marnak said he would think about it, and she replied that she would be grateful. Then she told her men that they were leaving. Jamel decided to go with them, but Marnak stopped her. He said she was staying with him. She replied that she also wanted to go because she still had a few questions to ask them. Marnak said he wouldn't repeat himself, and if he heard her say no again, he would destroy her. Then he noticed that they had walked far enough away. He told Dakia she could go. Dakia asked if he was sure, then left. He said yes because he had already sent the archaeologist to the exit. Jamal noticed that his manner of speaking had changed immediately, then said that she had heard and seen nothing, and saying goodbye, wanted to leave. He said that if she tried to use her divinity, she would pay with her life. There was still time, so she should answer his questions. She replied that she knew nothing, and he asked how many people there were in Liberatio. Jamel said again that she did not know because they were all divided into small groups. Therefore, she did not know how many there were in total. Marnak asked how Liberatio tracked the relics. She replied that they had a map. More precisely, a relic that looks like a map. Marnak told her to get it. Jamel replied that she didn't have it and that only the top brass had it. Marnak asked how many relics they had already collected, and she replied that they had 4. He recalled that she had given him the same answer last time. So he told her not to even think about lying because another follower of the evil spirit had told him the same thing, only it was a long time ago. Jamal replied that she was telling the truth. She did not know when he had heard this, but the map had been damaged during the Civil War. She now points to dozens of places at once. One faction, the Kasrus, seeks to overthrow the gods. There is also another faction, the Versio. This faction wants to launch an attack by evil spirits, and they are now at war. Each faction has 2 relics. She heard that not long ago the Castus faction managed to overthrow one god. She does not belong to any faction, therefore she does not know any details. After that, an advanced defense unit approached them. The robot said that the intruder had been found and that it would proceed with immediate destruction. Jamal asked if she could now use her divinity and promised not to betray him. Marnak doesn't know what to do. It would be safest to deal with her right now, but something was bothering him. Jamel had protected the team of archaeologists. Moreover, she didn't even try to attack him, and Sanctus would never have done such a thing. She said that she would indeed die now. Marnak let her go and told her she had only one chance. Jamel was delighted to be alive and then turned to the crumbling rock. She asked for help. Meanwhile, Marnak attacked and struck with his sword, but he didn't even manage to damage it. But then something unexpected happened. The robot said that the successor had finally arrived. He was Tercio, the 3rd knight, and he expressed his respect to him. If he wished, he was ready to take him to the administrator. Dakia asked what he was talking about. Marnak replied that he had been told that this place had once been Salon's laboratory. Then he asked Tercio if he would try to attack him by surprise on the way. He replied that he swore by his name that he had no such intention. Marnak said that in that case he would lead the way. Tercio said that it was an honor to serve him. After that, they left. Jamal asked what would happen to her now. Marnak thought that he really did not want to destroy her, but she was still a problem for him. His mother turned to him and he wondered if he should destroy her first and think about it later. Dakia said that she understood them and wanted to return to her friends. Therefore, she could go if she wanted to. Jamel replied that she had forgotten about Giselle and Yarn, so she didn't know who they were. Dakia asked if she thought they would be upset if they heard that. She replied that she was sure they would understand. In fact, she had no idea who they were. Dakia said that she understood everything. Then she approached Marnak. She whispered to him that she had almost caught her. He said that they couldn't just let her go, but they didn't want to destroy her either. Let her walk around the lab with them for now. They could dump the dirty work on her. Besides, he still had some questions for her. Dakia wanted to ask him his name, but then decided not to. So she asked if she could call him by his name in front of her. Marnak replied that she could. Since he was already there, he might as well take off his mask. He took off his mask and Jamel immediately recognized him and said that he was Marnak. He asked if she knew him. Jamel replied that she certainly did because he had ruined their organization's plans so many times. His face was on posters in every Liberatio branch. That meant he would kill her too. When he finds out the information he needs, Marnak replied that it wasn't that he hadn't thought about it at all. Jamal said she would try to be useful, therefore she asked him not to destroy her. Marnak said fine, but only if she let go of his leg. Maybe he would even let her go eventually. Jamel said she would swear allegiance to him if he just promised not to destroy her. Marnak agreed and noted that they needed to move on. After a while, they reached their destination, and Tercio said that they had arrived. Upon entering, he told Dispense that he had brought his successor. Dispense asked if the successor was there. Tercio replied that he was standing next to him. The robot Dispense said that his optical sensor was malfunctioning, so he couldn't see anything. But if he was really the successor, could he provide proof of his succession? Marnak approached him and then held out his hand, which had the bracelet he had received from Salon. Dispense said that their mother had not abandoned them. Then Marnak asked if he could clarify something. He asked how many people had not left the ruins. Dispense replied that there were 24 people left. They were divided into 2 groups, 2 in the first and 22 in the second. All of them were resisting. The wounded soldiers would need some time to deal with everyone. Of the 4 knights, only Tercio remained. Marnak said he understood and asked not to touch the group of 22 people and let them go. Dispense replied that it was as he wished. Then he announced that all forces should focus on the group of 2 people. Jamel was worried about her companions. So she asked if Giselle and Yarna could also be released. She promised to repay him however she could. Mother turned to Marnak. She did not want them to stay alive. Marnak silently told her to calm down. So far, Jamel looks better than the other servants of the evil spirits and even worries about his friends in this situation. So he asked Dispense to release the 2 as well. Just make sure that the paths of these 2 groups do not cross. Dispense said that he would then send the archaeologists to their colleagues and the 2 men by another route. Then he asked his successor to take something. His mother had left it with them for safekeeping a long time ago. Marnak said that it was probably one of the numbered items. He touched the item with his glove and wondered what kind of icon it was. Would accelerators appear on his feet? Marnak thanked him, and Dispense replied that there was no need to thank him. He had simply passed it on to him as their mother had instructed. Then Marnak thought about how he hadn't expected such a gift at all. Still, it bothered him a little, and he asked what had happened to them, because they all looked like they weren't in the best shape. Dispense asked permission to answer that question. The reason their soldiers were battered was because they were human. They had come here and attacked them in an attempt to destroy their mother. After the battle against the squad of masters, all the knights except Tercio were destroyed. In that battle, they lost 99% of their personnel. The last night, Tercio was also wounded. Marnak asked if their presence here meant that they had managed to defeat the masters after all. Dispense said he understood why he had come to that conclusion, but no. They had not won the battle. They took advantage of the fact that their opponents were living beings. All their resources went into locking them in the laboratory and starving them to death. Marnak said he was impressed by their ingenuity and how they managed to pull off such a plan against the masters. Dispense thanked Marnak for his words and then said he would like to ask him for a favor. Marnak asked what it was. He asked for permission to rebuild the army to fight for him. His mother was against it, but now that they were serving him, he felt they owed him that much. Marnak asked if they would be loyal to him no matter what. Dispense said of course they would. If he wanted it, they would bring him the world on a silver platter. Marnak thought that this world could unite to destroy him at any time. It would be good to have his own reliable army, so he said he would allow it. Dispense thanked him and asked how long it would take. Dispense replied that restoring the entire army to its original state would not be an easy task, but they could easily do it within 100 years. Marnak asked what would happen if the size of the army was reduced, and how much this would speed up the restoration process. Dispense asked how many soldiers he needed and whether an army sufficient to capture 1/8 of the empire would be enough for him. Marnak replied that the empire had fallen. Dispense asked if this was true and if the empire really no longer existed. If so, this would reduce the number of soldiers needed. In that case, taking into account the reduction in numbers, the army could be restored in just 50 years. Marnak asked how much could be restored in a year. Dispense said that he could only improve the soldiers they currently had at their disposal. Their workshops had been destroyed and their resources depleted. It would take at least 20 years of preparation just to begin the restoration. Dispense asked him to forgive him. Then he said that he had successfully restored his optical sensor. How long had it been since he last saw this room? Then he scanned them and asked if he was in danger and therefore wanted to speed up the construction of the army. Marnak replied that everything was correct. Then he thought that, after all, Liberatio was hunting him. Dispense said that there was an enemy. In that case, he would begin preparations immediately. The army would be small, but he could train it within a year. His successor could settle down and rest inside the laboratory until construction was complete. But Marnak refused. He couldn't stay here because he had a lot of things to finish. Dispense pointed out that he was in danger and that it was dangerous outside. Moreover, he would do everything in his power to make him comfortable here. If a year was too long for him, then how about 11 months? He promised to stay for 11 months and begged him not to leave them. Then his mother turned to him. Marnak thought she was right. 11 months sounded good, but he was still under pressure from his main quest. Because of this, he refused his mentor's offer to teach him to become a master. He also couldn't forget about liberatio. Considering that they had already managed to overthrow the god, he couldn't just let things take their course. Meanwhile, the followers of the evil spirits kept the god bound, and he begged them to spare him and let him go, because he did not want to die. A follower said, "Isn't it funny that this thing was once a god?" In the end, they are no different from the rest of us. But bringing him down from heaven was true blasphemy, and he was still a god. A follower asked him if he didn't feel the power emanating from him. He replied that of course he could feel it. He had power, but could it really be called godhood? A god must have a sense of self-worth, like the one he serves. And this creature in his eyes is not a god. Rumor has it that the orders are now intensively recruiting fighters. The follower asked what was going on, and the other replied that he was probably not aware of what was happening, because he had been busy taking care of this thing all this time. They are now engaged in a crusade of destruction, or whatever they call it. But what business is it of theirs? They don't even know how to use the relics and just need to keep doing what they're good at. Find relics and overthrow the gods, and it will soon be ready. The follower said that if that was the case, they would need an enemy to test themselves against. The follower replied that they had already decided on the place of the test, and another asked where it would take place. He replied that it would be in the northern kingdom. Marnak said that he still had things to do, so he couldn't stay, but he wouldn't abandon them. Dispense said he believed him. Let him do what he must, and he would prepare the army for him while he was away. He would present him with an entire continent, and if that wasn't enough, he would give him the entire dimension. Tertius asked him to take him with him. His skills would be useful. Therefore, he earnestly requested the honor of serving him. Marnik said that the problem was that with his size, he was too conspicuous. Tertio said not to worry about that. He could become small enough to be carried in a pocket. And then, if necessary, he could return to his original size. His mother turned to him and he told her not to worry. His pocket was reserved just for her, so he asked if he could take on the size of a human, and he replied that of course he could. Tertio shrank in size, and Marnak said that was great and that he could go with him. Tertio replied that it would be an honor for him. Dispense grabbed Tertio, who screamed. Dispense explained that he would repair him immediately and that it would take about 3 hours. So he asked them to shout a little, and besides, they had saved the soldiers they had almost destroyed. Marnak thought about how rich they were now and asked if he could take them away. Dispense was surprised that he wanted to take the soldiers away. Then Marnak said that he would like to sell them immortalium. Dispense asked if their successor was poor. He replied that he had a little money with him. Therefore, it could be said that he was an ordinary man. He also had some money left over from his earnings in the arena. Dispense said he was concerned about his financial situation, but immortalium is a valuable resource, and it is better to keep it for himself than to sell it. Therefore, he had another proposal. They would save all the precious stones and metals for him when they obtained resources. If he waits a little, they will dig up all the treasures hidden beneath the continent for him. Marnak thought about the treasures of the entire continent and asked if the laboratory could move. Dispense replied that it could. It could move across land and water and even fly through the air. However, most of its functions were currently unavailable. Too much of the laboratory needs repair. Marnak said that in any case, it was simply incredible. Therefore, he entrusted the restoration of the laboratory to him. Dispense thanked him for the praise and suggested that he rest a little. He would let him know as soon as he finished repairing Tertio. Dakia said she didn't know what was going on here, but she welcomed him. Jamal thought that he could use him to get rich. After a while, Dispense announced that the work was finished. He said that only the most essential parts had been repaired, but even that would be enough for Tertio to deal with any opponent. The only exception was the craftsman. When they had the time and resources, he would work on it so that it could stand up for him against the most formidable enemies. He also installed a transmitter so that his successor could contact him at any time. He wanted to say one last thing. He understands that he has a lot to do, but could he find a few minutes from time to talk to him? Marnak replied that of course he would. Dispense thanked him and said that he would bring this world to its knees. Marnak replied that he looked forward to it. After that, they decided to return to help Carmen and Sajit recover. Carmen said that he was completely healthy and ready for new adventures. He thanked Marnak. Marnak replied that he had simply done what he had to do. Dakia said that the two of them had been through a lot. Carmen asked if he could introduce them to the newcomers. Marnak told them not to be shy and come over. Tertio said he was glad to meet them. He was the third knight in the service of the air, and they could call him Tertio. Carmen asked if he was one of the Golden People. Marnak replied that he was not. In short, he could be considered a relic of the ancient empire. Carmen shook his hand and said he was pleased to meet him. Tertio expressed his respect. Sajida asked if he would have time to spar with him. Tertio replied that he would need permission from his successor. Marnak said he would give it. Tertio said that permission had been granted. Therefore, he was ready to compete with him at any time. Jamel also decided to introduce herself. She gave her name. Then she said she would work like a dog. Carmen asked her what he had done to her. Jamal asked what he meant. She was simply deeply moved by wealth, by the generosity of Marnak's father. She would do anything if it brought her money. Carmen said he understood. Meanwhile, the Crusaders were gathering for their first battle in the Northern Kingdom. The fourth star said he would lead them. There, the fallen god would meet his destruction. Therefore, he and his holy warriors must go forward, for a holy battle awaited them. Dakia said that it was a little suspicious. and Marnak agreed that something was clearly wrong. Dakia said that it had only been a week since they left the capital. But during that time, they had heard news of people disappearing in the Bitis area many times. She wondered what her brother was doing there. Marnak said that the road to Bitis would take 2 to 3 weeks, and he was sure that they would gradually find out everything. Besides, wasn't the smiling gentleman in Bitis right now? Dakia said that they would find out everything when they arrived, so it would be better if she told him herself. Her father, the smiling Mr. Kalto Iramel, is not in his right mind. Carmen couldn't believe it and asked how long ago it happened. She replied that it had been 3 years. Marnak asked who was running things in his place. Was it her older brother? Dakia replied that it was not him. Now Sir Doglek Martin was taking care of them. Marnak realized that he was not a member of the Iramel family, so he asked if he was an outsider. Dakia replied that Sir Martin was very close to her father and also a very decent man. Her father always spoke highly of him. Marnak said that it was still suspicious. If he had lost his mind, he should not have been able to appoint anyone. Dakia replied that her father had left them a document stating that if anything happened to him, Sir Martin must carry out his duties for 5 years. At first, everyone was suspicious, but Sir Martin swore that he would only fulfill his duties for that period, and he did so perfectly. Therefore, the suspicions against him were dispelled. Jamel asked if it could be that someone else was against her father. Dakia replied that they had considered this possibility but had found no evidence to support it. After that, their food was brought to them. Marnak suggested they talk after eating and overheard the owner being asked if he had seen any suspicious individuals recently. For example, people who hide their faces with hoods. That's how most travelers dress. The owner asked if they were the 3 sitting at the table. The man thanked him and said that they were going to stay there for the night. Then he gave him a coin and said that if anything happened, they would definitely help him. The owner thanked them. Jamal whispered to them, asking what they should do. She would be doomed if she was exposed. Marnak remarked that he was in the same situation. The man approached them, greeted them, and said his name was Admacheo. They were from the Crusade of Destruction. The girl next to him was called Tatiana. They couldn't tell them the name of the god they served, so they asked them to understand. Marnak said that happiness would remain in their lives. He was a priest named Marnak, a faithful servant of the goddess who protected their daily lives. Admacheo said that he was Marnak's father. He apologized for interrupting their dinner. Marnak silently asked his mother if she could assess them. Demons are not usually priests, so could this be the work of the Crusaders? Admacheo said that they were leaving, and Marnak asked them to wait. He had heard about their crusade and was curious to know what had brought them here. He replied that if Marnak's father had asked, that they would be able to answer. They were looking for followers of evil spirits. These people were definitely involved in the recent incidents. Marnak said that the followers of evil spirits deserved to be destroyed. But how would they be able to recognize those who were considered to be followers? He replied that he had probably not heard about what was happening during his pilgrimage. The gods sent messengers to them. 4 angels descended to this land. Marnak was surprised and said that he must have been very affected by this news. Marnak thought that 4 incarnations of mockery and evil had descended here. Therefore, it could be considered that the main quest was beginning. Admacheo said that it was a great honor to take part in a sacred battle side by side with angels. Dakia came into Marnak's room and said she wanted to talk to him. At that moment, Jamel was watching them. While their companions sleep in the neighboring rooms, the two spend time alone, and she is sure that he has a devious plan. It seems that Marnak is preparing something to take over the house of Iramel. She knew that he was her golden ticket. Marnak told his mother not to be so rude because Dakia had spent a lot of time with them, and she suggested that she consult with herself. Then he asked Dakia what was bothering her, and she replied that since childhood she had wanted to become the head of the house and prove people wrong. Everyone hated her because she was a mage, so she decided to become a wise head and prove that she could lead and manage things better and wiser than others. She tried her best. She studied hard and practiced fencing. She cannot say that she did not seek recognition from her father and brother, especially from her brother who was in the same situation as her, but he only hated her. Marnak asked why. Dakia replied that her mother had died during childbirth. When he had to choose between her and his own life, he chose her. That's why her brother constantly called her a monster who was born by devouring her mother. She heard similar words from him all the time. Marnak said that it wasn't her fault. She didn't choose to be born a mage, just like she didn't want her mom to die. Dakia said that she had expected to hear those words from him. When her father lost his mind, her brother began to take action. He began to strengthen his position and prevented her from doing the same. He had been interfering with her since childhood. Her engagement was also linked to her brother's efforts, and since many in the Iramel household supported the proposal, she decided to run away until the engagement is broken off. But even if she returns now, there is little she can do about it. Marnak asked if she suspected that her brother was behind her kidnapping. Dakia said that whoever it was, she was sure that someone really wanted to marry her off. She decided to remove the cause for concern. Only she had no intention of marrying a prince of the Dragon Kingdom, whom she had never even seen. Marnak asked if, upon returning, they would still be unable to do anything. Then why had they asked for their help? Dakia replied that she couldn't defeat her brother, but kidnapping the Smiling Lord's daughter was a serious crime. She thought that would be enough to break off the engagement. Marnak said that if that was the case, then what was troubling her? Dakia replied that she was not sure if she really wanted to become the head of the house to prove them wrong. She felt that she was not yet ready to lead people. She also enjoyed traveling together. Now she thinks that a life of traveling with him and the others isn't such a bad option, so she doesn't know what to do. She wants to ask him for advice on what to do when they arrive in Bitus. Should she deal with her brother? Or maybe she should just take her savings and continue traveling with him. Marnak replied that no one is born a leader. Of course, if she becomes the head of the house, she will create many problems, but he is sure that in the end she will become a wonderful leader, if she strives for it. Princess Dakia, whom he knows, is not one of those people who humbly accept their fate. Dakia remarked that he was flattering her too much because she was not that good. Marnak replied that it was just his opinion. As for her questions, he has no intention of answering them. He believes that she must make her own decision. That way, she would regret her choice less. Besides, he was not wise enough to give advice on such matters. Dakia said that she would have to find the answer herself, and Marnak said that she was smart. She said that in that case she would leave and wish them both a good night. Marnak also wished her a good night. Finally, she said that if he needed her, he should be sure to let her know. She would seriously consider his problem. Dakia left and Marnak continued massaging his mother. Jamel overheard what Dakia said before she left. She thought that he was indeed her path to wealth if even Dakia said to let her know if he needed her. The next day, they continued on their way and traveled for 10 days. Dakia asked Marnak how much further they had to go. Marnak replied that they were close because he could already see the village. Dakia said that was very good. Carmen also said he was glad to hear that, because they had run out of food 3 days ago. Marnak told him not to be dramatic. They had been able to hunt for food just fine. This was their first village in 10 days. He was sure that they all needed to rest, so he suggested looking for a hotel first. Then he felt something that frightened him, and mentally asked his mother if she could assess the inhabitants of the village. Carmen asked why he had stopped so suddenly, and he replied that it seemed they all needed to be on their guard. They entered a very unusual village. After finding rooms to rest, they decided to discuss everything. Carmen asked Marnak if he suspected that this village was somehow connected to followers of evil spirits, and he replied that he did. He thought to himself that the probability of all the inhabitants of this village being demons or part of a crusade was 0. Dakia asked why they didn't split up and try to find some information, then meet up before sunset to discuss everything. Carmen said it was a good idea. It wasn't something they could ignore, of course, if the village was really connected to followers of evil spirits. If the village was large enough, he suggested splitting into groups of 2. Daisha wanted to say that she would go with Marnak, but he interrupted her. He asked how they felt about this division. He would go with Jamel, Tercio would go with the princess, and Carmen would go with Sajita. Carmen said that this division sounded very balanced. Jamel noted that she was in. Dakia said that if everyone agreed, she would too. Before setting off, Dakia asked Marnak if he didn't trust Jamel, and that was why he had decided to go with her. He replied that this was the case. He thinks she shouldn't worry too much. To be honest, he agrees with her. He really wanted to continue not worrying about her. Dakia said she understood what he meant. But next time, they would be in the same group. Dakia took Marnak by the arm and asked if he agreed. While gathering information, everyone said the same thing. A man said that strange incidents had certainly occurred there. In addition, they were all sure that they had also heard about them because so many people had already disappeared. That was all people talked about. Some were afraid that they might be next and couldn't even sleep or work properly. Marnaka was warned that as a holy father, he should also be very careful. Jamel said that they were all saying the same thing. He added that it didn't seem like they were lying, and Jamel agreed with him. Marnak said that if she had something to say, she should say it. Jamal asked why he thought the village was somehow connected to followers of evil spirits. He replied that the god he served had noticed something suspicious in this village. Jamel asked in what sense. Did he communicate directly with his god? And he replied that he did. Jamel said that was unbelievable. In most cases, it was difficult to comprehend at best. Marnak did not let her finish and covered her mouth with his finger. He told her to watch her language because you never know who might be listening. Jamal said that if anyone heard, she would take care of them to keep the secret safe. Marnak said that was wrong. If she decided to destroy someone, she had to get his permission first. Jamel agreed, and Marnak said that it was getting late. So he suggested they visit the miller quickly before it got dark. Jamel asked why they needed the miller. He replied that they were usually the ones who collected taxes, so they heard more than ordinary residents. The miller replied that, of course, people had disappeared, and he was sure they had heard about it too. Many people had already disappeared. Marnak thought that he was saying the same thing, as if the whole village had conspired. Then they heard something. Melnik said that the sounds were coming from the village elder's house. After that, he began to turn into a monster. Marnak asked if he was okay, then saw that he had turned into a monster and struck him. After destroying him, Marnak thought that everyone was talking about the missing people, but none of them had named even one of those who had disappeared. What if his mother couldn't count them on her fingers because they had a monster parasite? Marnak told Jamel that it was a monster parasite and that he thought all the inhabitants of this village were the missing people. Then he noticed Akia's magic and wondered what made her use such powerful magic. He saw people turning into monsters coming towards him and told Jamel to hurry up and follow him. They tried to escape from these monsters. Meanwhile, Dakia was also fighting the monster. He told her that Princess Dakia was trying very hard. He was a being chosen by God, and creatures like them were not capable of destroying him. But her golden eyes made his heart beat faster. It was even better that he had not managed to infect her. Dakia asked him what he was planning and where he got his power. He asked her if he hadn't already told her. God had come down to Earth and given him his power. As for his desires, he didn't need much. He only wanted to see her in his arms. Dakia said that was just disgusting. The monster told her not to say that because it was her destiny, which would soon come true. He had always dreamed of feeling the warmth of a fair-haired girl with golden eyes in his arms. After that, he released the parasites. He told them to let him introduce himself. Before them stood the fourth apostle of the fallen god, the shameful Korot. Let them not run from the inevitable. Tercio told Lady Dakia that the enemy had turned out to be faster than they had expected. Dakia said that in that case, she just needed to slow him down with her magic. Tercio quickly grabbed her, and she didn't have time to understand anything. He told her to run away and that he would take care of the monster by engaging him in battle while she found a successor. Dakia asked if he was sure, and he replied that his body was made of immortalium. Not to mention that he was a sword that defeated his master's enemies. He had no intention of running away. Dakia said she understood and would try to find him as soon as possible. After that, the monster attacked them and said that they were caught. Tercio also went on the attack. The monster asked the princess where she was running to. This was his village, and did she really think she could escape? Dakia said that he would not live once Marnak arrived. The monster called her treacherous and threatened that she would not take another step. Then he asked the knight protecting the princess if he really thought he could stop him. Tercio replied that no one was going to stop him. He was going to destroy him. The monster called him a rude bully. Then Tercio attacked him, and the monster asked if he really thought he could repeat his trick twice. Let him feel the power of the apostle. But Tercio broke free and struck him. The monster asked how this was possible, and he said that as long as he was here, Tercio would not take another step. The monster said that those were too big words for someone as pathetic as him. Tercio struck him again. Then he said he would destroy him as many times as necessary. The monster said he was a conceited knight who didn't understand that he was being toyed with. He should take a look at himself. Tercio noticed that he had released his parasites on him and asked when he had done it. The monster said that he should remember forever the greatness of the power of the apostle of God. After that, Marnak suddenly struck him with his sword of destruction. Then the monster asked what it was. Dakia remarked that she had said he would not live once Marnak appeared. Marnax thought about how slow the monster was decomposing. His gauntlet would be destroyed much sooner. It seemed that this apostle was not just all talk. Marnak told Dakia and Jamel to go and find Carmen and Sajida. They agreed. Then he asked if they could bring Tercio to him before they left. Jamel replied that she would do it right away. Dakia asked if she could help him with anything, and he replied that she couldn't because he could handle everything else. Jamiel said she had brought Tercio. Marnak praised her and told them to run now. Jamiel picked up Dakia. Marnak said that they would soon catch up with them. Jamel replied that they were already running. Then Marnak said that they must have gotten far enough away, and then he used the damage rift. Tercio asked what it was and then felt that he could move. All the larvae that had fallen on him decomposed. He thanked his successor. He apologized and said he had no excuse. Marnak replied that everything was fine and that he had bought him some time, and now he should get up. Because they needed to calm down one cockroach. The monster said that he was in pain and asked what he had done to his body. Then he asked where they were. Marnak replied that he was not obliged to answer his questions and that there was no point in answering the questions of someone who was about to die. Spare him was not part of the plan, so he should just accept his death. The monster said he was sure that this space would be destroyed when he died. Marnak turned to his mother and summoned the giant of destruction. The monster wanted to attack Marnak, but the giant suddenly attacked him and stopped his attack. The monster did not understand what was happening, and then told them not to even think that they could easily defeat the shameful Korot. The giant of destruction immediately attacked him, but the monster also inflicted damage on him. The shameful Korot became enraged and in an instant became even stronger. He said that now they would see the full power of the apostle. Marnak noticed that he had run away and then asked his mother to improve the sword of destruction. His divinity was 15,379, and he spent 10,000 divinity to improve the sword. Now his gauntlet could withstand 3.5 times less time? Only 20 seconds, but didn't that mean that the sword had become stronger? It had become 3.5 times stronger. The shameful Korot asked if he thought he could hurt him again with his dull sword. Marnak said that he seemed to have no experience in battle, but he was not going to stand by and watch his transformation, so he would simply say goodbye to him. After that, Marnak attacked him with his sword and defeated him with a single blow. His mother turned to him and told him not to worry so much. He understood that she was very upset. She had failed to obtain the divinity of this apostle, but he had already caught his eye. Meanwhile, the Crusade of Destruction was also fighting the monster. Many of them were injured. The knights shouted that they needed to take up arms because it was time to hunt this unclean creature. But the monster began to transform. It asked what kind of hunt they were talking about. Did they really think they could stand up to the revered Adora? Admacheo thought that they were lucky to have uncovered the hidden apostle, but how unlucky they were to have encountered the flying type. The venerable Adora asked where all their dust had gone. Weren't they going to destroy her? All they could do was cry and beg their gods for help. Meanwhile, a fourth star joined them. He told the monster not to dare mention the great deities with his filthy mouth. The revered Adora asked who he was, and he replied that he would turn her into a handful of ashes. Hadmacheo rejoiced that the fourth star had come to protect them. The knight standing next to him asked if he wasn't incredible. Honored Adora asked where these gods were when she desperately needed their help. They were just a bunch of voyeurs. The fourth star said he would silence him. The revered Adora realized that his opponent was on a completely different level. Then the fourth star attacked her and told her to turn to ash. Adora thought that this attack would destroy her completely. So she decided that she had to get out of there as quickly as possible, but the fourth star said he wouldn't let her escape. He stood in her way. Adora said that her life had just begun to be bearable, but she couldn't die here. So she broke through again and started to run away. The knights shouted at the fourth star to avenge their comrades. Then Admacheo heard the sound of hooves and saw the centaur trying to escape. The fourth star said they would not escape. Adora said to wait. She would return soon and avenge him. They managed to escape, and reaching safety, the centaur told Adora that Korot had died. Adora asked how the old man could have lost and what had happened to his fragment of the relic. She replied that it had disappeared and she thought that someone had taken the fragment of the relic. Marnak told his mother that they had done something very interesting with her relic and asked if she agreed with him. Several days passed after the battle with the fourth apostle. Marnak and his companions continued on their way. He thought it would be good to find his mother's relic, but there was something he didn't understand. Why had her relic become the divinity of another god? Could they have stolen part of her divinity, or perhaps they had managed to absorb it? If that was really possible, then why divide and steal her powers? But they would think about that later. As she had told them, it would become clearer when they found the second fragment of the relic. They had not managed to obtain Kuroda's divinity. But thanks to the help of the villagers, they were able to gather a significant amount of it. His divinity grew. Previously, he had 5,379, but now his divinity was 13,876. Dakia asked what he was thinking about, and he replied that he had just remembered an incident from 2 weeks ago. She asked if he meant the battle in the village. Marnak thought her reaction was understandable. After all, the village was in the domain of the Iramel family. Therefore, she felt slightly guilty. Dakia said she would definitely ask her brother why this territory was in such a state. Marnak asked why not Lord Martin, and she replied that she was sure Sir Martin was doing everything he could. But it was very suspicious that her brother was not reacting at all. He usually jumped at any opportunity to increase his influence. Jamal said that here he was, Bitus, right in front of them. Carmen said that they had arrived earlier than planned, so he suggested they get drunk that night. He would pay. Jamel said she fully supported him. Iz suggested they drink like dogs. Carmen replied that it wasn't necessary to go that far. Marnak asked the princess what she thought. Dakia replied that it was too late today, so they could announce their arrival tomorrow. If Carmen was treating, she agreed. She also suggests getting drunk tonight. Marnak says that everything is settled then. Tonight, they must empty Carmen's wallet. Meanwhile, Hilden and Vitus Draco were at a bar. Hilden asked His Highness if he wanted a drink too. He told him to shut up because he wasn't in the mood. Hilden replied that it was his business. Vitus Draco said that he was quite brave to make him wait so long. Carmen asked Dakia if she could recommend any places. He had been here before for work, but he didn't have time for bars. Dakia replied that she had the same problem. She had never been out drinking before, so she was a little embarrassed that she couldn't help. Carmen replied that it was no big deal. There were many people on the street, so they could ask them. He approached a man and asked if he could recommend a good place. While Carmen was talking to the man, everyone just waited for him. Dakia said that Carmen was always full of energy. That's why she was even a little jealous of him. Marnak asked if she really thought he was always like that. After all, everyone has a dark side, big or small. Dakia asked if he knew something about him. Then she asked if he wanted to tell her. Marnak replied that he would not talk about Carmen without his consent. Dakia remarked that he was very rude. After that, Jamel called them and told them to come over. Then Dakia took Marnak by the arm and suggested they join them. After that, they went to the bar. They ordered food and alcoholic beverages and decided to drink to the priest Marnak, but he felt a little uncomfortable about it. In his opinion, toasts are certainly a good thing, but he did not understand why they had decided to drink to him. Jamal said that she would soon be rich and that her investments would come to her. After that, she passed out. Carmen noticed that she had drunk too much and passed out. Then he told Sajida that they were still far from her status, so he suggested they have another drink. Sajida agreed and told him to drink up. Marnak asked Her Majesty if it wasn't time for her to rest, but her tolerance for alcohol was higher than he expected. Dakia said that she felt like she was going to be sick. Marnak told everyone that they needed to leave immediately. He decided to help her and warned them that they would be back soon. Carmen and Sajida wished them luck. Marnak asked Dakia to hold on a little longer. They would find a quiet place soon. She should let him know if she couldn't hold on any longer. Marnak saw a barrel and grabbed it. Then they quickly headed for the exit. Vitas Draco was also sitting in the same bar and immediately noticed him. He asked if he was Marnak. Hearing this, Marnak wondered who this man was and where he knew him from. Dakia caught up with him and snatched the barrel from his hands. She couldn't hold back any longer. Marnak told her that everything was fine and that she was doing great. Dakia said that she would never drink again. Vitas Draco and Hilden watched this and were shocked by the princess's behavior. Vitas Draco did not expect this from her. Dakia almost fell, but Marnak managed to catch her and to pull her close to him. Dakia apologized and he said it was okay. She said she felt unwell and asked if he could take her to her room like last time. Vitas Draco became angry and wanted to attack him, but Hilden tried to restrain him and told His Highness to remain calm. Marnak asked if they had any business with him. He saw that the man was trying to approach him. Vitas Draco asked Hilden if he had seen how this priest was trying to seduce the princess of the kingdom. Marnak said that there had been a misunderstanding. There was nothing between them. Vitas Draco broke free from Hilden's grip and asked what he was talking about, because even his stupid smile showed that he had already seduced her. Hilden stood up and grabbed the prince again. Then he explained that there would be a scandal if they caused a scene in front of all the people. Marnak thought they should leave quickly while they still had the chance. Hilden continued to beg the prince to calm down, but Vitas Draco told him to take his hands off him. No body, no problem, and he would destroy him so quickly that no one would even notice. Taking advantage of the situation while they were arguing, Marnak quickly ran away, realizing that this was the prince of the Dragon Kingdom. The Dragon Kingdom is a rich country of beastmen located in the east of the continent. The kingdom is ruled by a dynasty. They possess the blood of dragons. They are called Dragonborn. Starting the game as a Dragonborn character, you receive a significant boost to your basic abilities. They also receive a noble status that brings recognition and respect, and now he has made such an impression on the prince of this noble family. It would be good to leave Bitis as soon as possible, but he is curious to see what decision Dakia will make. Perhaps in the near future, the gods will notice the presence of the mother of corruption on Earth and send their angels after them. Marnak took Dakia to a hotel. Dakia gave him a coin and asked for a napkin and a glass of cold water. Meanwhile, Marnak thought about the dragon prince of angels and Liberatio. Perhaps he was leading this world to its destruction. Dakia was given water and a napkin, and she thanked him. Marnak told the princess that she needed to drink some water, but she asked for at least 5 minutes to rest, but he tried to bring her to her senses and asked her to take at least a sip. Marnak saw a man he knew enter the establishment and wondered what he was doing there. It was Ders Iramel, and he had most likely come to meet the prince of the Dragon Kingdom. Derso Iramel walked past Marnak and Dakia, but did not show that he recognized her. Moving away, he said that she had not changed at all. The next morning, Marnak and all his companions gathered for breakfast. Everyone felt very bad. Carmen said that Sajida was a real monster. He had a high tolerance for alcohol, but this guy had been drinking all night and didn't look drunk at all. And he was constantly nauseous. Just look at him. He feels terrible, but he's sitting there as if nothing happened. After that, Sajida immediately fell face down on his plate. Carmen remarked that this meant he had won after all. The food on his plate flew straight into Tercio's face. Carmen was delighted that he had won and began to laugh loudly. After that, he also passed out and fell face down on the table. Marnak said that it looked like they had all gotten drunk yesterday. Daki felt a little uncomfortable and then asked the priest Marnak if he had anything to do today. Marnak replied that he didn't because they had nothing special planned, and besides the boys could use a little rest. Dakia said that he was right and asked if he would like to join them, but she didn't have time to finish because Jamel interrupted her. She had just woken up and wished everyone a good morning. Then she smelled something unpleasant and said that she could smell alcohol. She asked how much the guys had drunk the night before. Marnak replied that they had been drinking all night. Jamal said she was going back to bed. Marnak said she could take the day off today. She told him not to stay up too late either. After Jamel left, Dakia asked if she smelled alcohol too. Marnak replied that she certainly did. This surprised her and she even felt a little embarrassed. Then she said that if that was the case, they would go to the bank after lunch instead of now. Marnak asked why they needed to go to the bank. She said she wanted to give him the gold she had promised him. After a while, they went to the bank, but there were problems with getting the gold. Dakia asked her husband what he had just said. He replied that the safe was located on the premises of the Iramel house. At the moment, access to it was prohibited. Dakia pointed out that it was her personal safe. Therefore, what does he have to do with the whole family? Then she asked who had requested that access be denied. The bank employee replied that it was at the request of Sir Doglek Martin. This answer surprised her. She then told Marnak that they should visit Sir Martin. Marnak agreed and replied that he would follow her. They arrived at the house and the maid said that Sir Martin was in his study. Marnak thought about Sir Martin. According to Dakia, he had been acting as head of the household since the smiling gentleman had lost his mind. The maid led Dakia and Marnak to Mr. Martin's study and told them they could enter. They entered the study and Mr. Martin told Princess Dakia that they had not seen each other for a long time. Noting her wonderful appearance, he could assume that her time away from home had been rather enjoyable. This eased the burden on his heart. Dakia said that they had indeed not seen each other for a long time. Doglek Martin said that she did not need to call him that. She should just call him Sir Martin as before. Dakia said that only if the acting manager insisted. Dogleg Martin said that she seemed offended by him. She asked why he thought so. Especially if he felt that way, then he must feel guilty about something. Mother Porch turned to Marnak, and he thought it was good that Mother couldn't say it in person at a time like this. Sir Martin asked if she had come because he had locked her out of her safe. Dakia asked why he had done that. He replied that it was simple. If he hadn't done so, she would never have returned to this house. Then he said that Marnak, the priest, must be with her. He replied that he was right. He was Marnak, the priest of the guardian goddess. Doglek Martin asked if that was all and remarked that he knew that he was an assassin of the demon Geis, the sworn enemy of the followers of the evil spirits of Kelton, and also the savior of Eridiko. Apparently he was quite famous. Marnak replied that these were all exaggerated rumors. After all, actions can be exaggerated as people spread rumors about them. He is confident that his achievements are much more modest. Unlike what he had heard, Doglek Martin noted that he was a rather modest man, but the magnitude of his achievements was not so important. What matters is that they were all done for the greater good. Doglek Martin approached him and said that the smiling gentleman wished to meet him. These words surprised Marnak because, as everyone knows, the smiling gentleman is not in his right mind at the moment.